Chapter 220. Up ahead, should be the Lightning Sword Sect. Outside a galactic teleportation formation, a young man in clothes whiter than snow stood in the air. He looked at the buildings that were situated among the sword peaks in the distance and mumbled to himself. The galaxy teleporter behind the young man had the coordinates: Hunglio Galaxy, Tailao Planet, the Lightning Sword Sect. The young man dressed in white was Zhou Donghuang, who had just left the Tianxian planet of the Luoha Galaxy. At this time, third senior sister was still the daughter of the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword Sect. Zhou Donghuang had come here because there was someone he knew here. More accurately, someone he knew from his previous life. His third senior sister. In his previous life, there were not many people he cared about, and third senior sister was one of them. Although third senior sister did not die because of him, she had been very kind to him and had saved his life many times. Because of this, Zhou Donghuang had been very hurt by her death in his previous life. He had even hated himself for not being able to save third senior sister, and could only watch her die in front of him. Although he later avenged his third senior sister, she was unable to come back to life. Now that he had been reborn 1,000 years ago, he could change history and not let third senior sister, who had treated him like a mother and sister, die again. In my previous life, the Lightning Sword Sect was brutally destroyed, and third senior sister was lucky enough to escape. After leaving the Hunglio Galaxy, she joined the sect that I joined after her, and we were both under the same master. In fact, I was only able to become master's disciple because third senior sister helped me. Otherwise, master would not have cared about me at that time. Zhou Donghuang's third senior sister was called He Mingxi, and she was 10 years older than him. In his previous life, when he had met her, she had already been an ultimate primordial soul adept, and her abilities were astonishing. An ultimate primordial soul adept who was not even 200 years old was considered quite talented even among the thousands of races in the universe. One had to know that many people could advance quickly in their early stages, but might not be able to advance further in the future. In his previous life, Zhou Donghuang had met someone who had entered the Dharma stage before the age of 30, and before the age of 50 he had entered the primordial soul stage. However, that person was still stuck at the primordial soul stage until he was 1,000 years old and he finally died. One had to know that he had already entered the primordial soul stage before he was 300 years old. In the next 600 years, no matter how hard he tried, he was unable to enter the deity transformation stage. As a result, he died at the end of his life. A primordial soul adept's lifespan was usually 1,000 years. Of course, if a nascent divinity adept cultivated a technique like the technique of everlasting youth, his lifespan could be extended to 1,500 years. Who are you and why have you come to the Lightning Sect? Just as Zhou Donghuang neared the periphery of the cluster of buildings within the many sword peaks, he was stopped by someone. The ones who stopped him were two young men in their 30s. They were surrounded by golden true essence. They were both golden core cultivators. One of them, a skinny young man, carried a sheathed long sword on his back. On the other hand, there was a huge sheathless sword on the back of a sturdy young man. The heavy sword had no edge and it looked very skillful. These two were the Lightning Sword Sect's patrolling disciples. They noticed Zhou Donghuang's sword sect and stepped forward to stop him. "I'm looking for He Mingxi from the Autumn Valley of the Lightning Sword Sect," Zhou Donghuang said. "You're looking for Sister He?" Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, the eyes of the two patrolling disciples of the Lightning Sword Sect narrowed slightly. At the same time, their cold expressions became friendly in an instant. "Little brother, who are you? Why are you looking for Sister He?" The skinny disciple forced a smile and asked politely. He did not seem arrogant just because Zhou Donghuang was only a silver essence adept. At this moment, Zhou Donghuang was surrounded by silver inner yuan. This was the mark of a silver essence adept. "She's my sister." Zhou Donghuang smiled. "Sister?" Zhou Donghuang's words caused the two patrolling disciples to look shocked. Could it be that the person in front of them was a disciple that the Autumn Valley head had taken in outside? He looked to be in his early 20s at most, but he was already a silver core cultivator. That was possible. "Little brother, I'll take you to the Autumn Valley." The skinny patrolling disciple of the Lightning Sword Sect greeted the other person and led Zhou Donghuang into the Lightning Sword Sect. Along the way, Zhou Donghuang studied the sword peaks around him that looked like sharp swords rising into the sky. These sword peaks were obviously sculpted, and each sword formation looked like a sword. Even a divine transformation adept would have to spend a lot of effort to sculpt hundreds of sword peaks like this. "Little brother, are you a disciple that the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword Sect took in? Why are you only here now?" The skinny disciple asked curiously. I have some matters to settle. Zhou Donghuang gave a perfunctory reply. He could not possibly say that he did not know the Autumn Valley head and had never even seen him before, could he? In his past life, when he had known third senior sister, her father, who was the Autumn Valley head, had already perished along with the Lightning Sword sect. Now, the most important thing was to see his third sister. As long as he saw her, everything would be easy. How should I address you, little brother? Zhou Donghuang. So it's little brother Zhou? Little brother Zhou, I'm Lu Ping, a disciple of the Wood Division of the Lightning Sword sect. On the way to the Autumn Valley of the Lightning Sword sect, Lu Ping was very friendly to Zhou Donghuang, to the point that Zhou Donghuang could not stand it. How friendly was he? Lu Ping's friendliness even made Zhou Donghuang suspicious. Did this Lu Ping know that he had been a celestial in his previous life? Otherwise, why would they be so enthusiastic to the point of fawning over him? What Zhou Donghuang did not know was, in the Lightning Sword sect, the disciples were divided into outer and inner disciples. Only the inner disciples could enter the four valleys, including the Autumn Valley, and become disciples of the four valleys. The four valleys were the Spring Valley, the Summer Valley, the Autumn Valley, and the Winter Valley. In the Lightning Sword sect, there was only one way for an outer disciple to become an inner disciple and enter the four valleys. That was to enter the Dharma stage before the age of 30 and become a Dharma adept. Other than that, the other way was to catch the eye of the valley head and be personally accepted as a disciple. Because of this, there were still a few young disciples in the spring, summer, autumn, and winter valleys who had not entered the Dharma stage. These young disciples who entered the four valleys, even if they had not entered the Dharma stage, were still inner disciples of the Lightning Sword sect. Lu Ping, who was now leading the way for Zhou Donghuang, was only an outer disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. He was in his 30s and had not yet entered the Dharma stage. Inner disciples were all talented people. In the future, they would at least be able to become an elder in the Lightning Sword sect. Outer disciples, on the other hand, would at most be a small steward in the outer sect for their entire lives. In Lu Ping's eyes, since the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect had made an exception to accept Zhou Donghuang as a disciple, he was definitely talented and had a bright future ahead of him. Now he could still say a few words to Zhou Donghuang and get to know him. In the future he might not even be able to talk to him. There were only benefits to familiarizing oneself with them as early as possible. There were no disadvantages. Brother Zhou, we've arrived at the Autumn Valley. With Lu Ping leading the way, Zhou Donghuang arrived at a vast valley. Maple leaves fluttered in the air, and it was the scene of autumn. Red maple leaves covered the ground, and many flowers and plants had withered. Some fruit trees had ripened. This is the Autumn Valley? Zhou Donghuang's heart skipped a beat. Outer disciple? Why have you come to the Autumn Valley? A figure suddenly flew out from one side of the Autumn Valley. It was a young man dressed in a long green robe. Although he was flying in the air, there was no inner yuan around him. It was obvious that he was an adept at or above the Dharma stage. Only adepts at or above the Dharma stage could restrain their inner yuan. Outer disciple Lu Ping greets Brother Huang. Lu Ping bowed respectfully to the newcomer and introduced Zhou Donghuang. Brother Huang, this Brother Zhou is a disciple that valley head he took in. He has just arrived at the Lightning Sword sect today. Without waiting for the green-robed young man to speak, Lu Ping smiled and said to Zhou Donghuang, Brother Zhou, since I brought you to the Autumn Valley, I'll take my leave now. After Lu Ping left, the green-robed young man looked Zhou Donghuang up and down. You're a disciple that the valley head took in outside? Zhou Donghuang did not answer the green-robed young man directly. Instead, he smiled at him and said, Please bring me to see Sister He Mingxi. Come with me. When the green-robed young man heard that Zhou Donghuang wanted to see the Autumn Valley head's daughter, He Mingxi, he did not ask any more questions and led the way. Sister He Mingxi, someone is looking for you. The young man brought Zhou Donghuang to the other side of the valley, halfway up the mountain. There was a spacious courtyard on a wide stone platform. As the young man spoke, a beautiful figure quickly floated out of the courtyard. It was a young lady dressed in a sky-blue dress. The lady looked to be in her 20s, and it was impossible to tell that she was over 30. Her eyebrows were like a painting and her eyes were like the stars. Her cheeks were delicate and pretty, and her long hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall. She was more than 1.7 meters tall and her figure was slender. As she stood there, her long legs were especially eye-catching. As the lady walked out, Zhou Donghuang's eyes locked onto her. His body trembled slightly, and he could no longer maintain his composure. More than 800 years. He had not seen his third sister in more than 800 years. She looked exactly like the third sister in his memory, except that she looked younger, and her aura was not as mature as the third sister in his memory. "Who are you? What business do you have with me?" He Mingshi asked as she looked at the young man in white standing beside the green-robed young man. "Sister He Mingshi, you don't know him?" The green-robed young man's expression changed. Chapter 221. Who are you? Why are you pretending to be a disciple of the Autumn Valley? The green-robed young man glared at Zhou Donghuang. He had never imagined that someone would pretend to be a disciple of the Autumn Valley. Was he not afraid of death? Just now, because he did not think that anyone would dare to pretend to be a disciple of the Autumn Valley, he had brought the white-robed young man to He Mingshi. He did not think that He Mingshi might not know that the Autumn Valley head had accepted such a disciple, because that was almost impossible. He Mingshi was the only daughter of the Autumn Valley head. Pretending to be a disciple of the Autumn Valley? Hearing the green-robed young man's words, He Mingshi frowned slightly. Then she looked seriously at the white-robed young man in front of her. The way the white-robed young man looked at her gave her a strange feeling as if he knew her. Just as the green-robed young man took a step forward and his Dharma power appeared, about to attack Zhou Donghuang, He Mingshi stopped him. "Senior brother Huang Long, wait." The young man in the green robe was named Huang Long. Although he was not as powerful as He Mingshi, he was older than He Mingshi and had entered the Autumn Valley before He Mingshi had even reached the Dharma stage. As such, He Mingshi had to address him as senior. Since He Mingshi had spoken, Huang Long naturally could not disobey. As he withdrew his Dharma power, he glared at Zhou Donghuang. "You know me?" He Mingshi looked at Zhou Donghuang and asked curiously. "Third senior sister." At this time, Zhou Donghuang finally regained his composure and tried to suppress his emotions. He took a deep breath and smiled as he greeted He Mingshi. "Third senior sister?" Zhou Donghuang's greeting of He Mingshi surprised her. "Did you get the wrong person?" "Third senior sister, I would like to speak to you in private," Zhou Donghuang said. "Rascal, you are pretending to be a disciple of the Autumn Valley. You should be punished. How dare you make such a request of junior sister Mingshi?" Huang Long said angrily. He Mingshi and Zhou Donghuang looked at each other. After a moment, she looked at Huang Long. "Senior brother Huang Long, go do what you need to do. I would like to hear what he has to say. If he can't explain himself, I'll punish him severely and kick him out of the Autumn Valley and out of the Lightning Sword sect." Huang Long nodded. Before he left, he glared angrily at Zhou Donghuang. "Brat, don't play any tricks." What he said was just a casual remark. He Mingshi's strength was above his, so he naturally didn't think that a mere silver core cultivator could pose a threat to her. After Huang Long left, He Mingshi looked at Zhou Donghuang, whose gaze had never left her. "Now it's just the two of us. What do you want to say?" "Third sister." Zhou Donghuang looked at He Mingshi and said slowly, "When you were 6 years old, you secretly placed a rat in your father's boots. Later, because you were afraid that your father would be angry and punish you, you secretly took the rat away. How did you know?" He Mingshi's expression changed. She was the only one who knew about this. Even her father didn't know about it. However, the white-clothed young man in front of her had casually said it, causing her hair to stand on end. Who was this person? How did he know this secret of hers? Zhou Donghuang didn't respond to He Mingshi and continued, "When you were 13, you entered the Khanate stage on the first day of the year. In order to get your father to praise you, you said that you broke through on the last day of the year you were 12. He Mingshi's eyes narrowed. This matter was also a secret that only she knew. "When you were 19. When you were 21. What Zhou Donghuang was saying now was what his third sister, He Mingshi, had told him when they were chatting in his previous life. Before He Mingshi had told him about this, only she knew about it. Who are you?" He Mingshi's face was pale as she looked at the white-clothed young man in front of her. She felt that she had no secrets in front of this person. "Third sister." Zhou Donghuang smiled and said, "Don't be afraid. These are all the secrets I know about you. Speaking of which, you might not believe me. I only knew about these things in a dream. In the first half of the past year, I had a very long dream. In the dream you were my third sister and you told me about your background. You are He Mingshi, a disciple of the Autumn Valley of the Lightning Sword sect on the Tailao planet of the Hungliu galaxy. The things that I said just now were all told to me in the dream. I am not from the Tailao planet, not even from the Hungliu galaxy. I am from the Ziyun planet of the Kaiyuan galaxy. The Donghuang sect, the leader of the top 5 sects of the Ziyun planet, is my sect, and I am the current leader of the Donghuang sect. I left the Ziyun planet half a year ago. Third sister, you can investigate all of this. I have no ill intentions in coming here, I just want to verify that dream. I never thought that the dream would be real. Zhou Donghuang sighed. As he said this, he saw the suspicion in He Mingxi's eyes, so he revealed his background without fear. Furthermore, if what I said is true. Third sister, you are the only one who knows about this. How did I know about it? Don't tell me that I have such extraordinary methods. Furthermore, I am 10 years younger than you, third sister. When you were 6, I was not even born yet. Zhou Donghuang continued. The reason why Zhou Donghuang had come up with such a big lie was because he really did not know how to explain it to his third sister. Other than this, he could not think of a better way to make third sister accept him as her junior without revealing that he had come from 1,000 years in the future. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, He Mingxi's furrowed brows relaxed. She felt that Zhou Donghuang's words made sense. You came to the Lightning Sword sect, to the Autumn Valley, just to see me and verify your dream? He Mingxi asked. Not just that. Zhou Donghuang's expression was solemn as he said, in my dream I dreamt of something else. In the near future, the Lightning Sword sect would face a calamity. In that calamity, your father, the Autumn Valley head, died. As for you, you left the Tailao planet and the Honglio galaxy. I also met you later on. At that time, you were already an ultimate primordial soul adept. You and I were in the same sect, under the same master. Our master's disciples, eldest senior brother and second senior sister, died before you entered the sect. Among our master's disciples, you were ranked 3rd and I was the last to enter the sect, ranked 4th. Because of this, I address you as third sister. At this point, Zhou Donghuang did not continue. He Mingxi's expression had already changed. In her heart, she naturally felt that Zhou Donghuang's words were a little far-fetched. However, the secrets that Zhou Donghuang had spoken of were only known to her. Apart from her, no one else could have known. She was 100% sure of this. Combining all these factors, although she felt that it was ridiculous, she still believed the words of the young man in white before her. Why would the Lightning Sword sect face a calamity? When would it happen? He Mingxi asked. Hearing He Mingxi ask this, Zhou Donghuang knew that she already believed his words. The Lightning Sword sect's calamity was caused by the Spring Valley head. As for the specific reason, you did not tell me. As for when it would happen, you did not tell me clearly. Seeing that He Mingxi's expression had changed and her brows had furrowed, Zhou Donghuang said, at that time, you only told me that when the Lightning Sword sect was destroyed. Third sister, you had just broken through and entered the late Dharma stage. If your level of practice had not increased due to my appearance, and you had trained normally, when you entered the late Dharma stage, you would have brought your father away from the Autumn Valley, and you would have been able to escape. Zhou Donghuang continued. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, He Mingxi heaved a sigh of relief. Third sister, the Ziyun planet that I am from is no longer suitable for me to continue training there. I would like to stay in the Autumn Valley to train. Can you speak to your father? Zhou Donghuang said to He Mingxi. Hearing this, He Mingxi looked deeply at Zhou Donghuang. Before the age of 30, if you do not enter the Dharma stage, you cannot enter the Autumn Valley. How old are you this year and what is your level of practice? He Mingxi asked. 24 years old, Golden Essence stage. Zhou Donghuang said. 24 years old, Golden Essence stage? He Mingxi was shocked. Even she had only entered the Golden Essence stage when she was 25 years old. The person before her had actually entered the Golden Essence stage earlier than her? Furthermore, from what he had said, the planet that he had been on was obviously not as good as the Tailao planet, where the Lightning Sword sect was located. Within the Autumn Valley, there was a spell that could detect one's age through one's bones. After He Mingxi brought Zhou Donghuang there to confirm his age, and after seeing the golden inner yuan that surrounded Zhou Donghuang's body, she finally believed his words. The martial arts talent that you have displayed so far is sufficient. I can ask my father to accept you into the Autumn Valley, He Mingxi said to Zhou Donghuang. However, if you are not able to enter the Dharma stage before the age of 30, and you wish to remain in the Lightning Sword sect, you will have to leave the Autumn Valley and join the 5 outer halls. The 5 outer halls of the Lightning Sword sect were the Gold Hall, the Wood Hall, the Water Hall, the Fire Hall, and the Earth Hall. Previously, the patrolling disciple who had sent Zhou Donghuang to the Autumn Valley, Lu Ping, had claimed to be a disciple of the Wood Hall of the Lightning Sword sect. All right. Zhou Donghuang nodded, but at the same time he reminded He Mingxi, third senior sister, the things that I have told you, it is best that you do not tell your father. It is fine if he does not believe me, but if he does, it will only add to his troubles. I know what I am doing, He Mingxi said. Just now you said that you are from the Ziyun planet of the Kaiyuan galaxy? Furthermore, you are the current leader of the Donghuang sect, one of the top 5 sects on the Ziyun planet? Yes. Zhou Donghuang nodded and his eyes flashed. On the Ziyun planet, if I claim to be the second strongest in martial arts, no one would dare to claim to be the first. In the current generation of the Ziyun planet, I, Zhou Donghuang, am invincible. Chapter 222. But, third senior sister, if you want to go to the Kaiyuan galaxy or the Ziyun planet, there is no way to use the galaxy teleporter. There is no galaxy teleporter in the Kaiyuan galaxy, Zhou Donghuang said to He Mingxi. Zhou Donghuang said to He Mingxi, however, I have the specific coordinates of the galaxy teleporter closest to Ziyun, which is adjacent to the Kaiyuan galaxy. I can give it to you. In addition, I can create a 3-dimensional star chart to show you how to get to the Ziyun planet from the galaxy teleporter. Zhou Donghuang's words were very magnanimous. In his previous life, he had understood his third senior sister very well. She was a cautious person and she would definitely go to the Ziyun planet to find out more about him. Only then would she be at ease. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Donghuang took out a pen and paper and drew a 3-dimensional star chart on the paper. He marked out the coordinates of the galaxy teleporter in the Autumn Mountain Galaxy, the Heiyu planet, and the route to the Ziyun planet in the Kaiyuan galaxy. He then handed it to He Mingxi. He Mingxi did not stop him throughout the process, because sooner or later she would have to draw this star chart for him. Under He Mingxi's shocked gaze, Zhou Donghuang spoke first. In my dream, third senior sister, you were a cautious person, so I concluded that you would definitely go to the Ziyun planet. In the coming days I will be busy breaking through to my current level of practice, and I plan to stay in the Autumn Valley to train, so I'm afraid I won't be able to go with you, third senior sister. Zhou Donghuang said. As she took the star chart, He Mingxi looked at Zhou Donghuang with a complicated expression. She felt that she had no secrets in front of him. You said earlier that your dream lasted for half a year, and it has now ended. When did it end? He Mingxi asked. Zhou Donghuang took a deep breath. Third senior sister, I only woke up when you died in the dream. Died. He Mingxi's expression changed. Everyone was afraid of death and she was only 34 years old. Even with her current level of practice, she could normally live to 600 years old. How did you die? He Mingxi asked in a low voice. I was killed. Zhou Donghuang sighed and said, but don't worry, third senior sister. Since I have come to the Autumn Valley to find you, I will definitely change your fate in my dream. Furthermore, as long as you and your father are able to avoid the lightning sword sect's destruction, my dream will also change. In reality, my appearance in front of you has already changed the trajectory of our lives in my dream. In the dream I only met you 100 years later. Zhou Donghuang said. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, He Mingxi heaved a sigh of relief. If that was the case, then her and her father's fate in Zhou Donghuang's dream could be changed. I'll take you to see my father so that he can accept you as a disciple of the Autumn Valley. He Mingxi brought Zhou Donghuang to find her father, the current valley head of the Autumn Valley, He Jin. He Jin was a middle-aged man of average build and average looks. He had a goatee and a mustache above his upper lip. At first glance he looked nothing like He Mingxi. It was hard to imagine how someone as average as He Jin, who had lost face and could not be found in a group, could have such a beautiful daughter. Zhou Donghuang looked at He Jin carefully and found that He Jin and He Mingxi looked alike. The contours of their ears were almost exactly the same. Father, his name is Zhou Donghuang. He is a martial arts genius that I met outside. He is 24 years old and became a golden essence adept a year ago, 1 year before I did. He Mingxi stood in front of He Jin. She no longer had the mature look from before. Instead, she was like a lively little girl. She held He Jin's arm and smiled as she introduced Zhou Donghuang to him. Greetings, Valley Head. Zhou Donghuang nodded at He Jin and cupped his hands in greeting. Of course, he only bowed to the man in front of him because He Mingxi was his third senior sister. If not for He Mingxi, even if the Lightning Sword sect leader appeared in front of Zhou Donghuang would not have bowed to him, much less He Jin, who was only the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect. This was also the pride of his past life as an ultimate celestial adept. I believe in that girl Mingxi's judgment. He Jin was obviously a friendly and approachable person. He smiled at Zhou Donghuang. Young man, since Mingxi has brought you here, I assume that you have the intention of entering the Lightning Sword sect in the Autumn Valley? Yes. Zhou Donghuang nodded. I can let you enter the Autumn Valley. But I have to warn you first. He Jin had not finished speaking when He Mingxi interrupted him. Father, I have already told him that if he does not reach the Dharma stage by the age of 30, he will be expelled from the Autumn Valley and sent to the 5 outer halls. He will be demoted from an inner disciple to an outer disciple. Obviously, He Mingxi knew what her father was going to say next. Since you have already told him, I will not repeat myself. He Jin looked at He Mingxi dotingly. Mingxi, I have already agreed. You can take him to complete the formalities for entering the sect. Yes, father. He Mingxi replied and looked at He Jin longingly. Under He Jin's shocked gaze, she finally left with Zhou Donghuang. This girl. I have never seen her so clingy before. He Jin could not help but shake his head and smile at He Mingxi's reluctant gaze. The doting look in his eyes deepened. The formalities for entering the sect were not done in the Autumn Valley. Instead, they had to be done at the Earth Hall, one of the 5 outer halls of the Lightning Sword sect. However, with He Mingxi, the only daughter of the Autumn Valley head, He Jin taking Zhou Donghuang along, everything went smoothly. In less than an hour, everything was done. Zhou Donghuang received a total of 3 items. Every month, inner sect disciples could receive a spirit stone, 1 superior quality spirit stone. The Lightning Sword sect inner sect disciple identity token was a silver, sword-shaped token with the words lightning carved on the front and Zhou Donghuang's name on the back. There was also a red maple leaf metal piece that could be pinned to the chest with Zhou Donghuang's name on the back. This was also the symbol of an Autumn Valley disciple. The inner sect disciples are divided into 4 valleys. The Autumn Valley is only one of them. There are also the Spring Valley, the Summer Valley, and the Winter Valley. The Autumn Valley, including you, has a total of 56 disciples. Inner sect disciples who can attain the primordial soul stage before the age of 100 can become core disciples. They can leave the 4 valleys and head to the Lightning Peak to train. The Lightning Peak is where the core disciples of the Lightning Sword sect and the strongest of the sect gather. Every once in a while, the strongest of the sect will give a lecture. My father is the Autumn Valley head and one of the pillars of the Lightning Sword sect. Every year he goes to the Lightning Peak to give a few lectures. Core disciples can receive 10 superior quality spirit stones every month. As He Mingxi finished speaking, Zhou Donghuang thought of the small, inferior quality spirit stone mines owned by the 5 main sects of the Ziyun planet and could not help but sigh to himself. In comparison, the Lightning Sword sect seemed rich and powerful. Moreover, in his previous life he had heard from Third Senior Sister that the Lightning Sword sect was one of the top sects in the Hungliu galaxy. Initially, when he had found out that the enemy of the Dharma adept who had left behind the Soul Shaper was in the Hungliu galaxy, he had thought it was a coincidence because he had originally planned to go to the Lightning Sword sect to train. Later, when he had gone to the Tianxian planet of the Luohe galaxy, he had found out from the Luo family that his fiancée Luo Qinghan was also in the Hungliu galaxy. In my previous life, Third Senior Sister told me that the Lightning Sword sect has a divine transformation adept. Usually, a sect with a divine transformation adept would have at least 1 small-scale superior quality spirit stone mine and several large-scale medium-quality spirit stone mines. Zhou Donghuang's heart skipped a beat. Let's go back to the Autumn Valley. I'll introduce you to a group of brothers and sisters in the Autumn Valley. After He Mingxi brought Zhou Donghuang back to the Autumn Valley, she formally introduced Zhou Donghuang to a group of Autumn Valley disciples in the sky above the Autumn Valley. This also let all the disciples who were not training in seclusion know that a new disciple had joined the Autumn Valley. Little junior brother, introduce yourself. He Mingxi said to Zhou Donghuang after introducing him. He Mingxi had originally called Zhou Donghuang junior brother Zhou, but Zhou Donghuang had insisted that she call him little junior brother. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang was serious, He Mingxi could only go along with him. After all, she still had to rely on Zhou Donghuang to change her and her father's fate. There was even one thing that she had not told Zhou Donghuang yet. She wanted to change the fate of the entire Lightning Sword sect and save it from destruction. Hello everyone, my name is Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang stood up and looked around at the people who had risen into the air and greeted them. Ah, hello junior brother Zhou. Junior brother Zhou, you're so handsome. I want to pursue you, is that okay? Junior brother Zhou is only a golden essence adept, and yet he has joined the Autumn Valley. It seems like the Valley head is very confident in Junior Brother Zhou's martial arts talent. Junior Brother Zhou, you haven't picked a place to train yet, have you? There's an empty yard near where I train. Why don't you stay there? I'll go over and give you some pointers when I have time in the future. Appearance was not only useful on Earth, but it was also useful in the boundless universe. Now, among the group of Autumn Valley disciples, The ones who were most enthusiastic about Zhou Donghuang joining the sect were some of the female disciples, who were constantly throwing flirtatious glances at him. Many of the male disciples looked at Zhou Donghuang with jealousy. This kid. Is he really a disciple that the valley head took in outside, but junior sister Mingxi doesn't know about it? Huang Long, the Autumn Valley disciple who had brought Zhou Donghuang to look for He Mingxi 2 hours ago, stood in the air and speculated to himself. But it's only been 2 hours. How did he go from a silver essence adept to a golden essence adept? Could it be that he broke through in just 2 hours? Now Zhou Donghuang stood in the air in front of He Mingxi, his body surrounded by golden inner yuan. Chapter 223. Before leaving the Ziyun planet, Zhou Donghuang already had a plan in mind. He would leave the Ziyun planet and head to the Tailao planet of the Honglio galaxy. He would go to the Lightning Sword sect to look for third senior sister He Mingxi and help her change the fate of the Lightning Sword sect so that she would not have to wander around. However, He Mingxi might not follow the path of her previous life and become the disciple of her master. As long as it was He Mingxi's choice, he would respect it. The Lightning Sword sect, the Tailao planet, and even the Honglio galaxy are enough to provide me with the best training environment before I reach the primordial soul stage. Before I reach the primordial soul stage, I will stay in the Honglio galaxy to train. This was Zhou Donghuang's plan. Dezhuang. Just as many of the female disciples of the Autumn Valley were throwing flirtatious glances at Zhou Donghuang, and many of the male disciples were looking at him with jealousy, He Mingxi spoke up. Her gaze fell on the sturdy figure standing far away in the sky behind the crowd. There's an empty courtyard next to the courtyard you live in. Bring junior brother there and help him tidy up that courtyard. You entered the sect before little junior brother, so take good care of him. When He Mingxi spoke now, her tone was obviously gentler, and it felt like a spring breeze. Yes, senior sister. As he replied, Zhou Donghuang's gaze also fell on him. The muscular figure was also approaching them through the air. This was a young man who was ridiculously tall. He was about 3 meters tall, but in terms of size, it was comparable to the Dharma power of an early Dharma adept. 10 feet was equivalent to 3 meters. In the blink of an eye, the young man who was like a giant, came to stand in front of Zhou Donghuang. He stood there like an iron tower, majestic and unmoving. He grinned, revealing 2 rows of snow-white teeth. His smile was simple and honest, even a little silly. Little junior brother, how are you? I am Dezhuang, pleased to meet you. Dezhuang's body was so large that even Zhou Donghuang, who was more than 1.8 meters tall, seemed very small in front of him like a child. Little junior brother, although Dezhuang is already 29 years old and is a golden essence adept, he has never been as smart as a normal person since he was young. Don't bully him. At this moment, He Mingxi appeared beside Zhou Donghuang in a flash and spoke in a voice that only Zhou Donghuang could hear. The seriousness in her tone made Zhou Donghuang realize that Dezhuang had a special place in his third senior sister's heart. Otherwise, how could his third senior sister be so motherly? Dezhuang. After reminding Zhou Donghuang softly, He Mingxi looked at the giant. Dezhuang, I will be going on a long journey in the next few days. Take good care of little brother. Don't worry, senior sister. With me here, whoever dares to bully junior brother, I will definitely teach them a lesson. Dezhuang laughed like a fool. At the same time, the way Zhou Donghuang looked at Dezhuang also became gentler, and his heart skipped a beat. He must be the one that third senior sister told me about in my previous life. He was the Autumn Valley disciple who risked his life to send third senior sister to the galaxy teleporter when the Lightning Sword sect was destroyed. He sacrificed himself to buy time for third senior sister to be teleported. I remember third senior sister saying that his name was Dezhuang. The hazy memories of his previous life gradually became clear at this moment. In his previous life, whenever He Mingxi mentioned the Autumn Valley disciple who had risked his life to save her, her eyes would shine with motherly light, and she could not help but sigh. It was also because of this that Zhou Donghuang's attitude towards Dezhuang changed subtly. Little brother, you should go with Dezhuang. He Mingxi said to Zhou Donghuang. As she finished speaking, she looked at the rest of the Autumn Valley disciples. As for the rest of you, go back to whatever you were doing. In the Autumn Valley, in terms of seniority, He Mingxi could only be considered a junior. However, as the only daughter of the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, she was destined to have the aura of a natural leader. Following her command, the group of Autumn Valley disciples dispersed. Of course, there were still a few female Autumn Valley disciples who winked at Zhou Donghuang before reluctantly leaving. Although there were many male disciples in the Autumn Valley, none of them caught their eye. Just based on his looks, This new junior brother was able to make their hearts race. Their hormones, which had been dormant for many years, seemed to explode at this moment. Little brother, follow me. De Zhuang gave Zhou Donghuang a simple smile and led the way. Zhou Donghuang followed closely behind. The courtyard that De Zhuang lived in was on the same side as He Mingxi's and the Autumn Valley heads He Jin's. They were all halfway up the mountain to the east of the Autumn Valley. Of course, there was still some distance between them. Halfway up the mountain, the sound of water could be heard. The water from a small waterfall splashed onto the stone platform, creating countless splashes. Behind the stone platform halfway up the mountain, there were 2 courtyards. Each courtyard had a spacious room, and in front of the door was a front yard planted with many flowers and plants. There was a stone table and a few stone stools in front of the table. However, compared to the clean and tidy appearance of one of the courtyards, the other was covered in a layer of dust and covered in cobwebs. Little brother, I'll help you clean up. As soon as he finished speaking, De Zhuang tore off his sleeves and rushed into the courtyard covered in cobwebs. Zhou Donghuang had been wondering what this guy was doing with his sleeves, but he later realized that he was using his sleeves as a rag to wipe the table and the door. He's a golden essence adept after all. Is there a need to do this? Zhou Donghuang was speechless. At the same time, he realized that this blockhead's brain was not flexible. Whoosh, whoosh. As Zhou Donghuang's golden inner yuan surged out, he walked into the courtyard that De Zhuang was still cleaning. His inner yuan swept out in all directions, forming a small tornado. In the blink of an eye, all the dust and cobwebs in the courtyard were carried by his inner yuan and swirled around Zhou Donghuang. At this moment, the entire courtyard looked brand new. Whoosh. Under De Zhuang's shocked gaze, Zhou Donghuang left the stone platform in a flash and flew into the air. As he withdrew his inner yuan, the dust fell from the sky. His white robe was still as shiny as new, without a speck of dust. Little junior brother, you're so smart. Why didn't I think of using my inner yuan to clean the courtyard? De Zhuang followed him out and reached out to pat his head. No wonder senior sister always says I'm stupid. I really am. Little junior brother, how can I be as smart as you? De Zhuang stared at Zhou Donghuang. Sometimes being smart is not a good thing. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. As the saying went, there are gains and losses. The smarter a person was, the more trouble they had. For people like De Zhuang, who had what people on earth called gigantism and was not very bright, at least they did not have too many troubles. De Zhuang did not understand. Why is being smart not a good thing? Senior sister said that if I were smarter, my combat ability would not be so bad. Although I'm a golden essence adept in the lightning sword sect, any golden essence adept, even an outer disciple, is no match for me. As De Zhuang spoke, he reached out and scratched his head, his face full of distress. I'm too stupid. Senior sister said that my reaction is too slow, always half a beat too slow. Slow reaction? Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly. In his previous life he had met many giants like De Zhuang. Their situations were the same as De Zhuang's, but without exception they were all strong. Just because they were not very smart did not mean that they did not have brains. Slow reaction did not mean that they were not talented. As long as they found the right path, they could even have an advantage over ordinary people. Come, attack me. Zhou Donghuang suddenly said to De Zhuang. De Zhuang was stunned, unable to react. I want you to attack me with all your strength. Zhou Donghuang repeated. Attack you with all my strength? De Zhuang finally reacted and immediately waved his hands. Little junior brother, no. Although I can't hit other golden essence adepts, I can hit you. If I hit you, I'm very strong. The power of my punch is much stronger than that of ordinary golden essence adepts. Even they would not dare to fight me head-on. De Zhuang did not attack as if he was afraid of hurting Zhou Donghuang. You're strong? Zhou Donghuang was stunned at first, but then he smiled lightly. That's good, I'm strong too. Since you're not attacking, I'll do it. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Donghuang moved. Whoosh. Zhou Donghuang, surrounded by golden inner yuan, flew through the air. In the blink of an eye, he was near De Zhuang, and his fist, which was imbued with the inner yuan of a golden essence, flew towards De Zhuang. Golden flames surged around his fist, like golden fireworks blossoming. Seeing Zhou Donghuang attack, De Zhuang was forced to attack, but he did not dare to use all his strength. After roughly gauging the strength of Zhou Donghuang's fist, he attacked with a similar amount of strength. Bang! There was a loud sound. It was De Zhuang's huge fist that collided with Zhou Donghuang's fist, and the two golden flames clashed. They were evenly matched. Little junior brother, I only used 70% of my strength. De Zhuang grinned and said to Zhou Donghuang. You're very strong indeed. Zhou Donghuang was a little surprised. The strength that De Zhuang could display with just his physical body was even stronger than that of an ordinary golden essence adept using a mid-grade spirit weapon. He was practically a natural-born fighting machine. Not only did this blockhead's body look huge, but the strength that it contained was also very strong. Furthermore, he could see that, and this was under the condition that De Zhuang had not undergone body tempering. Just by tempering his body with his inner yuan, he was able to give his body such strength. Such a person could be said to be a 1-in-a-million body tempering genius. Let's leave it at that, Zhou Donghuang said to De Zhuang. All right. De Zhuang smiled and withdrew his fist. Zhou Donghuang also withdrew his hand and stood upright. Looking at De Zhuang, his eyes flashed. This De Zhuang was born for body tempering techniques like the Fiery Thunder Training Regimen. Chapter 224. Just like that, Zhou Donghuang stayed in the Autumn Valley of the Lightning Sword sect. Whenever he cultivated, he would take out a large number of spiritual stones from his space ring and set up a spirit-gathering formation to aid his cultivation, allowing his cultivation speed to increase. Before going to the Tianshan planet of the Luoha galaxy to look for Luo Qinghan, other than the space ring left behind by a peak Dharma adept on the Honglong planet of the Tianma galaxy, he had also gone to other planets to find the relics of other Dharma adepts. However, the last few Dharma adepts had set up some tests. Only those who discovered the location of their relics and passed the tests set up when they were alive would be able to obtain their relics. The tests set up by a mere Dharma adept could not be that strong. With Zhou Donghuang's current abilities and experience from his past life, he easily passed the tests and obtained the relics they had left behind. However, the things that these people had left behind to Zhou Donghuang were the spirit weapons, elixir formulas, and some low-quality elixirs in the spirit stones. With Zhou Donghuang's standards, these were not worth his attention at all. Not to mention a supreme treasure like the Soul Shaper, there was nothing that could compare in value to the Elixir King fruit. I need to quickly transform this last silver essence into a golden essence. According to the requirements of the Lord of the Four Supremes, I must first train all 4 primal essences in my body to the golden essence stage before I can break through to the Dharma stage. Zhou Donghuang sat on the bed in his room, his eyes shining. 4 most golden essence adepts to enter the early Dharma stage. The birth of a Dharma power in their golden essence is a sign that they have reached the early Dharma stage. However, for me who practices the Lord of the Four Supremes, according to the requirements of the Lord of the Four Supremes, I need to birth all 4 golden essences and form a Dharma power before I can truly enter the early Dharma stage. Of course, this is the standard set by the Lord of the Four Supremes. Even if I only have 1 golden essence in my body that has formed a Dharma power, with that Dharma power, my abilities will not be weaker than most early Dharma adepts. Furthermore, because the Lord of the Four Supremes forms the Dharma power of the 4 divine beasts, I am almost invincible among Dharma adepts of the same level. What were the 4 divine beasts? That was a legendary powerful divine beast that had the ability to crush stellar domains and swallow stellar rivers. It stood at the very top of the food chain. Even if the Dharma powers of the 4 great divine beasts only contained 1/1000th of the true power of the divine beasts, it was still not something an ordinary Dharma power could compare to. If I were to enter the early Dharma stage recognized by the Lord of the Four Supremes and condense the Dharma powers of the 4 divine beasts, even if all the Dharma powers are only 10 feet long, I might be able to defeat or even kill an average late Dharma adept. Zhou Donghuang muttered to himself with a gleam in his eyes. Of course, this was only his guess at the moment. As for the specifics, he would have to wait until he actually condensed the Dharma power of the 4 mythical beasts in the future to find out. The Lightning Sword sect now had another inner disciple. The Autumn Valley had a new disciple. Even to the disciples of the Autumn Valley, this was a small matter. As for the entire Lightning Sword sect, it was even less of a concern. However, to the Autumn Valley disciple, De Zhuang, this was no small matter. This was because his senior sister had asked him to take good care of this little brother. There were many female disciples in the Autumn Valley, and in terms of seniority, there were quite a few who were above De Zhuang. However, he addressed them by their full names, except for He Mingxi, who he addressed directly as senior sister without any other prefix. Little brother, if you have any needs, you can look for me at any time. Even if I'm practicing, you can interrupt me. As long as I can do anything for you, I will do my best to help you. This is because my senior sister has asked me to take care of you. Zhou Donghuang had initially had a good impression of De Zhuang because his 3rd senior sister, He Mingxi, had mentioned him in her past life. However, in the following period of time, De Zhuang's attitude towards this 3-meter-tall giant had changed because of what He Mingxi had said to him. Zhou Donghuang had acknowledged him as a friend. This was also the first friend that Zhou Donghuang had made in the Lightning Sword sect. After De Zhuang had once again helped him buy the herbs that he needed, Zhou Donghuang was not in a hurry to collect them. He smiled and asked, "De Zhuang, how did you enter the Lightning Sword sect in the Autumn Valley?" "The valley head and senior sister brought me in." De Zhuang smiled sheepishly. "Where is your home? Is it on the Tailao planet?" Zhou Donghuang asked curiously. "Oh." De Zhuang paused for a moment, then shook his head. "I don't have a home. Ever since I could remember, my family was a group of giant apes." Of course, De Zhuang only found out later that De Zhuang was a human, and they were demonic beasts in the eyes of humans and demons. At that time, the entire group of giant apes that I was in was killed by a strong individual, and I was the only one left. That person was about to kill De Zhuang, but Senior Sister and the Valley Master happened to pass by. The Valley Master knew that expert, so he didn't want to be a busybody, but Senior Sister pitied me and insisted on saving me, so the Valley Master saved me. At this point, De Zhuang's eyes turned red, and his inner yuan started to rise. Although they were giant apes, if they had not raised me, I would have died long ago. I must avenge them, I must avenge them. After a while, De Zhuang was like a punctured balloon, completely deflated. However, that person was too strong, and it was too difficult for me to kill him to avenge them. Senior Sister said that he was a strong primordial soul adept, and he was not much weaker than the valley head. If I want to kill him, it will be harder than reaching the heavens. At this point, without any warning, De Zhuang squatted down and buried his head in tears. At this point, the 3-meter-tall giant seemed to have become a crybaby. "Let me help you." Zhou Donghuang looked at De Zhuang and smiled lightly. De Zhuang stopped crying and looked up at Zhou Donghuang in disbelief. "You help me? How can you help me? You are not even as strong as me, how can you help me? You don't believe me?" Zhou Donghuang looked deeply at De Zhuang and asked. Meeting Zhou Donghuang's clear gaze, De Zhuang was stunned at first, but he quickly regained his composure and said seriously, "If you can avenge De Zhuang, my life will be yours." In De Zhuang's heart, Senior Sister is the most important, but if you can avenge me, you can be as important as Senior Sister. Take this cultivation method as payment for running errands for me during this period of time. Zhou Donghuang raised his hand, and a stack of paper filled with words appeared in his hand. Inner yuan flowed from his hand as he passed the paper to De Zhuang. "You should be able to read." "Yes." De Zhuang nodded, but he did not reach out to take the stack of paper that was floating in the air with Zhou Donghuang's inner yuan. "Little junior brother, you don't have to help me avenge my death. Senior Sister told me to take care of you. Even if someone wants to kill you and I can't defeat him, I'll help you block him and die in front of you." If anyone else had said this, Zhou Donghuang would have thought that they were trying to win him over. However, after spending some time with De Zhuang, Zhou Donghuang knew that this silly man could not possibly be so scheming. Furthermore, although he had been in the Autumn Valley of the Lightning Sword sect for some time, he had not revealed himself, and no one knew what was so special about him. Under such circumstances, even those who were scheming would not purposely try to curry favor with him, much less a silly man like De Zhuang. To curry favor with someone, one had to have something in return, right? "If you want revenge, take this," Zhou Donghuang said lightly. "This is a technique that can be practiced all the way to the primordial soul stage. As for the technique after that, I'll give it to you when you reach the primordial soul stage." Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, De Zhuang's eyes lit up with excitement, and he could not help but raise his hand. However, just as his hand was in midair, he stopped. "Little brother, Senior Sister told me before that I cannot accept a reward without doing anything. I cannot accept this technique. I cannot accept a reward without doing anything." Zhou Donghuang shook his head. "Didn't you say that if I can help you take revenge, I will become the second most important person in your heart? To me, this is the best reward you can give me." Seeing that De Zhuang was still hesitating, Zhou Donghuang said, "If you do not accept this technique today, no matter what happens in the future, I will not ask you for help. In fact, I will even tell Senior Sister that you did not take good care of me." "Little brother, how can you do this?" De Zhuang was so anxious that his face turned red. "You can't tell Senior Sister like this." "No, you can't." "Then accept it." Zhou Donghuang was a little speechless. He had just taken out the Fiery Thunder training regimen, which was considered a top-notch technique in the entire universe. Everyone would fight to get their hands on it, but this blockhead had not accepted it even after so long. Okay, I'll accept it. But you can't tell Senior Sister that I did not take good care of you." You can't tell her. De Zhuang said anxiously. As long as you accept this technique, practice it properly and don't pass it on to anyone else, I will not tell your senior sister that you did not take good care of me. At this point, Zhou Donghuang realized. In this blockhead's heart, his third senior sister's opinion of him seemed to be more important than anything else. No wonder in his previous life, this blockhead had risked his life to save third senior sister. De Zhuang will practice it properly, but this technique, even senior sister cannot pass it on? De Zhuang looked at Zhou Donghuang. As for senior sister, I have a technique that is not inferior to this one for her to practice. This technique is not suitable for her. Chapter 225. De Zhuang, this 9-ring bamboo, who sold it to you? From the pile of herbs that De Zhuang had bought for him, Zhou Donghuang took out a herb that looked like a green bamboo. It was about the length of 2 fingers and from top to bottom, there were 9 distinct carvings on it. It looked very special. The 9-ring bamboo was the most valuable herb that Zhou Donghuang had asked De Zhuang to buy. It was the main ingredient that he needed to produce a type of core drug, and it was also the most valuable. Of course, the price varied, and it was usually around 100 mid-quality spirit stones. 100 mid-quality spirit stones was equivalent to 10 high-quality spirit stones. The core disciples of the Lightning Sword sect could collect 10 high-quality spirit stones from the Lightning Sword sect every month. As for inner sect disciples, they had to wait 10 months before they could receive 10 high-quality spirit stones. This was because the Lightning Sword sect only gave out 1 high-quality spirit stone to inner sect disciples every month. As for outer sect disciples, it was even rarer. It was said that they only received 3 mid-quality spirit stones. It's the Summer Valley disciple, Pan Yilin. De Zhuang looked at the bamboo that Zhou Donghuang had specially taken out from the pile of herbs and thought for a moment before he remembered. How many spirit stones did he sell it to you? Zhou Donghuang asked again. 110 mid-grade spirit stones. De Zhuang said. He took quite a lot of spirit stones. Zhou Donghuang's eyes narrowed and a cold light flashed in them. What's wrong? Although De Zhuang looked a little dumb, he still knew how to read people's expressions. Seeing Zhou Donghuang like this, he felt that something was wrong. This 9-ring bamboo, is there something wrong with it? This is not 9-ring bamboo. Zhou Donghuang suddenly opened his eyes and shook his head. This is 6-ring bamboo, and the other 3 lines were added by someone else. Although the 9 lines on it seem to be the same, the order of the lines is not uniform. For a normal 9-ring bamboo, the distance between each line is basically the same. Look at this. Without these 3 lines, the other 6 lines would be the same distance between each other. However, the existence of these 3 lines has broken the rules of the distance between the lines, and it has become irregular. As Zhou Donghuang spoke, he showed the 9-ring bamboo to De Zhuang and pointed at the 3 markings on it. Although there are only 3 vein patterns between 6-ring bamboo and 9-ring bamboo, the difference in value is huge. A 9-ring bamboo is worth about 100 mid-tier spirit stones. If you're buying a real 9-ring bamboo, 110 mid-tier spirit stones isn't that expensive. However, this is a fake 9-ring bamboo. It's just a 6-ring bamboo. The value of the 6-ring bamboo is at most 1/10 of the 9-ring bamboo. This 6-ring bamboo is worth 10 mid-grade spirit stones at most. You have been deceived. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. Aside from alchemists, not many people knew about the specific characteristics of 9-ring bamboo. In Zhou Donghuang's previous life, many people had been deceived by 6-ring bamboo. However, those who had been deceived had been laymen or average core forging masters. Even if a skilled core forging master did not know how to identify 9-ring bamboo based on this characteristic, he would still be able to identify 9-ring bamboo based on its other characteristics. All medicinal herbs of a certain age would have these subtle characteristics. Different paths lead to the same goal. 9-ring bamboo was no exception. I've been deceived. After hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, De Zhuang's face turned red and his eyes widened. Anger began to rise in the depths of his eyes. That Pan Yilin, he lied to me? He lied to me? No way. I want to find him. I want to find him. De Zhuang's eyes were bloodshot because of his anger. It was as if he had turned into a demon from hell, ready to devour anyone who saw it. Little brother, I will definitely give you an explanation for this. De Zhuang snatched the 9-ring bamboo from Zhou Donghuang's hands. His face was red as he spoke to Zhou Donghuang, then he hurriedly turned and left. Summer Valley disciple, Pan Yilin? Not long after De Zhuang left, Zhou Donghuang stood up and followed him out. In the Lightning Sword sect, there was a place for people of the sect to trade. Whether it was the senior members of the sect or the disciples, they could all trade here. Once an item was sold, as long as it was worth the money, it was not refundable. Of course, if you sold the item and felt that it was not worth it and wanted to buy it back, as long as the buyer did not relent, there was nothing you could do. The Lightning Sword sect's trade plaza was under the jurisdiction of the sect. It was fair, just, and open. Senior Brother Lien, I sold the fake 9-ring bamboo to De Zhuang of the Autumn Valley. After this, I will definitely anger Senior Sister He Mingxi of the Autumn Valley. Senior Sister He Mingxi is the only daughter of the Autumn Valley head. If she comes looking for me, you have to protect me. You can't just ignore me. On one side of the trade plaza, a young man dressed in green said to another young man dressed in a golden robe with silver trim. The former had a medium build and ordinary looks. He was the type that would be hard to find in a crowd. The latter had a tall build and handsome features. The corners of his mouth were always curled up, and there was a hint of evil in him. Furthermore, you were the one who asked me to do this. The young man in green said fearfully. Junior Brother Pan, you don't believe me? The young man in the golden robe glanced at the former and asked meaningfully, You are afraid that I will sacrifice you to please Junior Sister He Mingxi? No. Although the former did think this way, he did not dare to say it out loud. This was because the person standing in front of him was the direct disciple of the Summer Valley head. He was definitely the pride of the Summer Valley, and if he offended him, it would be difficult for him to do anything in the Summer Valley. Once he was kicked out of the Summer Valley, the other 3 valleys would not want him anymore. As long as he wanted to stay in the Lightning Sword sect, he was destined to stay in the 5 outer halls for the rest of his life. Unless he could become a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. However, the conditions to become a core disciple were extremely difficult. He knew this very well. Pan Yilin. Just as the young man in green was being subservient to the young man in the golden robe, a thunderous roar suddenly came from the sky above the trade plaza. The roar contained thick inner yuan and was deafening. Instantly, the gazes of the crowd in the trade plaza all landed on the tall, burly figure in the sky above the square. This was a burly young man who was more than 3 meters tall. He was so tall that he did not even look human. As soon as he appeared, many people immediately recognized him. It's De Zhuang of the Autumn Valley. What is this De Zhuang of the Autumn Valley trying to do? I've heard that this guy was raised by the giant ape demon. Did he learn the ferocity of the giant ape demon? Who angered him? Up in the sky, the tall, burly De Zhuang of the Autumn Valley successfully attracted everyone's attention. De Zhuang, what are you trying to do? The young man in green was subservient in front of the young man in the golden robe, but in front of De Zhuang, he was somewhat arrogant. He raised his head to look at De Zhuang in the sky and asked coldly. He was obviously the Summer Valley disciple that De Zhuang had come to look for, Pan Yilin. Pan Yilin, you sold me fake 9-ring bamboo. De Zhuang descended from the sky and appeared in front of Pan Yilin in the blink of an eye. Because he was too tall and Pan Yilin was only about 1.7 meters tall, De Zhuang looked down at Pan Yilin and questioned him. Fake 9-ring bamboo? Pan Yilin raised an eyebrow. De Zhuang, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. The 9-ring bamboo that I sold you is not fake. It's not fake. De Zhuang's face was red as he took out the 9-ring bamboo that he had bought from Pan Yilin and showed it to everyone who had gathered to watch the commotion. Little brother said that this 9-ring bamboo is fake. The distance between the lines is irregular, and it is only 6-ring bamboo. 6-ring bamboo is worth at most 10 mid-level spirit stones, but you charged me 110 mid-level spirit stones. Do you really think that I, De Zhuang, am a pushover? De Zhuang glared at Pan Yilin angrily. His voice became deeper and deeper, and the golden inner yuan around him began to emanate uncontrollably. It was as if he would attack Pan Yilin at any time. Is that 9-ring bamboo? I don't think it's 9-ring bamboo. The lines of 9-ring bamboo should not be like this. It's a fake 9-ring bamboo made from 6-ring bamboo. Pan Yilin actually sold a fake 9-ring bamboo to De Zhuang for 110 mid-level spirit stones? That's not very kind. Most people who do not understand 9-ring bamboo might actually be deceived by this fake 9-ring bamboo. This Pan Yilin, how dare he? In the Lightning Sword sect, who doesn't know that the Autumn Valley disciple, De Zhuang, is backed by the daughter of the Autumn Valley head, He Mingxi? What he did is not against the rules of the trade center. After all, one side is willing to take the hit, and the other side is willing to take the hit. But isn't he worried that He Mingxi will come after him? Some of the onlookers had recognized that the 9-ring bamboo in De Zhuang's hands was fake, but most of them were shocked by Pan Yilin's courage. This Summer Valley disciple, who had not even reached the Dharma stage, had the guts to deceive the daughter of the Autumn Valley head? Was he not afraid of death? Dezhuang. Pan Yilin's face darkened as the crowd pointed at him. How can you prove that this is the 9-ring bamboo that I sold you? The 9-ring bamboo that I sold you was not this one. Did you take the real 9-ring bamboo and then blackmail me with a fake? Hearing Pan Yilin's accusation, Dezhuang was so angry that his face turned red. He shouted angrily, Pan Yilin, you're slandering me. I'll kill you. As he spoke, the golden inner yuan around Dezhuang's body surged, and he pounced at Pan Yilin. However, just as the golden inner yuan on Pan Yilin's body began to rise, someone else made a move even faster. With a raise of his hand, a 10-foot-tall Dharma image appeared and pressed Pan Yilin's entire body to the ground, rendering him unable to move. The person who had attacked was the young man in the golden robe beside Pan Yilin. Dezhuang, the Sex Trade Center has its own rules. It forbids disciples from fighting. The young man in the golden robe said in a low voice. It's Lian Ken from the Summer Valley. Lian Ken, the direct disciple of the Summer Valley head, entered the Dharma stage at the age of 26. He is also one of the most promising disciples of the younger generation of the Summer Valley to become a core disciple. The onlookers' gazes fell on the young man in the golden robe. P.S. I've been busy for the past few days, so I haven't been able to update much. End of this chapter. Chapter 226. Lian Can, the personal disciple of the Summer Valley head, had already entered the Dharma stage at the age of 26. A few years had passed, and it was rumored that he was not far from the mid-Dharma stage. Lian Can. Dezhuang, who was pinned to the ground by the palm of the golden-robed youth, glared angrily at him. Let go of me. I want to kill this slanderous B*****starred. Not only did he sell me fake goods, but he also slandered me. I want to kill him. I want to kill him. Dezhuang was enraged and he roared. Dezhuang. Faced with Dezhuang, who was so angry that he had lost his mind, Lian can only smile. What proof do you have that Pan Yilin sold you fake goods? What proof do you have that you are not slandering Pan Yilin? Lian Can's words made Dezhuang's already ugly expression turn even uglier. Lian Can, you're in cahoots with Pan Yilin. Dezhuang, there are some things you can't say. Lian Can's eyes flashed coldly as he spoke in a low voice. At the same time, the giant palm that was pressing down on Lian Can pressed down further, causing Dezhuang, who was already so angry that his blood was boiling, to spit out a mouthful of blood. Some of the blood floated back to Dezhuang's face, causing his already twisted face to look even more ferocious. Zhou Donghuang followed Dezhuang over, and his expression changed when he saw that Dezhuang was injured. Whoosh! Zhou Donghuang's figure flickered, and like a bolt of white lightning, he headed straight for Dezhuang. Seeing that he was getting closer and closer to Dezhuang, Zhou Donghuang's expression darkened as he prepared to destroy the giant palm Dharma pressing down on Dezhuang. Lian Can, retract your Dharma. Before Zhou Donghuang made his move, an old voice rang out in the trade square. The voice was not loud, but it seemed to have some sort of magical power as it clearly reached the ears of everyone in the trade square. In the next moment, an old figure walked out from behind the crowd and looked at Lian Can, who was pressing down on Dezhuang. This was an old man dressed in a long gray robe. He was thin and of medium build, and he usually looked kind and benevolent. However, when he spoke to Lian Can, his eyes flashed with a frightening light. Elder Han. A look of fear flashed in Lian Can's eyes when he saw who it was. Without saying a word, he put away his giant palm Dharma. The moment Lian Can retracted his Dharma, Dezhuang, who had regained his freedom, lunged at Pan Yilin with bloodshot eyes. Pan Yilin did not move, because he knew that there was no need to move. Dezhuang. Just as Dezhuang moved, he was once again blocked by the old man who had appeared in his path like a ghost. If you recklessly attack a fellow disciple, even that girl Mingxi won't be able to protect you. If you are expelled from the sect because of this, you will be letting down the high hopes that Mingxi has placed on you. At that time, she might regret bringing you back to the Lightning Sword sect. She might even regret meeting you and getting to know you. The old man who had stopped Dezhuang was the elder Han that Lian Can had mentioned, Han Ku. Han Ku was the elder of the Lightning Sword sect's Lightning Peak. Although the trade center was located in the outer sect, the elders of the Lightning Sword sect who were on duty at the trade center were, without exception, elders of the Lightning Peak. This was because the trade center was an extremely important place for the Lightning Sword sect. Moreover, from time to time, there would be conflicts between inner sect disciples and core disciples with strong backgrounds. Not just the outer sect elders, but even the inner sect elders might not be able to intervene. Under such circumstances, the Lightning Sword sect had sent the elders of the Lightning Peak to be on duty at the trade center. The elders of the Lightning Peak were the elders with the highest status in the Lightning Sword sect. They were on par with the 4 valley heads of the inner sect. Moreover, the 4 valley masters of the inner sect also had a seat as an elder in the Lightning Rush Peak. Elder Han is right. At the same time that Han Ku stopped De Zhuang, Lian Kan smiled and looked at De Zhuang. De Zhuang, I heard that junior sister Mingxi recently went on a long trip. Are you thinking that when she returns she will know that you have been expelled from the sect? After De Zhuang had been stopped by the Lightning Peak elder on duty at the trade center, he had not given up on the idea of attacking Pan Yilin. But now, after hearing Han Ku's words, he was stunned for a while before he came back to his senses and muttered to himself in a daze, Senior sister. Senior sister. No. I can't let senior sister down. But senior sister asked me to take good care of junior brother, but I can't even do such a small thing. If senior sister finds out, she will not be happy. De Zhuang stood rooted to the ground, his expression changing as he wavered. De Zhuang. At this time Han Ku continued, the trade center has its rules. One party pays the money and the other party delivers the goods. Once the money and the goods have been cleared, there will be no further dealings. Let's not talk about the truth of this matter for now. Only you know the truth. Even if Pan Yilin really did lie to you according to the rules of the trade center and the rules of the sect, you are destined to suffer in silence. During the trade, if you found out that there was something wrong with the 9-ring bamboo, you could have refused to trade. If you did not find out, you could only blame it on your bad luck. It's not just you. Even I and even Mingxi are the same. You just take it as buying a lesson. Han Ku was on good terms with the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, and he treated He Mingxi like a daughter. Naturally he was very patient with De Zhuang. Otherwise, if it were any other Lightning Peak elder here, even if he had to consider He Mingxi and He Jin who was behind her and give He Jin some face, he would not have been so patient. But the 9-ring bamboo was bought by junior brother, and the 110 mid-level spirit stones are also junior brothers. Hearing Han Ku's words, De Zhuang calmed down, but he was still a little anxious. I don't have that many spirit stones to return to junior brother. Seeing that De Zhuang had calmed down, Han Ku heaved a sigh of relief and shook his head with a smile. It's only 110 mid-level spirit stones. I'll return them for you. To a Spring Thunder Peak elder like Han Ku, over 100 medium spiritual stones were nothing. In fact, the number of spirit stones that the Lightning Sword sect gave him every month was even more than this. No, I can't accept it. De Zhuang shook his head resolutely. I'll go talk to junior brother. When I've collected 11 high-quality spirit stones, I'll return them to him. Although inner sect disciples of the Lightning Sword sect could collect 1 high-quality spirit stone every month, De Zhuang's high-quality spirit stones were all used up. However, the superior-grade spirit stones in De Zhuang's hands were basically all used up not long after they were distributed. He had no other way to earn spirit stones, so he was in dire need of them. De Zhuang, you don't have to return those spirit stones. Just then Zhou Donghuang, who had already landed on the ground, walked forward and spoke to De Zhuang. Junior brother? You're here too? Seeing Zhou Donghuang, De Zhuang was first stunned, then his face was full of guilt. Junior brother, I'm sorry. I'll definitely collect those spirit stones and return them to you. I can't not return them. Zhou Donghuang knew that De Zhuang had a one-track mind, so he did not pursue the matter further. He turned to look at Elder Han Ku of the Lightning Peak. Elder Han, from what you said just now, you mean, even if it is a fake, as long as it can be sold at the trading center after the money is paid for, the person who bought the fake can only blame it on his bad luck? This is also a rule that is protected by the sect? Zhou Donghuang asked directly. You're the young fellow who recently joined the Autumn Valley? Because he was close to the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, Han Ku also knew that the Autumn Valley had recently recruited a new disciple. That's right. Faced with Zhou Donghuang's question, Han Ku nodded. The sect set up this rule in the hopes that the disciples will learn more within the sect, so that they won't be taken advantage of outside. It's not a bad thing to suffer a little more. Furthermore, being able to sell fake goods within the sect is also considered a skill to a certain extent, Han Ku said. Zhou Donghuang nodded. I understand. Zhou Donghuang nodded, then casually glanced at the Summer Valley disciples, Lian Kan and Pan Yilin. After looking away, he said to De Zhuang, let's go back. All right. De Zhuang agreed and left with Zhou Donghuang. The huge trade center once again regained its peace. To the people of the Lightning Sword sect present, this was just a small interlude. That young fellow just now, is he the new disciple who recently joined the Autumn Valley? I think he's called Zhou something Huang? Lian Can looked at Pan Yilin and asked with a slight frown. I think so. Pan Yilin nodded. I heard from the people of the Autumn Valley that the new disciple Zhou Donghuang is extremely handsome, dressed in robes whiter than snow, and has an extraordinary aura. Seeing him today, the rumors are true. Why? You think he's outstanding? Lian Can's gaze became unfriendly. If I remember correctly, he was brought into the Autumn Valley by Sister Mingxi? As soon as he said this, Lian Qiu's expression turned cold, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Mingxi was his exclusive property. He would not allow any man other than her father to get close to her. De Zhuang was the first. Now there was a second. He would not let any of them go. Lian Can's words caused Pan Yilin's expression to change, and he hurriedly tried to salvage the situation. Although he can be considered outstanding compared to you, senior brother Lian, he is still far from it. After Pan Yilin's flattery, Lian Qiu's expression softened a little. On the way back to the Autumn Valley, Zhou Donghuang said to De Zhuang, in the next few days go to the trade center again. Record down everything that the people of the Summer Valley have placed a bounty on and pass it to me. The trade center of the Lightning Sword sect not only allowed for face-to-face transactions, but it also allowed people to place a bounty on rare items. Of course, the price of the bounty had to be at least double the original price of the item. Otherwise, there was no way to enter the bounty list in the trade center. Although he did not know what little junior brother needed this for, De Zhuang agreed readily. End of this chapter. Chapter 227. The Summer Valley disciple Pan Yilin had sold cheap 6-ring bamboo as 9-ring bamboo to De Zhuang, accusing him of slandering him. This had angered De Zhuang so much that he wanted to kill him. But Zhou Donghuang? Was he angry? Of course he was. If he could, he would have killed those 2 Summer Valley disciples. However, his rationality kept him awake. It was easy to kill them, but to escape unscathed was harder than reaching the heavens. The elders of the Lightning Peak are at least late primordial soul adepts. I just killed those 2 and I'm afraid I'll die at Han Ku's hands. Even if Han Ku doesn't kill me, he'll definitely capture me and hand me over to the sect. When that happens, I'll still be dead. Because he knew this, Zhou Donghuang was very calm when he was in the market. Of course, Zhou Donghuang was not one to lose out. You people of the Summer Valley want to play? Then I, Zhou Donghuang, will play with you. Counterfeiting? When I was counterfeiting, who knows where you were? Oh, that did not seem to be the case. Or rather, when I was counterfeiting in my previous life, who knows where you were in this life? 2 days later, De Zhuang handed a piece of paper to Zhou Donghuang. There were more than 10 lines of crooked words on the paper. The words were big and small, and it was not wrong to say that they were scribbles. And this was De Zhuang's handwriting. De Zhuang, you haven't been learning to write for long, right? Zhou Donghuang asked. Yes. De Zhuang nodded and smiled. 2 years ago, after senior sister brought me back, I only started learning to write. My handwriting is not very good, little brother. As he spoke, De Zhuang scratched his head in embarrassment. Indeed. Zhou Donghuang understood, and his gaze returned to the paper in his hand. Although De Zhuang's handwriting was ugly, it could still be read clearly. Moreover, he had asked De Zhuang to copy it. If he could get it wrong, then he really had no choice but to make another trip to the market. He was prepared for the worst. And this was a habit that Zhou Donghuang had developed in his previous life, to be prepared for danger in times of peace. Little junior brother, if there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang was staring at the paper for a long time without saying anything, De Zhuang said, I will return the 11 superior grade spirit stones I owe you as soon as possible. Let's not talk about spirit stones for now. Zhou Donghuang looked away and said to De Zhuang, next, help me buy a few more things. Little junior brother, you still want me to help you buy things? Aren't you afraid that I'll buy a fake one again? De Zhuang glared at him. Don't worry. Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly. This time the things I want you to buy are not anything good and they are cheap. All in all, they are worth at most 10 mid-quality spirit stones. No one would waste time to fake those things. With that, Zhou Donghuang took out 20 mid-quality spirit stones and handed them to De Zhuang. It was not that he did not want to give more spirit stones to De Zhuang, but De Zhuang was too stubborn and did not want to accept spirit stones. The first time De Zhuang went to buy something for him, he wanted to give De Zhuang some money for running errands, but he was rejected. He insisted and De Zhuang almost fell out with him. Zhou Donghuang could only give up. This kind of simple-minded fool was no different from a cow when he was stubborn. You can go now, Zhou Donghuang said as he handed the spirit stones to De Zhuang. All right. De Zhuang took the spirit stones and left. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang seemed to be in a hurry, De Zhuang left the Autumn Valley as soon as he left the room. At the same time, in various parts of the Autumn Valley, many people were talking about how De Zhuang had been deceived by a disciple of the valley. Who in the Autumn Valley does not know De Zhuang's character? He could not have lied. That disciple Pan Yilin has gone too far. It's a pity that even if we know that De Zhuang has been deceived, there is nothing we can do. The sect will not interfere in such matters. When junior sister Mingxi returns and finds out about this, she will not let the matter rest. There were not many disciples in the Autumn Valley. Although there were occasional conflicts between them, no matter who it was, if they were bullied by an inner disciple of another valley, the other disciples would not let the matter rest. However, this time Pan Yilin had deceived De Zhuang, but it was not against the rules of the sect. Under such circumstances, although they felt that it was unfair for De Zhuang, there was nothing they could do. I curse those B***stards of the Summer Valley to always buy fake goods in the future, the kind where they lose all their hard-earned money. When Zhou Donghuang had first arrived at the Autumn Valley, Huang Long, the Autumn Valley disciple who had brought Zhou Donghuang to see He Mingxi, cursed in front of a few other Autumn Valley disciples. If Zhou Donghuang had been here and heard Huang Long's words, he would have given him a thumbs up. God's prophecy. The things that Zhou Donghuang had asked De Zhuang to buy were the things that he had prepared to fake. In his previous life, after he had left Earth, before he had become the disciple of the same master as He Mingxi, he had been in dire need of spirit stones. Not only did he lack spirit stones for training, but he also needed spirit stones to buy things. Under such circumstances, he had gone crazy trying to earn spirit stones. Just when he was in dire need of spirit stones and was preparing to go to the demon forest to hunt for spirit stones, he happened to see an ultimate Dharma adept fighting with a Dharma demon in the forest. The Dharma demon was killed, but the ultimate Dharma adept was also on the verge of death. Before he died, Zhou Donghuang had thought that he could be saved, so he had tried to help him, but he had not been able to save him. However, seeing that Zhou Donghuang had not only not taken the opportunity to kill him, but had also taken his space ring and saved him, the adept had told Zhou Donghuang where he had hidden his treasures before he died. He had even explained to Zhou Donghuang, the most valuable treasure that he had placed in the treasure trove was an ancient manual. In the manual there were various methods of forging treasures. If one studied it to a high level they could even deceive the heavens. At that time, even an adept at the celestial stage would not be able to easily see through it. With the forging methods recorded in the manual just by looking at the surface and testing the waters, it was enough to pass off as the real thing. However, a fake was a fake and it could not be used as the real thing. Even so, with the methods recorded in the ancient manual, Zhou Donghuang had still managed to swindle quite a number of spirit stones in his previous life. Of course, he did not easily cheat people. Those who were cheated by him were either evil people, heartless people, or merciless people. In short, he had never cheated a good person. Even though he did not think of himself as a good person, he still had a bottom line, and he felt that he had to abide by it. Although he did not think of himself as a good person, Zhou Donghuang had never thought of abandoning himself. Don't you Summer Valley disciples like to sell fake goods? You Summer Valley disciples dare to press third senior sister's savior to the ground. Do you think I, Zhou Donghuang, do not exist? Since the Summer Valley wants to play, then I, Zhou Donghuang, will play with you. 10 days later. Zhou Donghuang did not say goodbye to De Zhuang. He left the Autumn Valley alone and went to the Lightning Sword Sect's trade center. On this trip to the trade center, Zhou Donghuang was very low-key. In a remote corner of the trade center, he set up a small stall with more than 10 items placed on it. Then he sat behind the small stall and closed his eyes to rest while stealing some free time to cultivate. Brother, how much are you selling this for? After about a quarter of an hour, Zhou Donghuang heard an energetic voice. With Zhou Donghuang's hearing ability, he could even hear the suppressed excitement in this voice. The other party was intentionally suppressing his emotions. I've taken the bait. Suddenly, Zhou Donghuang opened his eyes and looked at the person standing in front of the stall. It was a middle-aged man. Looking at the snowflake symbol on his chest, it was obvious that he was an inner sect disciple, and a Winter Valley disciple at that. What do you want? Zhou Donghuang blinked lazily and asked casually. This. The middle-aged man pointed at a piece of jade on the stall. This piece of jade was covered with blood vessels, and when he looked at it, the blood vessels seemed to move at that moment. And this was the mark of frozen blood jade. This is frozen blood jade. It can be used to forge spirit weapons and also to refine core drugs. Zhou Donghuang said lazily, I won't charge you extra spirit stones. 20 superior grade spirit stones, a fixed price. The middle-aged man's eyes narrowed. This person in front of him actually recognized frozen blood jade? Since he recognized it, did he not know that a Summer Valley disciple had offered a reward of 50 superior grade spirit stones for this frozen blood jade a month ago? It's most likely that he hasn't looked at the bounty list recently, the middle-aged man thought to himself. The middle-aged man thought to himself. At the same time his heart was burning. Looks like I'm going to be lucky today. Alright. 20 superior grade spirit stones, I'll take it. The middle-aged man did not bargain and took out the spirit stones from his space ring and handed them to Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang took them and reminded him, inspect the goods. Once you take it away we'll be done with each other. No need to inspect. The middle-aged man shook his head and smiled as he picked up the frozen blood jade. Only frozen blood jade has such characteristics. I've never heard of anyone being able to forge frozen blood jade. As he spoke, he kept the frozen blood jade and looked at the next item. Brother, how much for this? This time, a hint of surprise flashed in the depths of the middle-aged man's eyes, but it disappeared in a flash. Such a coincidence? Another item offered by a Summer Valley disciple? This is 1,000-year redwood, Zhou Donghuang said. I didn't intend to sell it at first. After all, it's rare to see such a complete and long piece of 1,000-year redwood, but I've been short of spirit stones recently, so I can only reluctantly part with it. Hearing the name of the item that Zhou Donghuang had pointed out, the middle-aged man sighed in his heart. It looked like there was no way he could buy this item cheaply. Brother, how much do you intend to sell it for? The middle-aged man asked. End of this chapter. Chapter 228. 30 superior quality spirit stones. Zhou Donghuang said. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, the middle-aged Winter Valley disciple completely gave up on the idea of buying the 1,000-year redwood cheaply. Brother, can you make it cheaper? The Winter Valley disciple smiled. Look, I just spent 20 superior quality spirit stones to buy the frozen blood jade from you. Not negotiable. Zhou Donghuang glanced at the Winter Valley disciple. All right. The Winter Valley disciple was a little helpless, but he still wanted to buy it. Brother, I don't have enough spirit stones. Can you wait for me for a while? I'll go borrow some from someone. 1 hour. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Donghuang put away the 1,000-year redwood. I'll be back in 1 hour. The Winter Valley disciple replied and hurriedly flew in the direction of the Winter Valley. It was obvious that he was going back to the Winter Valley to borrow spirit stones. I just hope that in this 1 hour he won't look at the bounty list. Otherwise, he will definitely sell the 1,000-year redwood to that Summer Valley disciple himself. That Summer Valley disciple is offering 80 superior quality spirit stones for the 1,000-year redwood. On the way back to the Winter Valley disciple prayed in his heart. However, he was doomed to be overthinking. Zhou Donghuang had long known what the Summer Valley disciple had offered on the bounty list. Otherwise, he would not have had the frozen blood jade and the 1,000-year redwood. These two items had been forged using cheap materials. Unless the frozen blood jade and the 1,000-year redwood were used up, it was usually impossible to tell whether they were real or fake. One had to know that the fake ancient book that Zhou Donghuang had obtained in his previous life was a treasure in the secular universe. Zhou Donghuang had even used the forging methods in the book to deceive many heavenly adepts. It's a pity that out of the 10 or so items that the Summer Valley disciple has offered as a reward, only 9 can be forged. The rest are either not easy to forge or cannot be forged with the Samadhi fire. I must use the Samadhi fire. Although Zhou Donghuang had formed 3 golden essences and was not far from forming 4, he was still a primal core adept. The true fire that he condensed with his true essence was still the true Samadhi fire. In order to condense the true fire of Samadhi, he had to at least let one of the golden elixirs in his dantian be born and condense the Dharma form. Otherwise, it would be useless even if he condensed 4 golden elixirs. Of course, if he wanted any of the golden cores in his body to form a Dharma form, he would first have to cultivate 4 golden cores. Only by forming 4 golden essences would one be able to break through to the Dharma stage. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to reach the Dharma stage. This was the characteristic of the Lord of the Four Supremes, an irreversible characteristic. I'll sell 2 of them first. Then I'll try to sell the other 7 today. Zhou Donghuang thought. Zhou Donghuang had given the Winter Valley disciple an hour's time, and the disciple had returned 15 minutes earlier. At the same time he handed the spirit stones to Zhou Donghuang. Junior brother, here are 30 high-quality spirit stones. Count them. That's right. After Zhou Donghuang put away the spirit stones, he took out the 1,000-year red wood and handed it to the Winter Valley disciple. Check it out. The Winter Valley disciple picked up the 1,000-year red wood and examined it carefully. Finally he nodded and said, "No problem. Thank you, junior brother." With that, the Winter Valley disciple bade farewell to Zhou Donghuang and left. As he left, his face and eyes were filled with uncontrollable excitement. With these 2 items he would be able to earn 80 high-quality spirit stones in a single transaction. Furthermore, it had taken him less than half a day. Just as the Winter Valley disciple was in a hurry to find the 2 people from the Summer Valley and earn 80 high-quality spirit stones, Zhou Donghuang took out another 2 items from his pocket. Not long after, another person took the bait. This time 2 people took the bait. They looked at each other and did not say anything. With tacit understanding they each bought one of the items. These 2 items were materials that the Summer Valley had placed a bounty on the bounty list. One of the items could earn 120 high-quality spirit stones. The other item could allow one to earn 50 upper-grade spirit stones. After the 2 bought the items they walked some distance away. After confirming that Zhou Donghuang could not hear them, they whispered to each other. "That junior brother, I'm afraid you haven't looked at the bounty list in a long time, right? He actually took these 2 items out to sell. Furthermore, he's selling them at the market price." One of them shook his head and sighed, but his eyes shone with excitement. The other person took out 15 superior-grade spirit stones and handed them to the first person. "Although I didn't expose you, you didn't expose me either. I'll give you 15 superior-grade spirit stones. This way I'll earn 35 superior-grade spirit stones and you'll earn 35 superior-grade spirit stones." "Thank you, senior brother Lan." The former took the spirit stones and thanked him profusely. "Let's go. Let's go find the 2 people from the Summer Valley and sell these items to them." The latter called out to the former and took the lead, his face glowing. "I never thought that there would be such a good opportunity to earn spirit stones. Furthermore, we can earn 35 high-quality spirit stones in a single transaction. Under normal circumstances, it would take us a full 3 years to collect 36 high-quality spirit stones from the sect." From the latter's words, it was obvious that the 2 were inner sect disciples. "Senior brother Lan, will that junior brother find trouble with us?" the former asked worriedly. "Don't worry." The latter said nonchalantly, "The trade center has its own rules. Money and goods are cleared. Furthermore, we have paid the full amount of spirit stones. We have no obligation to remind him that there are people on the bounty list who are offering a high price for those 2 items. Some time ago, Autumn Valley disciple De Zhuang bought fake 9-ring bamboo that Summer Valley disciple Pan Yilan sold. De Zhuang was cheated of hundreds of medium-quality spirit stones, but nothing happened to him. The trade center has its own rules. We exchanged money with him and no one can go back on their word." The former finally relaxed. "Speaking of which, Autumn Valley disciple De Zhuang is really unlucky. 100 medium-quality spirit stones is equivalent to 10 high-quality spirit stones." The 2 of them thought that Zhou Donghuang would not be able to hear their conversation due to the distance. However, because of the Lord of the Four Supremes, Zhou Donghuang's eyesight and hearing abilities were enhanced every time he increased his level of practice. He was able to hear their conversation even though they were separated by a great distance. In response, he only shook his head and smiled. The 2 of them were just 2 chess pieces in his plan. Let's continue. For the rest of the day, Zhou Donghuang continued to sell the remaining forgeries. By evening he had finally sold the 9th forgery. At this time he could call it a day and return to the Autumn Valley. In the next 2 days the Summer Valley will be bustling with activity. On the way back to the Autumn Valley, Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly, as if he had done something unimportant that day. To him it was indeed unimportant. Although it had taken him 10 days to complete the 9 forgeries, that was because he had spent most of his time practicing and had only used the short break to forge the items that the people in the valley had offered. The most important thing now is to form the 4th golden essence. Only then can I break through to the Dharma stage. Otherwise, I won't even be able to touch the threshold of the Dharma stage, let alone the Dharma stage. Zhou Donghuang, who practiced the Lord of the Four Supremes, would only be able to touch the threshold of the Dharma stage after forming the 4th golden essence. After Zhou Donghuang returned to the Autumn Valley, he prepared to return to his room in the courtyard to practice. When he returned, he found De Zhuang chatting with a few people in the courtyard next door. The conversation was about the few people comforting De Zhuang. Zhou Donghuang had some impression of these people. They were all disciples of the Autumn Valley. Little brother is back. When Zhou Donghuang returned to his room in the courtyard, De Zhuang also noticed him. Sensing De Zhuang's gaze, Zhou Donghuang nodded at him and landed in his courtyard. As for the others, he completely ignored them. Seeing this, the faces of the few people beside De Zhuang darkened slightly. This Zhou Donghuang really doesn't know how to be polite. Don't you know how to greet your brothers? The few Autumn Valley disciples beside De Zhuang were all young men full of vigor and vitality. Ever since Zhou Donghuang had come to the Autumn Valley, they had realized that when the young female disciples gathered together, they no longer talked about them. They only talked about the new Autumn Valley disciple, Zhou Donghuang. This made them feel that their limelight had been stolen by Zhou Donghuang, so in their hearts, they were more or less jealous of Zhou Donghuang. Brothers, don't speak ill of little brother, De Zhuang said with a frown. Little brother is a very good person, you can't say bad things about him. De Zhuang, we didn't say bad things about him? Because De Zhuang was close to the princess of the Autumn Valley, the few male disciples present were very polite to him. We were just saying that he doesn't know how to be polite. When he sees us, he doesn't even greet us as brothers. Exactly. He's nowhere near as polite as you, De Zhuang. We are here discussing how to stand up for De Zhuang, but what about him? A new disciple who just arrived, I don't know what he's doing outside. He came back so late, and once he came back he rushed back to his room. It seems like he doesn't care at all if De Zhuang is being bullied by the Summer Valley disciples. Hearing the male disciples of the Autumn Valley talk about Zhou Donghuang without a care in the world, De Zhuang's face turned red with anger. He growled unhappily, brothers, little brother is not what you say he is. If you say bad things about him again, I'll cut all ties with you. De Zhuang was clearly infuriated by their words. The Autumn Valley male disciples had not expected De Zhuang to react so strongly. They looked at each other awkwardly, then left dejectedly. Of course, as they turned to leave, their eyes were filled with disdain and disgust. If not for the fact that they wanted to use De Zhuang as a springboard to curry favor with the princess of the Autumn Valley, they would not have bothered to make friends with De Zhuang. End of this chapter. Chapter 229. At the same time that Zhou Donghuang returned to the Autumn Valley, the Summer Valley, a middle-aged man with a medium build and a handsome face flew into the Summer Valley. He was in high spirits, and it was not difficult to see how happy he was. Brother Zhong, look at you. Is something good happening? A young man who was preparing to leave the Summer Valley asked the middle-aged man with a smile. Ha! The middle-aged man laughed. Indeed, something good has happened. The 1,000-year redwood that I have placed a bounty on for 2 months at the trade center has finally been sold. 1,000-year redwood? The young man was shocked. That is a priceless item. Even if the price was 2 or 3 times higher, people would still buy it. Brother Zhong, you are indeed lucky. Alright, let's not talk about this for now. I am in a hurry to hand this item over to my teacher so that he can help me forge an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon. As soon as the middle-aged man finished speaking, he flew into the depths of the Summer Valley. The Summer Valley was also a vast valley. However, it was different from the Autumn Valley, which was filled with the scent of autumn. Everything in the Summer Valley was filled with the scent of summer. This was how the Summer Valley got its name. It's fake. It's actually fake. Not long after the middle-aged man with the surname Zhong returned to the Summer Valley, a figure broke through the door of a courtyard halfway up the mountain, his face full of anger. That Bai Liqing of the Winter Valley actually dared to sell me fake frozen blood jade. Damn it. Damn it. I want to get even with him. I want to get even with him. This disciple of the Summer Valley, whose face was filled with rage, was a tall and sturdy middle-aged man. He had the back of a tiger and the waist of a bear, and he was extremely angry. Standing there, he was like an angry King Kong. He was a disciple of the Summer Valley, Fang Baiwei, a mid-Dharma adept. The people in the nearby courtyards heard the commotion and immediately left their courtyards. Brother Fang, what's wrong? They lived close to Fang Baiwei and interacted frequently with him, so the Summer Valley disciples in the nearby courtyards were on good terms with Fang Baiwei. After a while, when they heard what had happened from Fang Baiwei, they were also angry. That Bai Liqing of the Winter Valley, how dare he sell fake frozen blood jade to Brother Fang? Let's go. Let's get even with him. Yes, let's get even with him. Fang Baiwei led a few disciples of the Summer Valley and left the Summer Valley aggressively, heading straight for the Winter Valley. After learning that Bai Liqing, a disciple of the Winter Valley, had not returned to the Winter Valley, they went to the market and found Bai Liqing there. Bai Liqing was the first person to receive the 2 items from Zhou Donghuang. They were the frozen blood jade and the 1,000-year red wood. Now, regardless of whether it was the frozen blood jade or the 1,000-year red wood, he had already sold them to the disciples of the Summer Valley and earned 80 high-quality spirit stones. With this large sum of upper-grade spirit stones, he strolled around the trading square a few times, preparing to buy some things that he was reluctant to buy in the past. Suddenly, Bai Liqing realized that the Summer Valley disciple, Fang Baiwei, who had bought the frozen blood jade, was rushing towards him with a few other people. Bai Liqing. Before Fang Baiwei even got close, he had already shouted, "I, Fang Baiwei, have never offended you, but you actually sold me fake frozen blood jade?" Fake frozen blood jade? Bai Liqing looked at Fang Baiwei, who was right in front of him, and frowned. Then he said calmly, "Fang Baiwei, what nonsense are you talking about? The frozen blood jade I sold you was a transaction of money and goods. At that time, you even checked it carefully and confirmed that it was indeed frozen blood jade. Now, you brought the frozen blood jade back and only came to find me after half a day, and now you're telling me that it was fake? What? Are you playing with me?" As he spoke, Bai Liqing's gaze became unfriendly. "Bai Liqing, you're looking for trouble." Fang Baiwei's expression was cold as he said in a low voice, "I think you're the one looking for trouble." Bai Liqing looked at Fang Baiwei coldly. "You said that the frozen blood jade I bought you was fake. Do you have any proof? Take out the frozen blood jade and let everyone verify it to see if it's fake." Bai Liqing countered. Hearing Bai Liqing's words, Fang Baiwei's expression became even uglier. "Fang Baiwei, I think you're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Don't you know that the frozen blood jade is only for verification? It's impossible to tell if it's fake. It will only turn to ashes when it comes into contact with the 4th true fire. No one would use the 4th true fire to test the authenticity of the frozen blood jade. This was because once the frozen blood jade came into contact with the 4th true fire, it would be affected. It would not be used for alchemy or weapon forging for a short period of time. It would become a worthless piece of ordinary jade." "Turn to ashes?" Bai Liqing laughed. "Based on what you're saying, you can't even produce the frozen blood jade that you claim to be fake? What a joke." Some time ago, Pan Yilin, a disciple of the Summer Valley, was suspected of using 6-ring bamboo to pass it off as 9-ring bamboo to sell to De Zhuang, a disciple of the Autumn Valley. At least De Zhuang managed to produce a fake. Now, the people of the Summer Valley say that I'm selling fake goods, but I can't even produce a fake? At this point, Bai Liqing's smile disappeared. A cold light flashed in his eyes. "Fang Baiwei, if you have the guts, you can make a move on me. You want to extort me? It's not that easy." Bai Liqing shouted coldly. Fang Baiwei's expression changed. He wanted to make a move, but he was stopped by a few disciples of the Autumn Valley. The crowd of disciples of the Lightning Sword sect could not help but point fingers at him. "Senior Bai Liqing is right. He can't even produce any evidence. What right does he have to say that Senior Bai Liqing is selling fake goods? He has no evidence at all. The people of the Summer Valley are too shameless. Today Fang Baiwei has no evidence to slander Bai Liqing. Some time ago, De Zhuang from the Autumn Valley clearly produced evidence, but Pan Yilin, a disciple of the Summer Valley, used it against him. Han Ku even said that even if Pan Yilin was selling fake goods, De Zhuang could only blame himself for not knowing what was good for him. According to the rules of the sect, once the goods and the money have been settled, there will be no further dealings. According to the rules of the sect, Fang Baiwei has no evidence today. Even if he had evidence and the fake goods were sold by Bai Liqing, he could not do anything to Bai Liqing. According to the rules of the sect, he is the one who is blind and cannot blame anyone else. Hearing the comments of the crowd of disciples of the Lightning Sword sect, Fang Baiwei's face darkened. He looked at Bai Liqing as if he wanted to eat him alive. "Bai Liqing, I admit defeat this time. In the future, don't ever fall into my hands again, or I will never let you off." Fang Baiwei glared hatefully at Bai Liqing. Then, with a belly full of anger, he left with a few disciples of the Summer Valley. "Anytime," Bai Liqing said nonchalantly. At this point, everyone present felt that Fang Baiwei was trying to blackmail Bai Liqing. Otherwise, why could he not produce any evidence? If the Summer Valley disciple, Pan Yilin, really lied to the Autumn Valley disciple, De Zhuang, and what happened today, the disciples of the Summer Valley are really shameless. At this point, many of the disciples of the Lightning Sword sect present felt this way. After Fang Baiwei had caused such a ruckus, Bai Liqing was no longer in the mood to continue strolling around the trade center. He took the 80 high-quality spirit stones that he had earned that day and happily returned to the Winter Valley. The Winter Valley was also a valley, and it was a world of ice and snow. White snow covered the ground, and the waterfalls and lakes were all frozen. "Brother Bai Liqing, looking at your glowing face, it seems like something good happened today." Bai Liqing had just returned to his courtyard when a skinny middle-aged man flew out from a nearby courtyard. He looked like an ordinary person, but his eyes were sharp. He smiled and said to Bai Liqing, "Ah, Brother Zhang, I'll treat you to a drink tomorrow. The 12-flower wine is more than enough." Bai Liqing laughed. This disciple of the Winter Valley was the closest person to him in the entire East Valley, and he saw him as a brother. 12-flower wine? The skinny middle-aged man's eyes lit up. "Not bad, it's rare for you to be so generous. I remember that I've treated you to more than 10 drinks of the 12-flower wine, but you've only treated me twice, right? Furthermore, those 2 times I was the one who asked you to drink and you were unwilling." As he spoke, the skinny middle-aged man's tone became slightly sarcastic. Bai Liqing laughed awkwardly. "That was because money was tight in the past. Brother Zhang, as long as you want, from tomorrow onwards, I'll treat you to half a month's worth of 12-flower wine." The 12-flower wine was a type of wine produced by the Spring Valley of the Lightning Sword sect. It was brewed from 12 different types of spirit flowers. Normally, a jar of 12-flower wine was sold for 1 high-quality spirit stone per jar, which was equivalent to the spirit stones that an inner sect disciple received from the sect every month. A normal inner sect disciple would not be able to afford such a wine. However, the 12-flower wine was very strong, and even Dharma adepts would not dare to drink an entire jar in a day. There was once a Dharma adept who drank an entire jar of 100-flower wine in a day and slept for 7 days and 7 nights before waking up. 2 Dharma adepts could only share 1 jar of 12-flower wine in a day. Half a month. The skinny middle-aged man's eyes lit up. "Brother Bai Liqing, did you strike it rich?" "Yes, I made a small fortune." Bai Liqing laughed and casually took out 20 high-quality spirit stones and returned them to the skinny middle-aged man. "Brother Zhang, these are the spirit stones I borrowed from you this morning. I'm returning them to you." "Brother Bai Liqing, are you trying to tell me that you borrowed 20 high-quality spirit stones from me this morning to strike it rich?" The skinny middle-aged man asked meaningfully after keeping the spirit stones. Before Bai Liqing could reply, he heard an angry roar. "Bai Liqing, you bastard! How dare you sell fake 1,000-year redwood to me?" Bai Liqing turned around and saw a middle-aged man with a medium build and a handsome face walking towards him. Zhongyin? Zhongyin, a Summer Valley disciple, was also the person who had bought the 1,000-year redwood from him today. Fake 1,000-year redwood? Bai Liqing's face darkened. These Summer Valley disciples were not done yet? What's going on? The skinny middle-aged man standing beside Bai Liqing was confused. "Brother Zhang, these people from the Summer Valley are really shameless. First, it was Fang Baiwei who said that I sold him fake frozen blood jade. Now this Zhongyin is saying that I sold him fake 1,000-year redwood." Bai Liqing's face was full of anger. Do they really think that I am a pushover? End of this chapter. Chapter 230. Zhongyin was a disciple of the Summer Valley and a late Dharma adept. He was also the disciple of an elder of the Summer Valley. An elder of the Summer Valley was also an inner elder of the Lightning Sword sect. In the Lightning Sword sect, to become an inner elder, one had to be at least a mid-primordial soul adept. This was also the minimum requirement to become an inner elder. As for entering the Lightning Peak and becoming an elder, the requirements were even more stringent. One had to be at least at the late primordial soul stage. As for becoming an outer elder, one only had to be at the early primordial soul stage. In other words, in the Lightning Sword sect, even the most ordinary outer sect elder had to be at least at the primordial soul stage of cultivation. Bai Liqing. Zhongyin floated to a spot not far from Bai Liqing and stared at him fiercely. In a low voice he asked, "I, Zhongyin, have never offended you, have I? How dare you sell me fake 1,000-year redwood?" He had spent 80 high-quality spirit stones to buy a fake piece of 1,000-year redwood. When he first found out, Zhongyin was furious. Originally, after coming to the Winter Valley for some time, his anger had subsided. But now, seeing Bai Liqing, his anger flared up again. It was like a prairie fire that could not be controlled. "Zhongyin, are all the people of the Summer Valley sick?" Bai Liqing's face darkened as he said, "First, it was Fang Baiwei who said that the frozen blood jade I sold him was fake. Now, you come to me and say that the 1,000-year redwood I sold you was fake. Are you going to be like Feng Baiwei and say that you have no evidence and that the 1,000-year redwood was destroyed because it came into contact with real fire? As he spoke, Bai Liqing was also a little exasperated. Of course, deep in Bai Liqing's eyes, there was a hint of fear. After all, Zhong Yin was different from Feng Baiwei. Not to mention the fact that Zhong Yin had an inner sect elder as his master. Zhong Yin's cultivation was also slightly stronger than his. You even sold frozen blood jade to Brother Feng? Zhong Yin frowned. Furthermore, Brother Feng said that the frozen blood jade was fake? The moment the true fire touches it, it disintegrated into ashes? Umph. Bai Liqing snorted coldly and sneered. The people of the Summer Valley are obviously colluding with one another to slander me. Now you're still putting on an act? Bai Liqing. Zhong Yin took a deep breath, looked at Bai Liqing and said, be it the 1,000-year redwood that I want or the frozen blood jade that Junior Brother Feng wants, they are both items that we have been searching for on the Exchange Plaza's bounty board for some time. You don't usually sell them to us? Why are you selling 2 of them today? Be it 1,000-year redwood or frozen blood jade, they are not common items. As Zhong Yin spoke, he looked deeply at Bai Liqing. Right now, another Winter Valley disciple, Zhang Weiyuan, who was standing at the side, roughly understood what had happened through the conversation between the two of them. He immediately looked at Bai Liqing and asked, Brother Bai Liqing, the fortune you mentioned today was because you sold the 1,000-year redwood and the frozen blood jade to Zhong Yin and Feng Baiwei of the Summer Valley? This morning, Bai Liqing had suddenly looked for him, saying that he wanted to borrow 20 high-quality spirit stones and that he would return them on the same day. At that time he had subconsciously thought that Bai Liqing would either borrow his spirit stones to gamble, or borrow his spirit stones to buy some items and resell them to make a profit. Bai Liqing rarely gambled, so he was more inclined to believe the latter. Now that the Summer Valley disciple, Zhong Yin, had come looking for him, he knew that he had guessed correctly. Yes. Upon hearing Zhang Weiyuan's question, Bai Liqing immediately responded. Your frozen blood jade and 1,000-year redwood were both bought from someone else? Zhang Weiyuan asked again. Yes. Bai Liqing replied again. Who would be so foolish as to not directly sell these 2 items to Zhong Yin and Feng Baiwei? Selling them to them would have earned more than selling them to someone else. Zhang Weiyuan frowned and said, furthermore, the 2 of them have been wanting these 2 items for a long time. In fact, the Exchange Plaza's bounty board is still searching for them. Brother Zhang, that junior brother probably did not look at the bounty board, so he did not know that there were people in the Summer Valley who wanted these 2 items. Bai Liqing voiced out his opinion. But the problem now is, Zhong Yin and Feng Baiwei both said that these 2 items were fake. Zhang Weiyuan continued. Brother Zhang. Bai Liqing's expression became a little ugly. Even you don't believe what I said? I was not the only one who confirmed that these 2 items were real. Zhong Yin and Feng Baiwei also personally checked the goods and confirmed that there were no mistakes before giving me the spirit stones. Brother Bai Liqing, I naturally believe what you said. I just feel that these 2 incidents are too coincidental. Zhang Weiyuan shook his head as he looked at Zhong Yin. Zhong Yin, don't joke around. Are you sure that you and Feng Baiwei did not collude to take back the spirit stones that you gave to Brother Bai Liqing? As he spoke, Zhang Weiyuan's gaze was extremely unfriendly. Although they were both late Dharma adepts, he did not fear Zhong Yin at all. In fact, during the previous 4 Valleys martial arts competition, he had even defeated Zhong Yin within 10 moves. Zhang Weiyuan, it was not me who said that the 1,000-year redwood was fake. Zhong Yin sighed and said, it was my teacher who said that the 1,000-year redwood was fake. I wanted the 1,000-year redwood because I wanted my teacher to help me forge an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon that was most suitable for me. However, the moment his 5 adoration fire touched the 1,000-year redwood, the 1,000-year redwood turned into ashes. When the 1,000-year redwood first came into my hands, even my teacher could not tell that there was anything wrong with it. As Zhong Yin said this, he looked at Bai Liqing with an unfriendly gaze. You saw the 1,000-year redwood turn into ashes with your own eyes? Bai Liqing asked with a cold smile. When my teacher forged weapons, he did not like people to disturb him. What do you mean by that? Could it be that you think that my teacher took the 1,000-year redwood for himself and lied to me? Zhong Yin asked in a low voice. Who knows? Bai Liqing laughed mockingly. Bai Liqing, there are some things that you should not say, lest you get into trouble. Zhong Yin looked at Bai Liqing coldly. If my teacher wanted the 1,000-year redwood, he only needed to say the word and I would give it to him. There was no need for such an excuse. If you don't believe me, I can ask him to come to the Winter Valley and confront you. Zhong Yin's voice became even colder. Brother Bai Liqing, your words are a little too much. At this time Zhang Weiyuan stood up and said, Elder Kuliang is a primordial soul adept. Why would he covet his own disciple's 1,000-year redwood? The 1,000-year redwood may be precious to us, but to Elder Kuliang it is nothing. In fact, with his current level of practice, he basically has no use for 1,000-year redwood. Kuliang was Zhong Yin's teacher, an inner elder of the Lightning Sword sect, and also an elder of the Summer Valley. Brother Zhang, I was just joking. When Bai Liqing heard that Zhong Yin wanted to call his teacher over, he was already a little afraid. Now that Zhang Weiyuan had stepped up to give him a way out, he hurriedly responded with an awkward smile. Zhong Yin, did you hear that? Brother Bai Liqing, I was just joking with you. Zhang Weiyuan looked at Zhong Yin and said, also, no matter if it was you or Fang Baiwei, since the transaction between you and him has been settled, there is no point in continuing to pursue it. Don't tell me you don't know the rules of the sect? If we really blow things up, it will not be good for you. Even your teacher, Elder Kuliang, cannot ignore the rules of the sect. Zhang Weiyuan said. Of course I know that. Zhong Yin said in a low voice, since the transaction has been settled, even if I bought a fake, I will accept it. I came here this time to ask Bai Liqing for an explanation. I want to ask him why he sold me a fake. Of course, I also thought that, perhaps Bai Liqing himself did not recognize that the 1,000-year redwood he sold me was a fake. Just now, I heard him say that he bought the 1,000-year redwood from someone else today? It seems like my guess is not far off. At this point, Zhong Yin looked at Bai Liqing with a burning gaze. Bai Liqing, I do not intend to ask for the 80 high-grade spirit stones back. But you have to tell me who sold you the 1,000-year redwood. Zhong Yin asked in a low voice. After all, he had been indirectly cheated by the person who sold the 1,000-year redwood to Bai Liqing. If it was only the 1,000-year redwood that he bought, he might have thought that it was just a coincidence. Perhaps the person who sold the 1,000-year redwood to Bai Liqing did not know that the 1,000-year redwood was a fake. However, Bai Liqing had told him. The frozen blood jade that Fang Baiwei, who was also a disciple of the Summer Valley, had bought from Bai Liqing was also a fake. Furthermore, both the 1,000-year redwood and the frozen blood jade were made by the same person. He could not help but let his imagination run wild. Was that person trying to mess with him and Fang Baiwei? What did he have in common with Fang Baiwei? They were both disciples of the Summer Valley. Of course, even so, Zhong Yin was more inclined to think that all of this was just a coincidence. Otherwise, it would be really hard to imagine. What kind of person could take out the fake frozen blood jade and the 1,000-year redwood at the same time? Of course, whether it was a coincidence or not, he wanted to verify it further. Just as Zhong Yin was about to ask Bai Liqing who had sold him the 1,000-year redwood, a voice came from afar and stopped near Zhang Weiyuan and Bai Liqing. Senior brother Zhang, senior brother Bai Liqing, you're both here? What happened at the trade center? Do you know? The person who had come was a young disciple of the Winter Valley. What happened? Zhang Weiyuan asked subconsciously. On the bounty list at the trade center, there were more than 10 items that the elders and disciples of the Summer Valley had put up for. 9 of them were removed from the list today. The young disciple of the Winter Valley sighed and said, in just one day 9 of the Summer Valley's disciples managed to buy the items that they had put up for a long time. The luck of the people of the Summer Valley is so good that it makes one envious. Almost as soon as this disciple of the Winter Valley finished speaking, Zhong Yin's expression changed completely. At the same time he subconsciously looked at Bai Liqing. Don't look at me. Bai Liqing replied subconsciously. I only sold 2 items from the bounty list to you and Fang Baiwei. I did not sell the other items. Now even Bai Liqing felt that this matter was not normal. End of this chapter. Chapter 231. This night, for the people of the Summer Valley, was destined to be a sensational night. This was because the 9 people of the Summer Valley had excitedly bought the items on the bounty list, only to discover that the items were all fake. Without exception, they were all fakes. Among the 9 people, if only 1 or 2 of them had bought fakes, it might have been a coincidence. But now, everyone had bought fakes. When I first heard about this from the trade center, I thought that the people of the Summer Valley were lucky to have bought all 9 items on the same day. I never thought that they would all be fakes. Why do I feel that this is a little strange? This is not normal at all. As the news of the 9 people who had placed a bounty on the bounty board in the trading plaza, buying fake goods spread, the entire Summer Valley was in an uproar. Of the 9 people who had bought fakes, 7 were Summer Valley disciples and 2 were Summer Valley elders. While the Summer Valley was in an uproar, the 9 people who had bought fakes also gathered together, 5 old men and 4 middle-aged men. 2 of the old men were Summer Valley elders, both mid-primordial soul adepts. As for the other 7, they were all Summer Valley disciples. Zhong-yin was among them. My 2 uncles as well as my brothers and sisters. This matter we can basically confirm that someone deliberately tricked the people of the Summer Valley. Zhong-yin said to the other 8 people with a gloomy expression. Cut the crap, one of the Summer Valley elders said with a dark expression. One of the Summer Valley elders said with a sullen face, as long as you are not stupid, you will be able to tell. That's right. Another Summer Valley elder said, the most important thing now is to find out who is tricking us. If we find him, I will skin him alive. 100 high-quality spirit stones is a small matter, but losing face is a big deal. I, Li Dahu, am an inner sect elder of the Lightning Sword sect and a mid-primordial soul adept. How could I be so blind as to buy fakes? If news of this spreads, where will my face go? As this Summer Valley elder spoke, his eyes seemed to be spitting fire. Elders, the fake goods that junior brother Fong and I bought came from Bai Liqing, a disciple of the Winter Valley. However, I have now confirmed that Bai Liqing also bought those 2 items from someone else. Faced with the 2 elders of the Summer Valley who were speaking in an unfriendly tone, a look of displeasure flashed across the depths of Zhong Yin's eyes. However, he still maintained a forced smile on his face. What we need to do now is to see if the fake goods in your hands were also made by that person. Just as Zhong Yin finished speaking, Fang Baiwei also chimed in, Senior brother Zhong is right. Tonight, we will investigate thoroughly and see if the weapons that the 9 of us bought were made by the same person. If so, he's dead for sure. This night was destined to be a sleepless night for Zhong Yin and the others. Although the items in the hands of the other 7 people had only been bought from 5 people. One of the 5 people was the only son of the Spring Valley head, and he was a famous spoiled brat in the Lightning Sword sect. Unless he took the initiative to go out, no one would dare to disturb his sleep and cultivation. Let's wait. Outside the courtyard where the son of the Spring Valley head lived, Zhong Yin and the others waited patiently. It was not until late the next day that they heard the sound of the door opening. Creak. After the door to the room in the courtyard was opened, a young man dressed in a brocade robe walked out, stretching and yawning. The young man looked to be in his early 20s. He had sharp eyebrows, bright eyes, a fine nose and red lips. His handsome features carried a hint of gentleness. If he were to change into female clothes, people would probably think that he was a beauty. And he was the only son of the Spring Valley head, Lu Lang. Junior brother Lu, you finally come out. Seeing Lu Lang come out, Fang Baiwei heaved a sigh of relief and greeted him. Lu Lang raised his head and saw the 9 people standing in the air outside the courtyard. People of the Summer Valley? What are they doing here? Lu Lang immediately saw that among the 9 people of the Summer Valley, one of them was the elder of the Summer Valley who had bought something from him the day before. It was also that item that had allowed him to easily earn 130 high-quality spirit stones. What did you call me? Lu Lang flew into the air and looked at Fang Baiwei who had just called out to him. Junior brother Lu. Fang Baiwei's face was full of smiles. Although the person in front of him was only a primal core adept, he had a good father. The Spring Valley head was the head of the 4 valley heads and also the strongest of the 4 valleys. And the person in front of him was the only son of the Spring Valley head. Not just in the 4 valleys but even in the entire Lightning Sword sect, not many people dared to offend him. Is junior brother Lu something you can call me? Lu Lang glared at him and asked coldly, do you think that you are worthy of calling me junior brother? Fang Baiwei's expression changed and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Only now did he remember that this spoiled brat in front of him did not like to hear inner sect disciples call him junior brother. In his eyes, only the core disciples of the Lightning Peak had the right to call him junior brother. Furthermore, even among the core disciples of the Lightning Peak, not everyone could be called senior brother or senior sister. Young Master Lu, I'm sorry. Fang Baiwei apologized profusely. Lu Lang glanced disdainfully at the bowing Fang Baiwei, then looked at the other 8 people. You people of the Summer Valley have come looking for me early in the morning. If there's nothing important, don't disturb me when I'm out for a walk. Who knows, maybe my luck today will be as good as yesterday. Just by walking around, I'll see some idiot selling items on the bounty list. As Lu Lang spoke, he looked at the few people from the Summer Valley with an impatient gaze. Hearing Lu Lang's words, the 9 people of the Summer Valley looked at each other and saw the realization in each other's eyes. Young Master Lu. One of the elders of the Summer Valley went straight to the point and opened up a portrait in his hands. Yesterday, did you sell that item to me by this person? If Zhou Donghuang was here, he would definitely be able to recognize him in the portrait. However, the portrait was much worse than the one that Freezing Wind had drawn for his sister, Yun Lu. Hearing this, Lu Lang glanced at the portrait and could not help but laugh. It's quite similar, but there's no charm to it. That fool, on the surface, looks much more impressive than this young master. What? You came looking for me early in the morning just to find out about this person? Don't tell me you're thinking of buying other items on the bounty list from him? Lu Lang subconsciously thought so. No. The expression of the Summer Valley elder, who was holding onto the portrait, darkened. Then he thanked Lu Lang profusely. Thank you, young Master Lu. Now, we can confirm that the person who sold you the fake goods and then sold them back to us was this person. As the Summer Valley elder finished speaking, the other disciples of the Summer Valley shouted angrily, "This disciple of the Autumn Valley is unforgivable. Just to help that idiot De Zhuang of the Autumn Valley, he dared to do such a thing to the Summer Valley? Damn it. Let's go. Let's get even with him." The group of people of the Summer Valley shouted angrily and turned to leave the Spring Valley for the Autumn Valley. What's going on? The idiot in the portrait is an Autumn Valley disciple? And, let's be clear. What do you mean we sold you the fake item? The words of the group of people of the Summer Valley had completely piqued Lu Lang's curiosity. Lu Lang followed them and asked curiously. Since Lu Lang had asked, the people of the Summer Valley naturally did not dare to not tell him. When Lu Lang found out what had happened, he was completely stunned. The item he sold me yesterday was actually fake? Furthermore, he bought 8 other fake items for the others and then used us to sell them to these 9 people of the Summer Valley? And I thought he was an idiot who did not even look at the bounty list in the trade center. Now, it seems that not only is he not an idiot, he even used me. Interesting. After regaining his composure, Lu Lang's eyes lit up. He's just a new disciple of the Lightning Sword sect and the Autumn Valley. Just to help that idiot of the Autumn Valley, he actually dared to cheat the people of the Summer Valley? Impressive. His name is Zhou Donghuang? Very quickly, Lu Lang followed the 9 people of the Summer Valley to the Autumn Valley. After asking a disciple of the Autumn Valley where Zhou Donghuang lived, the people of the Summer Valley headed towards the mountainside where Zhou Donghuang lived. However, just as they neared Zhou Donghuang's courtyard, they saw an Autumn Valley disciple sitting cross-legged in midair. As they neared, the Autumn Valley disciple opened his eyes and looked at them from afar. Are you here to look for Brother Zhou? Tell Zhou Donghuang to come out. Fang Baiwei said with a dark expression. Brother Zhou asked me to tell you. If you are in a hurry to find him, you can go to the trade center. This Autumn Valley disciple was none other than Huang Long, who had brought Zhou Donghuang to Himingshi when he had first arrived at the Autumn Valley. Huang Long had also heard the news from the Summer Valley that morning. The 9 people of the Summer Valley had all bought fake items the day before. His first thought was that someone had purposely used fake items to cheat the 9 people of the Summer Valley. Thus, he had specially come to look for De Zhuang and asked him if he knew who had done it. De Zhuang, who had already found out the truth the night before, had also told Huang Long the truth. It's him? At that time, only Huang Long knew how shocked he had been. That new disciple, who had not even reached the Dharma stage, actually had such a trick up his sleeve? Brother Zhou is indeed a genius to have guessed that they would come. Now, I will go and join in the fun as well. As the 9 people of the Summer Valley turned and left with dark expressions, heading towards the trade center, Huang Long followed them. I remember you. I think your name is Huang Hu? Lu Lang slowed down and walked alongside Huang Long. As he followed behind the 9 people of the Summer Valley, he asked Huang Long. Even though he knew that Lu Lang was not someone to be trifled with, Huang Long's face still darkened. Young Master Lu, I am not Huang Hu, I am Huang Long. End of this chapter. Chapter 232. The Lightning Sword Sect. In the Trade Center. Little brother, you sold fake goods to the people of the Summer Valley. They will definitely not let this matter rest. De Zhuang followed behind Zhou Donghuang and said worriedly, why don't we return to the Summer Valley? In the Summer Valley with the valley head around, they would not dare to do anything rash. De Zhuang said. Would they dare to do anything rash in the trade center? Zhou Donghuang did not respond. He walked past the stalls in the trade center and finally came to the corner where the bounty list was. The person in charge of registering the bounty list was an outer elder. He recognized De Zhuang but did not recognize Zhou Donghuang. De Zhuang, is this also a disciple of the Autumn Valley? Previously, when De Zhuang had bought fake goods from Pan Yilin and returned to the trade center to settle the score with him, this outer elder had not been there. Thus he had not seen Zhou Donghuang. Yes, Elder Lu. De Zhuang nodded. Little brother, you have just entered the Autumn Valley. Young man, do you have something on the bounty list to sell, or are you here to put up a bounty for what you want? Elder Lu asked Zhou Donghuang with a smile. Put up a bounty, Zhou Donghuang said. Following this, he listed the names of several herbs that he needed to refine the core drug that would help him enter the Dharma stage. These herbs were all rare and precious. If he were to put up a bounty on the bounty list, even the cheapest of these herbs would cost 30 high-quality spirit stones, which was more expensive than the 9-ring bamboo that Zhou Donghuang had asked De Zhuang to buy. Of course, although De Zhuang had spent 11 high-quality spirit stones, he had only bought a piece of fake 9-ring bamboo. However, after strolling around the trading plaza, he had already bought a new 9-ring bamboo. He had only spent 10 upper-grade spirit stones on it. Young man, these herbs that you want are not expensive, but to put them up on the bounty list, you will need almost 200 high-quality spirit stones. Elder Lu looked deeply at Zhou Donghuang and reminded him. In his opinion, this young man in white had just entered the Autumn Valley of the Lightning Sword sect and might not have that many spirit stones. Furthermore, to put up a bounty, you need to pay a 10% processing fee and a 10% deposit. The handling fee is collected by the sect. As for the security deposit, it's to prevent others from not having enough spirit stones if they have something that you want. If that really happens, the person who intends to sell you the item you are looking for will receive the deposit you left here. As he knew that Zhou Donghuang was a newcomer, Elder Lu very patiently explained the rules of the bounty list in the trade center. Yes. Zhou Donghuang nodded his head, indicating that he understood. He raised his hand and retrieved a few hundred mid-level spirit stones, a total of 380. 380 mid-grade spiritual stones were equivalent to 38 high-grade spiritual stones. The medicinal herbs that Zhou Donghuang had put up a bounty of 190 superior-level spirit stones. Of course, 1,900 intermediate-level spirit stones were also acceptable. Seeing Zhou Donghuang casually take out so many mid-grade spirit stones, he began to take him seriously. The young man was dressed in robes as white as snow, and he was handsome and had an extraordinary aura. He did not look like someone from an ordinary background. Furthermore, he had just entered the Autumn Valley of the Lightning Sword sect and was able to produce so many spirit stones, so it was unlikely that he was from an ordinary background. Although he was surprised, Elder Lu quickly regained his composure and took the spirit stones, counting them and putting them away. At the same time, he gave Zhou Donghuang a written receipt. From the receipt, Zhou Donghuang found out that the sixth elder's name was Lu Qing. Of course, in the process of writing the receipt, Elder Lu Qing also asked for Zhou Donghuang's name, and it stated that he had received 380 mid-level spirit stones from Zhou Donghuang, a disciple of the Autumn Valley. That's enough. As Zhou Donghuang put away the receipt, Lu Qing also added the medicinal herbs that Zhou Donghuang had put up on the bounty list. The ranking on the bounty list was based on price. The item at the top of the bounty list had a bounty of 30,000 superior-level spirit stones. Furthermore, as long as Zhou Donghuang wanted it, he could easily obtain it in the near future, and he would not need to spend a single spirit stone. 4th grade reversing elixir. The reversing elixir was divided into 9 grades. 1st grade reversing elixir was only useful for chi-gathering adepts. 2nd grade reversing elixir was only useful for Khanate adepts and those below the Khanate stage, and 3rd grade reversing elixir was only useful for Primal Core adepts and those below the Primal Core stage. The 9th grade reversing elixir was the highest grade of reversing elixir, and it was also a legendary item. The 9th grade reversing elixir could even be used by deities tribulation adepts. As long as one was still breathing, after consuming the 9th grade reversing elixir, one's injuries would be healed in a short period of time. Initially, I destroyed all of Qindandan's meridians, but it was precisely because the elder of the Shenin sect, Zhongya, obtained the reversing heaven grass and produced the 2nd grade reversing elixir that helped Qindandan recover her meridians. After that, after killing Zhongya, I found 6 grade 2 heaven reversing pills in his spatial ring. Those 6 grade 2 heaven reversing pills were all concocted using very crude alchemy techniques. It was a waste of the 5-leaf heaven reversing grass. In Zhou Donghuang's hands, the 5-leaf reversing heaven grass could even be used to produce a 5th grade reversing elixir. A 5th grade reversing elixir was an invaluable life-saving item, even for primordial soul adepts. 6 2nd grade reversing elixirs. When I enter the Dharma stage and refine them again, I'll be able to produce at least 2 fourth-grade reversing elixirs. Of course, although he was confident that he could produce a 4th-grade reversing elixir, Zhou Donghuang was not interested in the 30,000 high-quality spirit stones on the bounty list. Even if he added up all the spirit stones that he had on him now, if converted to high-quality spirit stones, he would only be worth less than 50,000 high-quality spirit stones. However, to him, this amount of spirit stones was enough for the time being. The spirit stones that Zhou Donghuang had on him had basically all been obtained before he had come to the Lightning Sword sect. Through the memories of his past life, he had gone to a few planets and a few galaxies and obtained them first. Of course, most of the spirit stones that Zhou Donghuang had obtained were mid-quality spirit stones, and he did not have many high-quality spirit stones. This was because the few planets that he had been to could not be compared to the Tailao planet, where the Lightning Sword sect was located. The spirit stone mines there also had difficulty producing high-quality spirit stones. He's over there. Just as De Zhuang was about to greet the outer sect elder, Lu Qing, and was about to leave with Zhou Donghuang, an angry roar came from high up in the sky. Although this angry roar did not contain inner yuan, it was loud enough to drown out all the other noises in the trade center. At this moment, the entire trade center became much quieter. Some people even subconsciously raised their heads to look at the source of the roar. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, a group of 9 people floated in the air above the trade center. As their gazes converged on one spot, they all descended in unison. Behind the 9 people, 2 people followed unhurriedly. They were Lu Lang and Huang Long, who had come to watch the commotion. "Little brother, it's the people of the Summer Valley." De Zhuang's expression changed. Just as Zhou Donghuang raised his eyelids lazily, the 9 people of the Summer Valley had already descended from the air and surrounded Zhou Donghuang and De Zhuang. "Brother Zhou." At this time, Huang Long, who had followed closely behind, also landed beside Zhou Donghuang. Among these 9 people of the Summer Valley, 2 of them are elders of the Summer Valley. At this point, Huang Long could not help but swallow his saliva. He had never imagined that this brother Zhou would dare to trick even the elders of the Summer Valley. Furthermore, he had even tricked 2 elders of the Summer Valley. These were inner elders of the Lightning Sword sect, mid-primordial soul adepts. Elderly? Elder you? Because Zhou Donghuang and De Zhuang had not progressed far from the bounty list, the outer sect elder in charge of registering the bounty list, Lu Qing, was able to recognize 2 of the 9 people from the Summer Valley as soon as they landed. They were elders of the Summer Valley and were also inner sect elders of the Lightning Sword sect. In the Lightning Sword sect, the 2 of them were above him in terms of status and ability. At the same time, many elders and disciples of the Lightning Sword sect who had gathered to watch the commotion also came over to watch. They recognized the 2 elders of the Summer Valley immediately. "What's going on? What's going on?" Many of the onlookers did not know what was going on. "Zhou Donghuang, how dare you trick the 9 of us with fake goods?" However, as Fang Baiwei of the 9 people of the Summer Valley spoke, the onlookers immediately understood what was going on. This was because, early in the morning, they had all heard that the items that the 9 people of the Summer Valley had bought on the bounty list yesterday were all fake goods. Furthermore, when they were inspecting the goods, none of the 9 people had discovered that they were fake goods. Today many people had guessed. Someone must have deliberately tricked the people of the Summer Valley. Now, the 9 people of the Summer Valley who had been tricked had all appeared and surrounded De Zhuang and another new disciple of the Autumn Valley. It was not difficult for them to guess what was going on. Was it De Zhuang and the young man in white who tricked the people of the Summer Valley? It can't be De Zhuang. De Zhuang can't possibly have that kind of ability. It's most likely this new disciple of the Autumn Valley. I think his name is Zhou Donghuang. The onlookers' attention was quickly focused on Zhou Donghuang, making him the center of attention. "Zhou Donghuang, don't think that nothing will happen just because you don't speak." The Summer Valley disciple, Fang Baiwei, saw that Zhou Donghuang was ignoring him and flew into a rage. He glared at Zhou Donghuang and said through gritted teeth, "Do you believe that I will kill you?" Zhou Donghuang looked at Fang Baiwei lazily. "Kill me? Do you dare?" In the Lightning Sword sect, disciples of the same sect were not allowed to injure or kill each other unless they had signed a life-and-death contract. Anyone who violated this rule would be punished. Furthermore, if one attacked a fellow disciple without reason, even if they did not injure or kill him, they would still be punished. The Lightning Sword sect might not be considered much in the entire universe. However, on the Tailao planet of the Hungliu galaxy, it was one of the top sections. The rules within the sect were very strict, and it was not something that a small sect could compare to. End of this chapter. Chapter 233. Just now, Fang Baiwei had only wanted to scare Zhou Donghuang, but he had not expected Zhou Donghuang to not care about his threat at all. Instead, he had taunted him verbally. Fang Baiwei was so angry that his face turned red. His inner yuan surged out of his body and formed a Dharma power. However, even though his Dharma power was formed, Fang Baiwei still did not have the courage to attack. The lightning sword sect's punishment for attacking a fellow disciple was too severe. Furthermore, if he attacked, he would be bullying the weak and the punishment would be even more severe. After all, he was already in his 40s and the young man in white before him was only in his early 20s. He was a mid-Dharma adept, and the young man had not even reached the Dharma stage. Zhou Donghuang. As Fang Baiwei was defeated by Zhou Donghuang, Zhong Yin glared at Zhou Donghuang and asked in a low voice, "Did you do this just to help De Zhuang vent his anger?" The other elders and disciples of the Summer Valley also glared at Zhou Donghuang unkindly. You can think of it that way. Zhou Donghuang glanced at Zhong Yin. There's something else that you might not know. Back then, when De Zhuang bought fake 9-ring bamboo from the people of the Summer Valley, I asked him to buy it for me. What I lost was my spirit stones. As he spoke, Zhou Donghuang's lips curled into a faint smile, as if he was not affected by the loss of spirit stones at all. In reality, he did not care about the loss of spirit stones at all. Even if he did care, he had already earned it back from the people of the Summer Valley yesterday. Just because of such a small matter, you are willing to offend so many people of the Summer Valley? Zhong Yin asked in a low voice. Offend? Zhou Donghuang looked at Zhong Yin in surprise. Why do you say that? You sold so many fake goods and sold them to the 9 of us. Isn't that offending us? Zhong Yin's voice became even more sullen. That counts as offending? Zhou Donghuang was a little speechless. At the same time, he subconsciously looked into the distance. There, someone was flying over with the outer sect elder Lu Qin, who was in charge of registering the bounty list. This person was none other than the elder of the Lightning Sword Peak, Han Ku. Although I've only joined the Lightning Sword sect not too long ago, don't even think of bullying me because I don't know the rules of the sect. In this trade center, even if I buy fake goods, I can only blame myself for not having good taste. It's good to be taught a lesson within the sect, lest you embarrass yourself outside. Let's take a step back. Even if those things are fake and I personally sold them to you, as long as you buy them, you can only blame your bad luck. Moreover, I wasn't the one who sold those things to you. You bought it from someone else, but you came to me. Aren't you putting the cart before the horse? Zhou Donghuang said lightly. What a glib-tongued kid. One of the 2 elders of the Summer Valley glared at Zhou Donghuang fiercely and said, Kid, you should know the reason for this matter better than anyone else. Do you really think that, within the rules of the sect, you can wantonly toy with the people of the Summer Valley? Are you planning to stay in the sect for the rest of your life? As he spoke, the Summer Valley elder's face broke into a grin. There was no lack of threat in his words. Zhou Donghuang glanced at the Summer Valley elder. What you mean is, when I leave the sect, the people of the Summer Valley will take revenge on me? You can think of it that way. The Summer Valley elder laughed coldly. In the next moment, as Zhou Donghuang raised his head to look at the sky behind him, the expression on the Summer Valley elder's face changed drastically. Elder Han, did you hear all that? I did not break the rules of the sect, but the people of the Summer Valley are threatening me, saying that when I leave the sect they will take revenge on me. These were Zhou Donghuang's exact words to the Lightning Peak elder Han Ku, who was present. Elderly. At this moment, Han Ku's expression was cold as he looked at the Summer Valley elder and said in a low voice, Are you going to the law enforcement hall to receive your punishment yourself? Or should I report this to the law enforcement hall and have them send someone to bring you over? Elder Han. The Summer Valley elder Li Dahu looked at Han Ku with a bitter expression. I was just joking. You can say these words to the people in the law enforcement hall. Han Ku glanced coldly at Li Dahu and said, You should know the difference between you going to the law enforcement hall to receive your punishment yourself and me reporting this matter to the law enforcement hall and having them send someone to bring you over to receive your punishment. Li Dahu's expression changed once again, and he immediately turned back to look at Zhou Donghuang with a cold, murderous look. Only then did he reluctantly leave the trade center and head towards the law enforcement hall. In an instant, the scene fell into a dead silence. A Summer Valley elder, a dignified inner sect elder, had been sent to the law enforcement hall by an Autumn Valley disciple with just a few words. Once he entered the law enforcement hall, even if he did not die, he would at least lose a layer of skin. What are all of you gathered here for? Han Ku asked as he glanced at the 8 people of the Summer Valley surrounding Zhou Donghuang. Elder Han. Another Summer Valley elder looked at Han Ku with a bitter expression. This time, we did not intend to do anything to Zhou Donghuang. After all, what he did was indeed within the rules of the sect. However, when the sect set the rule that fake goods could be sold in the trade center, they did not consider that there were people who could forge all kinds of precious materials and pass them off as genuine. Just yesterday, the 9 of us spent close to 2,000 high-quality spirit stones to buy the fake goods that Zhou Donghuang sold. As the Summer Valley elder spoke, his tone revealed a hint of helplessness. Of course, close to 2,000 high-quality spirit stones had all fallen into the hands of the Lightning Sword sect disciples who had bought the fake goods from Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang had only received a few hundred high-quality spirit stones. Of course, Zhou Donghuang did not care about this small amount of spirit stones. If it were just for spirit stones, he would not have wasted time to forge the goods that the Summer Valley had put up as a reward. Today we are only here to demand an explanation from Zhou Donghuang. Because Han Ku was present, and because the other Summer Valley elder had already been invited to the law enforcement hall by Han Ku, the remaining Summer Valley elder appeared to be very upright. Of course, even if he does not give us an explanation, we will not do anything to him. After all, his actions did not violate the rules of the sect. We also thought that he might not give us an explanation. But we're still here. We are not doing this for ourselves but for everyone in the Lightning Sword sect. After all, anyone can be deceived by the fake goods that Zhou Donghuang sells. Under normal circumstances, inner sect disciples can only receive 1 high-quality spirit stone from the sect every month. Even core disciples can only receive 10 high-quality spirit stones a month. If they are deceived by Zhou Donghuang's fake goods, they may lose a few months or even a few years of spirit stones that the sect distributes to them. This elder of the Summer Valley spoke with a strong sense of righteousness and agitation. His words were very effective, and the crowd of disciples of the Lightning Sword sect who were watching all agreed with him. At that moment, many of the Lightning Sword sect disciples looked at Zhou Donghuang with unfriendly gazes. You people of the Summer Valley can rest assured about this. Zhou Donghuang smiled calmly. His voice was not loud, but it was clearly heard by everyone present. As long as people outside of the Summer Valley do not sell fake goods to people of the Autumn Valley, I can guarantee to all my fellow disciples outside of the Summer Valley that you will not buy fake goods from me. Of course, if people outside of the Summer Valley accidentally sell fake goods to people of the Autumn Valley, as long as they are sincere after the matter and resolve the problem amicably, I will not pursue the matter. Zhou Donghuang's words were tit for tat, and it was obvious that he was completely at odds with the Summer Valley. Zhou Donghuang's words caused the surrounding crowd to look at him strangely, and the faces of the people of the Summer Valley all changed. Even Han Ku, the Lightning Peak elder who was in charge of maintaining order in the trade center, looked at Zhou Donghuang with a look of helplessness and admiration. One person against the entire Summer Valley. Regardless of the outcome. Based on the current situation, this young fellow's courage was astonishing. Zhou Donghuang, if that's the case, you mean to make the Summer Valley your enemy? Zhongyin asked coldly, his face dark. I have no intention of making the Summer Valley my enemy, Zhou Donghuang said calmly. By doing this I am merely giving you a taste of your own medicine. At the end of the day it was your Summer Valley disciple who first sold me fake goods. Let's not talk about whether that matter is true or not. Even if it is true after this incident, you will not be at a disadvantage. The Summer Valley elder said, How about we stop everything here? Stop everything here? Zhou Donghuang laughed. If you want to stop here, that's fine, but you must make the Summer Valley disciple who sold me fake goods, and the Summer Valley disciple who used his Dharma power to press De Zhuang to the ground, kneel before me and De Zhuang and kowtow an apology. If the Summer Valley can do this, I promise that I will not target the Summer Valley in the future. As soon as Zhou Donghuang said this, the entire place fell silent. I remember, the Summer Valley disciple who sold the fake goods was Pan Yilan. And the Summer Valley disciple who used his Dharma power to press De Zhuang to the ground was Lian Ken, the personal disciple of the Summer Valley head. Even the Summer Valley might not be willing to make Pan Yilan kneel and kowtow an apology. After all, that would damage the Summer Valley's reputation. Let alone make Lian Ken kowtow and apologize. The conditions that Zhou Donghuang proposed are too harsh. No one thought that the Summer Valley would compromise. That's impossible. Just as everyone thought, the Summer Valley elder regained his composure and rejected without a second thought. Then there's nothing to talk about. Zhou Donghuang shrugged and said nonchalantly, if that's the case, you people of the Summer Valley have to be careful when you buy things in the future, lest you buy fake goods again. Actually, by doing this, I am also testing your ability to identify fake goods, lest you people of the Summer Valley walk out of the sect and be cheated by others. Not only will you be cheated of your spirit stones, but you will also lose face for the sect. I feel that I am very noble. For the sake of the Summer Valley, I have really put in a lot of effort. End of this chapter. Chapter 234. A person like me who repays evil with kindness is rare in this world, right? Zhou Donghuang said with a smile. Ever since he had been reborn 1,000 years ago, Zhou Donghuang had always felt like he did not fit in with this world. In the eyes of others he seemed cold and aloof. Only in front of his mother and sister Yunlu did he seem more real. It was not that he did not want to fit in with this world but that he could not. He had tried but he had failed. Although he had to start from scratch after his rebirth, he still could not change the fact that he stood at the peak of the universe. All the mountains seemed small. He had seen and experienced what he should have seen. In this life, it was only a matter of time before he returned to the peak. Until this time, when he came to the Lightning Sword sect and met one of the most important people in his past life, his third senior sister, He Mingxi. Only then did he have a sense of belonging and identity to this world that he had been reborn into. Because of this, his mentality had changed so much that he was now able to joke around with the people of the Summer Valley. Fortunately, the people of Ziyun who knew Zhou Donghuang well were not here. Otherwise, if they had seen this scene, they would have been shocked speechless. This was because they had never seen this side of Zhou Donghuang. However, among the people of the Lightning Sword sect, apart from De Zhuang, who looked a little dazed, no one had expected that this usually unsmiling little junior brother would have such a side to him. The others did not feel anything, but they felt that Zhou Donghuang was shameless. He was the one who had deliberately sold fake goods to scam the people of the Summer Valley, but now he was saying that he was doing it for the good of the people of the Summer Valley? The 8 people of the Summer Valley were now staring at Zhou Donghuang as if they wanted to eat him alive. Otherwise, they would have been worried that they would say something harsh and follow in the footsteps of the Summer Valley elder who had gone to the law enforcement hall. They would have long cursed and even threatened him. Elder Han, you saw it too. This Zhou Donghuang is obviously trying to make life difficult for the Summer Valley. The remaining elder of the Summer Valley said angrily to Han Ku. Han Ku was also a little speechless. Wasn't what this kid from the Autumn Valley said just now what he had said after De Zhuang had bought the fake goods that the people of the Summer Valley had sold? Donghuang brat, let people off when possible. Han Ku looked at Zhou Donghuang and smiled bitterly. Elder Han. Zhou Donghuang looked at Han Ku, his face full of surprise. What I said just now was a repeat of what you said that day. Furthermore, didn't you say that being able to sell fake goods is also a kind of ability? Yesterday, I took out a total of 9 fake goods and sold them all. Furthermore, the people from the Summer Valley also bought all of them. Are you trying to tell me that what you said to me that day was fake? Zhou Donghuang asked mockingly. Han Ku was dumbfounded and speechless. The Summer Valley elder snorted coldly. His gaze swept across Zhou Donghuang like a knife, and he called out to the rest of the Summer Valley, "Let's go." Zhou Donghuang's attitude was clear. He wanted to fight to the death with the Summer Valley. If he continued to stay, he would only lose face, so he might as well leave. Elder Yu, are we just going to let it go like this? On the way back to the Summer Valley, Fang Baiwei's face was filled with indignation. If we don't let it go like this, what else can you do? Why don't you kill him and use your life in exchange for his life to protect the Summer Valley? The Summer Valley elder turned back to look at Fang Baiwei and asked. Immediately, Fang Baiwei shut his mouth. He was not that great. After we return this time, we will go and see the Valley Head together. As long as the Valley Head is willing to intervene in this matter, whether it is to look for the sect leader or the Autumn Valley Head, that Zhou Donghuang will definitely not dare to act recklessly again. The Summer Valley elder continued. Hearing his words, the eyes of the group of Summer Valley disciples lit up. Back at the Summer Valley elder brought Fang Baiwei, Zhong Yin, and the other 7 disciples directly to the Summer Valley Head, Lian Kuan. Lian Kuan was a short, muscular and dark-skinned middle-aged man. He was at most 1.5 meters tall, and when he stood beside his personal disciple Lian Kan and gave him pointers, his body was suspended in the air, and he maintained eye contact with Lian Kan, who was 1.8 meters tall. Now, Lian Kuan was teaching Lian Kan how to use his Dharma power to exert his strength more effectively, so that he could display a stronger battle power. As an ultimate primordial soul adept, Lien Kuan had even created a few tricks to exert his strength, which was enough to further display the power of his inner Yuan. Valley Head. It was only when the 8 people of the Summer Valley came to visit that Lien Kan stopped what he was doing and stood behind Lien Kuan, who was suspended in the air a foot above the ground. Even so, Lien Kuan's shoulders were only level with Lien Kan's. What's the matter? Lien Kuan, the Summer Valley head, could not help but frown at the sight of so many people coming to visit him at once. Valley Head. The Summer Valley elder stood up and explained everything that had happened, as well as what the Autumn Valley disciple Zhou Donghuang had just said. That Autumn Valley disciple actually wanted me to kneel and kowtow to him, and that De Zhuang as an apology? Lien Kan, who was standing behind Lien Kuan, suddenly had a cold look in his eyes, and his face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost in that instant. The fake goods that you bought were all made by him alone? Unlike Lien Kan's one-sided view, Lien Kuan, the Summer Valley head, saw more. If that's the case, his methods are indeed not simple. Master. Lien Kan said disdainfully, that Zhou Donghuang is just a small golden essence adept. So what if he has some unorthodox methods? He won't be able to do anything. You look down on his methods? Lien Kuan asked. Lien Kan silently agreed. Then how do you propose we resolve this matter? Lien Kuan asked again. Hearing Lien Kuan's words, Lien Kan did not know how to respond. This was because the Summer Valley elder before him had also said that everything that the other party had done was within the rules of the sect, and that he could not use force. If he could not use force, what else could he do? Lien Kuan snorted coldly and did not give Lien Kan any face as he scolded him. That's why I said, don't underestimate anyone and don't underestimate Zhou Donghuang's methods. If you also had those methods, you could totally go to the Autumn Valley and force Zhou Donghuang to give up on the idea of continuing to harm the Summer Valley. After hearing the Summer Valley elder's words, Lien Kuan was also a little angry. Now that Lien Kan was in trouble, he immediately vented his anger on Lien Kan. As for Lien Kan, he could only nod his head like a little chick pecking at rice. Master is right, master is right. However, in Lien Kan's heart he hated Zhou Donghuang even more. Valley Head, if you do not intervene in this matter and continue, I'm afraid that it will cause panic in the Summer Valley. The Summer Valley elder smiled bitterly. If I intervene now, won't I become a joke? An Autumn Valley disciple who has not even reached the Dharma stage actually wants me, the Summer Valley head, to personally intervene in a game with the Summer Valley? Lien Kuan laughed coldly as he spoke. Instantly, the Summer Valley elder fell silent. Master, in my opinion, that Zhou Donghuang must have said that on purpose. Yesterday he cheated Elder Yu and a few other seniors, which could be considered as helping De Zhuang take revenge. Lien Kan said in a timely manner, even if you gave him 10 times the courage, I think he would not dare to continue to offend the Summer Valley. Lien Kan's words made the Summer Valley elder and the others feel that there was some truth to it. As for Lien Kuan, he had no intention of intervening at all. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. And in this month, when the people of the Summer Valley traded in the trade center, although they were careful, they did not buy any fake goods. The clamor of the Autumn Valley disciple Zhou Donghuang was like a stone that had sunk into the ocean. Looks like that Zhou Donghuang was just saying it casually. I thought he really dared to challenge the whole valley. I overestimated him. Thinking about it, it's normal. He has already taken his revenge, and in comparison he has gained a greater advantage. Naturally, there is no need to continue to antagonize the valley. A month ago, the people of the Lightning Sword sect who had personally heard Zhou Donghuang say that he would continue to cheat the Summer Valley with fake goods shook their heads. They felt that what Zhou Donghuang had said back then was just a casual remark. In this month, the people of the Summer Valley also gradually began to let down their guard. Even so, they still did not buy any fake goods. However, they did not know that, in this month, the reason why the Summer Valley was peaceful was entirely because Zhou Donghuang had shut himself into train after returning to the Autumn Valley. The last silver essence has finally transformed into a golden essence. After a month, the remaining silver essence in Zhou Donghuang's Dantian had successfully transformed into a golden essence. Since then, Zhou Donghuang had trained all 4 primal essences in his Dantian to the golden essence. Next, I can break through to the Dharma stage. I wonder if anyone will sell me the herbs that I have offered for a reward while I'm in seclusion. At this thought, Zhou Donghuang walked out of his room and went to find De Zhuang. This time, before he had shut himself into train, he had left enough spirit stones for De Zhuang. If anyone wanted to sell him the herbs that he had offered for a reward, De Zhuang could trade for him. Little brother, the last herb that you wanted, I bought it 10 days ago. De Zhuang handed the herbs to Zhou Donghuang and smiled sheepishly. Very good. Zhou Donghuang had just returned to his room to produce the core medicine when an excited voice came from outside. Zhou Donghuang, you rascal, you've finally come out of seclusion. A month ago you said that you would let me participate, but in the end, you went straight into seclusion to train. Recently, the people in the sect have been saying that you've become a coward and don't dare to use fake goods to trick the people of the Summer Valley anymore. Hurry up and make a few fake goods and I'll find someone to sell them. Now, the person standing outside Zhou Donghuang's door was none other than the Spring Valley disciple Lu Lang. Lu Lang was also the only son of the Spring Valley head, and he was famous for being a spoiled brat in the Lightning Sword sect. A month ago, Lu Lang had shamelessly pestered Zhou Donghuang, asking him to hand over the fake goods to him so that he could find someone to sell them to the people of the Summer Valley. End of this chapter. Chapter 235. This guy, Zhou Donghuang, who had just put away the core medicine, heard the voice coming from outside and could not help but shake his head. He was indeed a spoiled brat. He actually found this kind of thing fun. However, he was happy to have someone help him get rid of the counterfeits, and he did not need to do it himself. After asking Lu Lang about the items that the people of the Summer Valley had recently placed on the bounty list, Zhou Donghuang asked him to prepare some cheap materials. Zhou Donghuang, are you sure that the items that the people of the Summer Valley have placed on the bounty list can be forged with these cheap materials? After helping Zhou Donghuang gather the cheap materials and handing them to him, Lu Lang's eyes widened in disbelief. However, when he saw with his own eyes that Zhou Donghuang had turned waste into treasure and refined a pile of cheap materials into the items that the people of the Summer Valley had placed on the bounty list, he could not help but be dumbfounded. My God! Lu Lang looked at the items in front of him for a while and realized that he could not tell that they were counterfeits at all. Without destroying them, it was impossible to tell that they were counterfeits. And the person who sold these items, even if they were real, would not allow anyone to destroy them. This was the same logic as the 9 counterfeits that Zhou Donghuang had sold a month ago. Now I'm looking forward to the expressions of those elders of the Summer Valley when they discover that they are counterfeits after buying these items. Lu Lang, who was eager to see the world in chaos, followed Zhou Donghuang's instructions and selected the most expensive items on the bounty list that could be forged. These were all items that the elders of the Summer Valley had placed bounties on. The cheapest item had a bounty of 300 high-quality spirit stones. The most expensive item had a bounty of 1,000 high-quality spirit stones. The items that the elders of the Summer Valley had placed bounties on were so expensive that when the elders and disciples of the Lightning Sword sect saw the bounties on them, they would leave the sect and put in a lot of effort to find these items. Normally, in less than half a month, the people of the sect would be able to find the items that they were looking for. However, this time Lu Lang was destined to beat them to it. More accurately, it was the people that Lu Lang had found who beat them to it. Zhou Donghuang, if I find people to help, I will not take a cut myself. The people that I find, I will give them 10% of their hard work. How about that? Lu Lang asked Zhou Donghuang. Yes. Zhou Donghuang nodded. Do as you see fit. For the next period of time, I will continue to train in seclusion. Before I come out of seclusion, don't disturb me. Now that the elixir that could help him break through to the Dharma stage was ready, he wanted to try out his idea and see if he could directly enter the Dharma stage. Seeing Zhou Donghuang return to his room after giving him the items, Lu Lang could not help but pout. What a training maniac. As soon as he finished speaking, he looked at the few items in his hand, and a bright smile bloomed on his face. These will be fun to play with. I'm really curious to see the expressions on the faces of the Summer Valley elders when they realize that these things were fake. 3 days later. Summer Valley. Valley Head, you have to intervene in this matter. This time, the losses of the Summer Valley have already exceeded 2,000 high-grade spirit stones. A few elders of the Summer Valley arrived at Lien Kuan's residence. One of the elders was furious. That Autumn Valley disciple is too much. Hearing the words of the Summer Valley elder, Lien Kuan's expression did not change, but he could not help but feel disdain in his heart. It was clearly you old fellows who were blind enough to buy fake goods and lost your own spirit stones, and now you say that it was the Summer Valley's loss? Usually, when we were producing elixirs for the Summer Valley disciples, we would ask them to take out some spirit stones to contribute to the Summer Valley. Which one of them was not stingy and crying about being poor? Of course, Lien Kuan could only think about these words in his heart. He could not say them out loud. Valley Head, you really have to intervene in this matter. If this continues, the people of the Summer Valley will definitely be in a state of panic. Another elder of the Summer Valley said. Valley Head, even if you do not look for the sect leader, you should look for the Autumn Valley Head. With the Autumn Valley Head's words, I believe that Autumn Valley disciple Zhou Donghuang will restrain himself. Another elder of the Summer Valley said. Elders, are you sure that the fake goods that you bought were made by Zhou Donghuang? Lien Kun asked. Without waiting for them to speak, Lien Kun continued, as far as I know, that Zhou Donghuang, ever since he returned to the Autumn Valley a month ago, no one has seen him leave the Autumn Valley. Perhaps the fake goods that you bought had nothing to do with him? Lien Kun asked. Valley Head, although the person who sold me the fake goods was an elder of the outer sect, and he was unwilling to reveal the source of the fake goods, is there a need to ask? It was definitely made by that Autumn Valley disciple. That's right, Valley Head. Besides him, who else would have the ability to do so? Before he entered the Lightning Sword sect, we had never seen fake goods run rampant. Ever since he came, fake goods have become rampant, and they are targeting the Summer Valley. Valley Head, make a trip to the Autumn Valley and speak to the Autumn Valley Head. As long as the Autumn Valley Head says the word, Zhou Donghuang will definitely not dare to act recklessly. A few elders of the Summer Valley bowed to Lien Kun and pleaded in unison. Valley Head, please help us in the Summer Valley. Seeing this, Lien Kun could not help but frown. He did not like the feeling of being forced to do something beyond his abilities. However, since the elders of the Summer Valley had already gone to this extent, if he continued to reject them, he would inevitably lose their trust. I will make a trip to the Autumn Valley in the next 2 days. After receiving Lien Kun's reply, the elders of the Summer Valley left in satisfaction. After the few of them left, Lien Kun's face turned completely gloomy and extremely ugly. Not long after, news of the elders of the Summer Valley buying fake goods, and more than 2,000 high-quality spirit stones in total, once again caused an uproar in the Lightning Sword sect. That Autumn Valley disciple is so daring? I thought he had become smarter. I did not expect that in just a short month he would cause such a huge ruckus again. This time, the Summer Valley's losses are even more ridiculous than the last time. He is digging a hole for the Summer Valley. Now, even some of the elders and disciples of the Lightning Sword sect who did not know Zhou Donghuang before now learned of his existence from their fellow disciples. Of course, their knowledge of Zhou Donghuang, apart from his identity as a disciple of the Autumn Valley, was limited to the fact that he could easily fool even primordial soul adepts. Senior Brother Lien, this matter is getting out of hand. If we had known, we would not have sold fake 9-ring bamboo to De Zhuang of the Autumn Valley. Pan Yulin smiled bitterly as he spoke in Lien Kan's residence in the Summer Valley. He had never imagined that, just because he and Lien Kan had been on a whim, so many people of the Summer Valley had been harmed by fake goods. In this period of time, he could see that some of the elders and disciples of the Summer Valley who had been deceived now looked at him differently. In the past they had ignored him, but now they looked at him with hatred. He was sure, if not for the rules of the Lightning Sword sect, which forbade members of the same sect from harming each other for no reason, the elders and disciples of the Summer Valley might have already made a move on him. After all, in the eyes of the elders and disciples of the Summer Valley, it was Pan Yulin who had indirectly caused them to buy fake goods and lose a large number of spirit stones. Since it has already been done, there is no room for regret. Lien Kan said calmly, my master has already gone to the Autumn Valley to look for the Autumn Valley Head. He went there to discuss this matter. From today onwards, this matter has come to an end. However, in the instant home, Lien Kan's lips curled into a cold smile, and his eyes shone with a murderous intent. That Zhou Donghuang actually dared to ask me to kneel and kowtow in front of him and apologize. This enmity has been formed. As long as I find an opportunity, he will definitely die. The matter of the fake goods has come to an end, but the show between me and him has only just begun. As long as he is in the Lightning Sword sect, I will suppress him. As he spoke, the cold smile on Lien Kan's face deepened. At this time, Pan Yulin also took the opportunity to flatter Lien Kan, that Zhou Donghuang, he has offended you, Senior Brother Lien. Sooner or later he will be in deep trouble. There is still time. Take your time to play with him. Lien Kan smiled mockingly. At the same time, the Summer Valley Head, Lien Kun, was sitting opposite He Jin in the courtyard of the Autumn Valley Head's residence. Senior Brother Lien Kun, you must have something to ask of me, right? He Jin asked with a smile. Junior Brother He, I have indeed come to find you. Lien Kun nodded. I did not intend to come, but the elders of the Summer Valley came to ask for my permission. I had no choice but to come. Oh? What is it that's so serious? He-Jin's face was full of surprise. Junior brother your Autumn Valley has a new disciple who has been in the sect for almost 2 months. Zhou Donghuang, you should know of him, right? He has not yet reached the Dharma stage, but he has entered the Autumn Valley. He needs your permission personally. Lian Kuan asked. Zhou Donghuang? Of course I know of him. He-Jin nodded. Speaking of which, he is the new disciple that my girl brought into the Autumn Valley. At first, I only thought that his martial arts talent was passable, but after listening to Han Ku, I found out that he is also good at creating fake goods. He can even fool primordial soul adepts. Senior brother Lian Kuan, you did not come to find me because of what he did to the Summer Valley a month ago, did you? He-Jin asked. If it was only about what happened a month ago, it would not be a big deal. Lian Kuan shook his head. Yesterday, a few elders of the Summer Valley bought another batch of fake goods. In total, they lost more than 2,000 superior-level spirit stones. They suspect that the fake goods came from your Autumn Valley disciple, Zhou Donghuang. This is different from a month ago when the person who sold the fake goods to the people of the Summer Valley personally confessed to Zhou Donghuang. This time, the person who sold the fake goods to the elders of the Summer Valley is not willing to reveal the source of the fake goods. I came to find you, junior brother mainly because I want you to help me ask Zhou Donghuang. If he did not do it, then so be it. If he was the one who did it, it was enough. After all, indulging in unorthodox ways will affect his practice, and he may even be unable to continue staying in the Autumn Valley when he is 30. Lian Kuan's words sounded more like he was thinking of Zhou Donghuang. End of this chapter. Chapter 236. Senior brother Lian Kuan has put in a lot of effort. Although He-Jin felt that Lian Kuan was shameless, he still put on a good front. I will have a good chat with him about this. However, whether he listens or not is not something I can control. After all, what he has done is not against the rules of the sect, He-Jin said. Lian Kuan shook his head and laughed. Junior brother you must be joking. You are the Autumn Valley head, and since you have spoken as an Autumn Valley disciple, how could Zhou Donghuang not listen to you? Senior brother Lian Kuan, young people nowadays are not like us. They all have their own ideas. In the past, if we had his ability, would we have dared to do this? He-Jin countered. Lian Kuan was speechless. If he had been younger and had Zhou Donghuang's forgery skills, he would not have done what Zhou Donghuang had done, even if he knew that forgery could make him rich. Although it was not against the rules of the sect, it would offend many people. When he was young, he had aspired to the position of Summer Valley head. If he offended too many people and caused trouble for him in the future, he might not even be able to live to this day, let alone the position of Summer Valley head. Within the sect, no one dared to do anything rash. But what about outside the sect? Could he not leave the sect for the rest of his life? Lian Kuan had just left when a travel-worn figure landed in He-Jin's courtyard. It was He Mingxi, Zhou Donghuang's third senior sister, who had just returned. Silly girl, you've been gone for so long this time. Where did you go? He-Jin asked with a smile, his eyes full of affection. I just went for a walk, He Mingxi replied casually. Of course, she could not possibly tell her father that she had gone to investigate Zhou Donghuang's background. After all, the dream that he had mentioned was too far-fetched. Father, why is Uncle Lian Kuan here? I don't remember him coming to the Autumn Valley to look for you. He Mingxi asked curiously. He's here for your little junior brother. As the Autumn Valley head, He-Jin knew that He Mingxi had addressed Zhou Donghuang as little junior brother. He's here for little junior brother? He Mingxi was stunned and asked, could it be that he's here to poach us? You want to poach junior brother to the Summer Valley? On this trip to the Ziyun planet of the Kaiyuan galaxy, she could be said to have seriously investigated Zhou Donghuang's background. After this investigation, she was shocked. On a planet that lacked cultivation resources, her junior brother had actually achieved his current level of cultivation in such a short period of time? Furthermore, her junior brother had once killed a Dharma adept who had just entered the Dharma stage despite being a Golden Essence adept. As a Dharma adept, she knew the difference between a Dharma adept and a Golden Essence adept who was the closest to becoming a Dharma adept. It was an insurmountable gap. Even the weakest Dharma adept could not be killed by a Golden Essence adept. At least, in the history of the Lightning Sword sect, the Tailao planet, and the Hunglio galaxy, she had never heard of a Golden Essence adept being able to kill a Dharma adept. This had already subverted everything she knew. Because of this, she felt that her junior brother couldn't be treated as an ordinary golden core cultivator, and she even subconsciously felt that he was extremely outstanding. Therefore, at this time, she subconsciously asked her father if the Summer Valley head was here to poach him? Poach him? He-Jin was stunned for a moment, then immediately shook his head and said, "No. He's here because he wants me to speak to your junior brother and ask him not to forge the items that the people of the Summer Valley have placed a bounty on in the future and let people sell fake goods to the people of the Summer Valley." Fake goods? Mingxi was stunned. After all, she had just returned, and after all, she did not know about the incident that had caused an uproar in half of the Lightning Sword sect a month ago. However, as He-Jin explained, she very quickly understood the ins and outs of the matter. At the same time, she also knew the reason why the Summer Valley head, Lien Kuan, had come this time. He has this kind of ability? Mingxi did not know whether to laugh or cry, but at the same time, a cold light flashed in her eyes. However, that Summer Valley disciple, Pan Yilin, actually dared to sell fake goods to De Zhuang and bully him? He must have eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's gall. Knowing that De Zhuang had been cheated, Mingxi was obviously very angry. "My good daughter, your junior brother has already avenged De Zhuang, so this matter has come to an end. Let's just end it here." He-Jin felt a headache coming on. He naturally understood his own daughter very well, and with her temper she would definitely help De Zhuang get back at him. "Some things you still have to do it yourself to vent your anger," Mingxi said. "As for what junior brother has done this time, I feel that it has helped to vent my anger. Father, you're not really going to look for junior brother and ask him to stop forging fake goods to sell to the people of the Summer Valley, are you? You can't do this. If you go look for him, I'll fall out with you," Mingxi said to He-Jin with a serious face, and the latter agreed immediately. He could only silently apologize to the Summer Valley head, Lien Kuan, in his heart. "I'm going to look for junior brother and De Zhuang." After saying goodbye to He-Jin, Mingxi left in a hurry. However, she only found De Zhuang. Zhou Donghuang was practicing in his own room. Mingxi did not disturb his practice and immediately called out to De Zhuang, "De Zhuang, let's go. Follow me to the Summer Valley to find Pan Yilin." "He even dared to touch my people. He must have eaten the heart of a bear and the guts of a leopard." Mingxi's eyes flashed coldly as she looked in the direction of the Summer Valley. Although within the Lightning Sword sect, disciples of the same sect were not allowed to fight without reason. Not to mention the fact that there was no evidence to prove that Pan Yilin had sold fake goods to De Zhuang. Even if he had really done so, it was within the rules of the sect, and they could not use this reason to cause trouble for Pan Yilin. But who was Mingxi? She was the daughter of the Autumn Valley head, He-Jin, and she was the only daughter at that. With such a status, even if she really hurt someone, as long as the matter was not serious enough, even if the law enforcement hall arrested her, they could not really do anything to her. In fact, the most troublesome people for the law enforcement hall were Mingxi and Lu Lang, who were the only daughters and sons of the valley heads. Even if Mingxi and Lu Lang went to the law enforcement hall, the people of the law enforcement hall still treated them like their ancestors. Senior sister, there's no need. De Zhuang shook his head and smiled. Junior brother has already helped me take revenge. I'm not unhappy anymore and I am not angry anymore. You big fool. Mingxi shook her head. Since you are not going, then I will go alone. As soon as she finished speaking, she did not wait for De Zhuang to speak and quickly flew away. She left the Autumn Valley and headed for the Summer Valley. Mingxi was a very protective person. A large part of the reason why Zhou Donghuang had respected her in his previous life was because Mingxi's protective attitude gave him a sense of home. During that period of time he felt very secure. It was as if even if the sky collapsed, third senior sister would hold it up for him. Pan Yilin, get out here. After Mingxi went to the Summer Valley and asked for Pan Yilin's address, she went straight there and shouted. Her voice was so loud that it spread across a large area. It's Mingxi. That Pan Yilin fellow, did he offend Mingxi? Many people of the Summer Valley came out to take a look and recognized Mingxi. However, even some of the elders of the Summer Valley, although they saw that Mingxi had come aggressively, had no intention of interfering. They all pretended not to see anything. Senior sister Pan Yilin, who was practicing in his room, was startled awake by Mingxi. His face was pale. He had not intended to go out, but when he thought that Mingxi might just tear down his residence if he did not go out, he could only muster his courage and go out. I hope senior brother Lien can step out in time, otherwise I will definitely not be able to escape a beating from this senior sister Pan Yulin walked out of the room helplessly and rose into the air. He looked at He Mingxi, who was standing in the air far away, and braced himself to greet her. Senior sister He. Pan Yulin, you are really amazing. You even dared to lie to De Zhuang. He Mingxi looked at Pan Yulin deeply and said, It seems like you do not respect me at all. Senior sister He, you have misunderstood. Pan Yulin smiled bitterly and said, That matter was a misunderstanding. The 9-ring bamboo that I sold to De Zhuang was real, not fake. He Mingxi interrupted Pan Yulin and asked calmly, You mean? De Zhuang is slandering you? I. Seeing that He Mingxi's gaze had turned cold, Pan Yulin felt his scalp go numb. At the same time he felt that he would not be able to escape this beating. He could only hope that this senior sister He would show mercy and not be too heavy-handed. Of course he would definitely not die or be crippled. On this point he still believed that He Mingxi had a sense of propriety. And just as He Mingxi's vital energy swept out and condensed into the Dharma power of a giant tiger that was 10 feet tall, preparing to attack Pan Yulin, a figure floated out and blocked in front of Pan Yulin. Junior sister Mingxi. The person who had appeared was the personal disciple of the Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan. Lian Kuan was not only Lian Kuan's personal disciple, but he was also Lian Kuan's adopted son. He was an orphan that Lian Kuan had picked up and brought back to be adopted. Lian Kuan was actually younger than He Mingxi by 3 years, but his martial arts talent was slightly higher than He Mingxi's. Although he was younger than He Mingxi, his level of cultivation was not lower than He Mingxi's. Lian Kuan, this matter has nothing to do with you. He Mingxi frowned and said in a low voice, Get lost. Zhou Donghuang did not know that his third senior sister, He Mingxi, had already returned. Now he was completely immersed in his practice. The core drug that he had produced was called the Developing Essence, and was a type of ancient core drug. In his previous life, after he had attained the heavenly stage, he had accidentally obtained the formula in an ancient relic. It was the fruit of the blood and sweat of the ancient people, and it had long been lost in the boundless universe at that time. The Developing Essence could allow Golden Essence adepts to forcefully condense their Dharma power in a short period of time. Of course, during this process, a spirit gathering spell was needed to absorb the spirit energy from heaven and earth. Coupled with the medicinal power of the Developing Essence, the Golden Essence would manifest its Dharma power. 4 Developing Essence, each with medicinal power entering a Golden Essence. I wonder if I can directly manifest the Dharma power of the 4 mythical beasts. Zhou Donghuang was somewhat expectant. End of this chapter. Chapter 237. The developing elixir was an ancient elixir, and when Zhou Donghuang obtained its formula, he was already a mighty adept at the heavenly man stage. Naturally, he had no use for this elixir that was meant for Golden Essence adepts. Furthermore, in his previous life, he had taken in a few disciples in the universe. At that time, even the weakest of them was already a divine transformation adept, so they naturally had no use for the developing elixir. In his previous life, Zhou Donghuang felt that it would be difficult for him to use the formula of the developing elixir, unless he suddenly decided to take in another disciple. However, he did not expect that before he could take in another disciple, he would be reborn 1,000 years ago due to an accident and have to start all over again. Under such circumstances, the developing elixir came in handy. Next, I'll first set up the energy gathering formation, then take the developing elixir. Zhou Donghuang did not lack spirit stones now. Before leaving the Ziyun planet and coming to the Tailao planet, he had traveled to a few planets in a few galaxies. Based on the memories of his previous life, he managed to obtain the relics left behind by a few Dharma adepts who had died of old age. Among them there were many spirit stones. Of course, most of them were mid-quality spirit stones with only a few high-quality spirit stones. This was also because the planets that the Dharma adepts were on could not compare to the Tailao planet that the Lightning Sword sect was on, be it in terms of the training environment or the training resources it contained. The Tailao planet had high-quality spirit stone veins, but those few planets did not. Those few planets had all been visited by Zhou Donghuang before he had reached the Dharma stage in his previous life. It was also at that time that he began to pay attention to the relics left behind by the Dharma adepts. However, every time he could only sigh helplessly, because someone had already taken away the relics of the Dharma adepts before him. After that, Zhou Donghuang naturally heard about the relics left behind by many Dharma adepts. However, at that time, his level of training was already quite high, and he only left the relics of the Dharma adepts to fate and did not purposely pursue them. Therefore, although he knew when the relics of the Dharma adepts had appeared on each planet, he did not pay attention to the specific location. At that time, what he paid attention to was where the primordial soul adepts and above died of old age. However, with his current ability, he still did not have the ability to collect the various relics left behind by the primordial soul adepts and above. There are also some rare spirit fruits appearing. In addition, in Zhou Donghuang's memory, there were many specific times and specific circumstances of the birth of the spirit fruits. These spirit fruits were also things that he would collect in the future. In his previous life, out of all the rare spirit fruits that he knew of, it was rare for even one to be his. But in this life, with the memories from his previous life, he was completely able to act before the various forces and experts could act and collect those spirit fruits. To Zhou Donghuang in this life, the memories of his past life were no different from a cheating device. More than 300,000 mid-tier spirit stones are equivalent to more than 30,000 high-tier spirit stones. It's enough for me to use for a while. 30,000 high-quality spirit stones. Even in the Lightning Sword sect, there were not many people who could afford such a sum. Zhou Donghuang had obtained the spirit stones from the graves of a few Dharma adepts who had reached the end of their lives. Unlike those who came from sects, these adepts did not have many ready-made resources. Instead, they focused on searching for and earning spirit stones. Only with spirit stones could they purchase the various resources they needed. He did not seem like someone who came from a sect. In the Lightning Sword sect, as long as one completed the various tasks given out by the sect, they would be able to earn a certain amount of contribution points. The accumulated contribution points could be used to exchange for core drugs, spirit weapons, and even some rare materials. In the Lightning Sword sect, there were some things that could not be bought with spirit stones. One had to use contribution points. Of course, after using contribution points to exchange for items, one could then exchange them for spirit stones at the trade center. This was also possible. In the entire boundless universe, as long as the other sects were presentable, they were basically all similar to the Lightning Sword sect. Under such circumstances, those who came from sects, with the exception of the few people at the top of a sect, generally did not have as much spiritual stones as those rogue cultivators who dared to fight outside, unless they had a fortuitous encounter and made a fortune outside. Because of this, the amount of spirit stones that Zhou Donghuang could use now, not to mention the outer sect elders of the Lightning Sword sect, even among the inner sect elders, there were not many who could match up to him. Of course, those who stood at the top of the Lightning Sword sect, like the 4 valley heads of the inner sect, the 5 hall heads of the outer sect, and the elders of the Lightning Peak, their spirit stone wealth was definitely astonishing. This was because many of the things that could be exchanged for with contribution points in the sect were contributed by them. Correspondingly, the sect would give them a certain amount of spirit stones as compensation. 10,000 mid-quality spirit stones should be enough to set up a chi-gathering spell, right? Under normal circumstances, Zhou Donghuang would not need to use 10,000 mid-quality spirit stones to set up a chi-gathering spell. This was because his current level of practice was too low, and absorbing too much spirit energy from the heavens and earth would cause a backlash. But now Zhou Donghuang was not doing this purely for practice. He intended to use the power of the 4 ancient core drugs, the developing essence, to condense his Dharma power in one go. He had a very crazy ambition. He wanted to make all 4 golden essences manifest their Dharma power in one go. And this was also the confidence that the ancient core drug, the developing essence, had given him. However, although he was ambitious and had a certain level of confidence, Zhou Donghuang was not completely confident. This was because he had never seen anyone consume the developing essence before. In fact, this was his first time producing a core drug like the developing essence, which was recorded in an ancient formula. Now, consume 4 developing essence. The success rate of producing the developing essence was not high. Even with Zhou Donghuang's alchemy skills, if he gave it his all, he could only produce 2 elixirs in 1 cauldron, and this was already Zhou Donghuang's limit of producing the developing essence with his samadhi fire. Unless he used a higher level of fire, it would be difficult to exceed this number of elixirs. As expected of an ancient core drug, for a typical alchemist, if his alchemy skills are not up to par, no matter how strong his fire is, it will be difficult to produce the developing essence. This was also something that Zhou Donghuang had discovered in the process of producing the elixirs. Gulp. Zhou Donghuang opened his mouth and swallowed the 4 developing essence at the same time. Soon after, he could clearly see that the moment the 4 developing pills entered his throat, they turned into 4 waves of medicinal power and fused together. In the end, under his intervention, they were divided into 4 waves and flowed into the 4 golden elixirs in his dantian. In the next moment he began to activate the 4 golden essences in his elixir field, absorbing spirit energy in the energy-gathering formation to train. The 4 golden essences were activated at the same time, and the speed at which they absorbed spirit energy was already very fast. Now that the 4 golden essences had the medicinal power of the developing essence, the speed was even faster. Compared to normal times, it was hundreds or even thousands of times faster. So fast. After a moment of shock, Zhou Donghuang continued to focus on activating the 4 golden essences, following the path of the Lord of the 4 Supremes to train, one big cycle after another. At this time, Zhou Donghuang, who had his eyes tightly shut, did not notice that the 10,000 mid-level spirit stones placed on the bed around him were gradually losing their luster at a speed visible to the naked eye. Based on this speed, it would not be long before these spirit stones were completely used up. And above Zhou Donghuang's head, the spirit energy that had gathered from all directions had even condensed into liquid form and was rushing towards Zhou Donghuang's head. It was like a small stream flowing. It must be known that under normal circumstances, even if a primordial soul adept used the energy-gathering formation to train, it was already considered very exaggerated for them to be able to see spirit energy in the form of mist. But now, with the medicinal power of the developing essence, the spirit energy that Zhou Donghuang had absorbed through the energy-gathering formation had condensed into liquid form. The spirit energy that filled heaven and earth was usually very difficult to see, and it was already very difficult to condense it into a mist form, much less a liquid form that was even more exaggerated. However, the reason why the spirit energy was now in a liquid form was completely because of the medicinal power of the developing essence. Under normal circumstances, even if Zhou Donghuang activated the 4 golden essences and used the energy-gathering formation to train, it would be difficult for the spirit energy to condense into a mist form, much less a liquid form. Zhou Donghuang was like a whale swallowing seawater as he absorbed the liquid spirit energy of heaven and earth. At the same time, there was a slight disturbance in the spirit energy of heaven and earth outside his residence. At least, De Zhuang, who was training, felt it. What's going on? However, although he felt the disturbance, De Zhuang did not know what had happened. In fact, after he stopped training he no longer felt the disturbance. Under the Lightning Sword Sect's territory, there was not only one high-quality spirit stone lode, but there were also many mid-quality spirit stone lodes. A place that could condense so many spirit stone lodes was definitely a place with an abundance of spirit energy. Coupled with the spirit energy emitted by the spirit stone lodes, under this virtuous cycle, the entire Lightning Sword Sect's territory had become a sacred place for training. Most non-affiliated practitioners who trained outside and spent a certain amount of spirit stones to set up an energy-gathering formation might not be as effective as if they had not set up an energy-gathering formation in the Lightning Sword Sect. It was precisely because the Lightning Sword Sect's territory was filled with an extremely dense spirit energy that even though Zhou Donghuang was absorbing spirit energy wantonly in a corner of the Autumn Valley and condensing it into a liquid form, it did not alarm anyone. De Zhuang could feel it when he was training because he was close to it. The other people of the Autumn Valley, including the Summer Valley elders who were at the mid-primordial soul stage, did not notice anything strange about Zhou Donghuang's residence. Now, within the Autumn Valley, the only person who had noticed anything strange about Zhou Donghuang's residence was the Autumn Valley head, He Jin. And this was also because Zhou Donghuang's residence and He Jin's residence were in the same direction of the Autumn Valley, and they were not far apart. Otherwise, even He Jin would not have been able to detect the abnormality in the spirit energy around Zhou Donghuang's residence. Spirit energy is all gathering towards him. This speed of gathering is not as exaggerated as when the sect leader was training, much less when I was training. He Jin stood in the air and looked at the courtyard where Zhou Donghuang was staying in. His face was full of shock. Is he training? Is he really just a primal core adept? End of this chapter. Chapter 238. The practice of a primal core adept was even more impressive than that of a divine transformation adept. Although He Jin was the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword Sect and one of the 4 chief elders of the Lightning Peak, he could not help but be stunned. He had no idea what was going on. He had never encountered such a situation before. However, he also knew how difficult it was to gather spirit energy at such a speed, At least, even the Divine Transformation Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect could not do it. This Zhou Donghuang is not simple. He either has a treasure or some special method to absorb spirit energy so quickly. Eugene thought to himself. Where did he come from? Looks like I'll have to ask Mingxi when I get back. Jin's expression turned solemn as he thought of this. To absorb spirit energy at such a frightening speed, even if only half of the spirit energy was converted into inner yuan, the speed of practice was still terrifying. Now, Zhou Donghuang did not know that while he was practicing, the movement of spirit energy had attracted the attention of the Autumn Valley head, Jin. He was fully immersed in the practice of the Lord of the Four Supremes. He had no idea how much time had passed. It felt like a century, but at the same time, it felt like only an instant. During this process, he glanced at his dantian and discovered that the embryonic form of a Dharma power had begun to appear on all four of his golden cores. He had experienced this scene in his previous life, so he was very familiar with the scene in front of him. Time continued to pass. At this time, Zhou Donghuang could vaguely see that the outline of the Dharma power on the four golden essences in his body had already formed a clear outline. Is that the green dragon Dharma power? The outline of the Dharma power on one of the golden essences looked a little like a snake, but its body was huge, and it had the outline of 5 claws on its abdomen. 5-clawed green dragon? What's going on? Shouldn't it be a 4-clawed green dragon? In his previous life, Zhou Donghuang had met Dharma adepts who had formed the Divine Dragon Dharma power. He knew that the Divine Dragon Dharma power was a 4-clawed divine dragon. But now, the embryonic form of the Dharma power on one of his golden cores had the outline of a 5-clawed divine dragon. Even for the dragon race, one of the 10,000 races in the universe, the divine dragon Dharma power that they condense when they reach the Dharma stage is only a 4-clawed divine dragon. Only when they step into the primordial soul realm can they condense the primordial soul of a 5-clawed divine dragon. In his previous life, Zhou Donghuang had interacted with the dragon clan, so he knew about this in detail. The 5-clawed divine dragon was one level higher than the 4-clawed divine dragon. Is it because of the Lord of the Four Supremes? Zhou Donghuang's heart thumped. The more he thought about it, the more it made sense. Apart from this, he couldn't think of any other possibilities. However, this is also a good thing. In the Dharma stage, the 5-clawed divine dragon Dharma power will not only be invincible against Dharma adepts of the same level, but even against Dharma adepts of a higher level. As long as their Dharma power is not particularly strong, it will most likely be able to defeat them. The 4-clawed divine dragon Dharma power was enough to defeat 99% of Dharma adepts of the same level. What more, the even stronger 5-clawed divine dragon Dharma power. The green dragon Dharma power already has the shape of a 5-clawed divine dragon. The other 3 Dharma powers will not be simple either. As he thought of this, Zhou Donghuang became unusually excited. His attention shifted to another golden essence. The shape of the Dharma power that appeared was that of a bird. This should be the vermilion bird Dharma power. This is the white tiger Dharma power. The shape of the Dharma power that appeared on the third golden essence was that of a walking beast. Upon closer inspection, there were many traces of the king of beasts, a tiger. The black tortoise Dharma power. The shape of the Dharma power that appeared on the fourth golden essence was that of a tortoise, a large one at that. Just as Zhou Donghuang's attention was drawn to the shape of the Dharma power that appeared on the 4 golden essences in his dantian, Mingxi rushed back to the Autumn Valley angrily. When I reach the mid-Dharma stage, I will definitely teach that Lianqin a good lesson. How dare he protect Pan Yilin? He is obviously going against me. This time, Mingxi had gone to the Summer Valley to find Pan Yilin, but before she could do anything, Lianqin had interfered and threatened to protect Pan Yilin. In a fit of anger, she had fought Lianqin. They were evenly matched and neither of them could do anything to the other. In such a situation, she could only return in low spirits. Although she was the daughter of the Autumn Valley head, Lianqin's background was not bad either. He was the adopted son and disciple of the Summer Valley head, so he was not afraid of her. However, when Mingxi returned angrily, her face was full of worry. That Lianqin is about to reach the mid-Dharma stage. Furthermore, his martial arts talent is higher than mine. When she reached the mid-Dharma stage, Lianqin would most likely also break through. When that time came, she would not be able to do anything to him. Because of this, she was very dissatisfied. What? Did you not help De Zhuang? Jin noticed Mingxi as soon as she returned and immediately went to greet her. When he saw the dissatisfaction on her face, it was not difficult to guess that she had not been able to get what she wanted. It seemed that someone had interfered to protect the Summer Valley disciple who had sold the fake goods to De Zhuang. That Lian Can interfered. Yimingshi said in a low voice. Lian Can. He Jin was stunned and his gaze became a little strange. From what I know, that Lian Can fellow seems to be interested in you. He actually stopped you? Interested in me? Yimingshi was stunned at first, but she quickly regained her composure. With a look of disgust, she said, even if all the men in the world died and he was the only one left, I would not choose him. Did he really think that I did not know that he was toying with the female outer sect disciples and then abandoning them? As she said this, there was only disgust left in her eyes. Alright, let's not talk about this for now. He Jin shook his head and changed the topic. That Zhou Donghuang, where did you find him? What's wrong? Yimingshi was confused. She did not know why her father would suddenly ask this. He Jin told her what he had discovered an hour ago, and for a moment, Yimingshi was stunned. When he was practicing, the spirit energy gathered at a crazy rate. Furthermore, the speed and intensity of the spirit energy gathering was even greater than when the sect leader was practicing in seclusion. Yimingshi was also shocked. He is not simple. I suspect that either his background is not simple, or he had an extraordinary encounter. He Jin said with a serious expression. He does not have any background. Thinking of the planet called Ziyun that she had been to not long ago, Yimingshi shook her head. He must have had an extraordinary encounter. Does not have any background? Yijin looked at Yimingshi. Where is he from? Ziyun, Yimingshi said. Yimingshi said, that planet only has a few small spirit stone veins. Moreover, there isn't even an interstellar transportation array in the star domain where that planet is located. I left not long ago to go to the planet of Ziyun to help him bring some things to his family. Yimingshi did not intend to tell her father that Zhou Donghuang had come looking for her. She only said that Zhou Donghuang had wandered to the Honglio galaxy and ended up on Ziyun. She had found him and brought him back to the Lightning Sword sect in the Autumn Valley. In the Autumn Valley, only Huang Long knew that when Zhou Donghuang had first arrived she did not know him. Therefore she had specially gone to Huang Long to inform him. Someone who came from a galaxy that does not even have a galaxy teleporter? He Jin's eyes narrowed slightly and he said with a serious expression, it seems that he has indeed had an extraordinary encounter. Otherwise, with his background he would not have been able to get to where he is today. 23 years old, reaching the Golden Essence stage. Even in some of the galaxies with galaxy teleporters, it is rare for someone like that to appear. Yijin voiced out his own guess. Yimingshi did not reply. She thought of what she had learned after going to Ziyun and felt that Zhou Donghuang must have had an extraordinary encounter. She even had a vague guess. Zhou Donghuang's extraordinary encounter could have been his dream. A dream that allowed him to see the future and allow him to have the upper hand at any time. This, in itself, was an extraordinary encounter. Father, if little brother has an extraordinary encounter, then so be it. You won't have any designs on him, will you? Yimingshi looked at Yijin cautiously. What kind of person do you think your father is? Yijin glared at Yimingshi. Am I that kind of person in your eyes? Father, if he is just an outsider, not a disciple of the Autumn Valley or the Lightning Sword sect, and not someone I brought back, are you sure you won't have any designs on him? Are you sure you won't have designs on him? Yimingshi asked with a chuckle. Alright, hurry up and go back to training. If you don't work hard, that Summer Valley's Lian Can might even reach the mid-Dharma stage before you. Yijin glared at Yimingshi again. Also, when your little brother comes out of seclusion, remember to remind him that a man's heart is full of evil. It's better to keep a low profile if possible. By the time Yimingshi relayed Yijin's message to Zhou Donghuang, it was already half a month later. Third senior sister, that was not an extraordinary encounter. It was because of a type of core drug. Zhou Donghuang looked at Yimingshi and smiled. I intend to give one of those core drugs to De Zhuang as well. After De Zhuang consumes the core drug and starts training, you can ask the valley head to come and take a look. But, before that, third senior sister, come with me to the Summer Valley. Just now Zhou Donghuang had seen that Yimingshi was frowning, and it was obvious that she was not in a good mood. After asking, he found out that the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Can, was causing trouble. Why are you going to the Summer Valley? Yimingshi was stunned. Of course, to meet that Lian Can. Zhou Donghuang rose into the air, the inner yuan around him withdrawn. Yimingshi was stunned. Little brother, you've broken through? Obviously, Yimingshi could tell that Zhou Donghuang had already reached the Dharma stage. I just broke through a few days ago. Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly. I've been consolidating my training these few days. Otherwise, I would have come out of seclusion long ago. Chapter 239. How did he break through so quickly? Yimingshi was stunned. A 24-year-old Dharma adept? What kind of miraculous encounter had this little brother of hers had? That's not considered fast. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. His progress was much slower than the disciples of the supreme sects and the top families in the top galaxies. There were many who had entered the Dharma stage before the age of 20, and there were many who had entered the Dharma stage before the age of 20. Furthermore, this is all because of the core drug that I mentioned just now. Zhou Donghuang continued, that elixir is a type of ancient elixir. Its potency is unimaginable. Third senior sister, how long has De Zhuang attained the ultimate primal core stage? Zhou Donghuang asked. De Zhuang was not much older than him. Almost 2 years. Yimingshi paused for a moment before replying. Zhou Donghuang nodded. When I return from the Summer Valley, I will give De Zhuang an ancient core drug. As long as he has enough spirit stones to set up an energy-gathering formation, he will definitely attain the Dharma stage within a month. Zhou Donghuang's tone was full of confidence, a confidence that no one could doubt. Zhou Donghuang had already tested the potency of the ancient core drug, so he was naturally full of confidence. Zhou Donghuang's confidence shocked Yimingshi. What kind of core drug is that? How can it allow De Zhuang to attain the Dharma stage within a month? Core drug. Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly. It is a core drug that allows golden essence adepts to attain Dharma in a short period of time. However, it is only useful for golden essence adepts. As long as there are enough spirit stones to set up an energy-gathering formation to assist in training, even a golden essence adept who has just entered the ultimate primal core stage will be able to enter the Dharma stage in an extremely short period of time after consuming the developing essence elixir. At this point, Zhou Donghuang paused and looked at Yimingshi before continuing. Speaking of which, I used the ancient core drug formula that I obtained from the dream to produce this core drug. The dream. Hearing Zhou Donghuang mention the dream again, Yimingshi gasped inwardly. Now, she was even more convinced of everything this little junior brother had said. It was precisely because of this that she couldn't help but feel slightly fortunate. Because the early appearance of this little junior brother would allow her to have the opportunity to change her and her father's fate. Otherwise, her father would die and she would have to leave the Tailao planet and the Honglio galaxy. At that moment, Yimingshi's gaze towards Zhou Donghuang became extremely gentle. Little brother, I know that you have just entered the Dharma stage and are full of confidence. Back then, when I had just entered the Dharma stage, I was the same. However, that Lian Can of the Summer Valley had already entered the Dharma stage a few years ago. Now he is not far from the mid-Dharma stage. His Dharma power has been tempered for a few years, so it's far stronger than yours. From her words, it was clear that Yimingshi did not think that Zhou Donghuang was a match for Lian Can. Although we can definitely defeat him if we join forces, there will definitely be people from the Summer Valley who will step forward to help him. If it was just Yimingshi and Lian Can fighting, no one in the Summer Valley would help Lian Can. After all, the two of them had similar levels of cultivation. However, once Yimingshi and Zhou Donghuang joined forces to deal with Lian Can, the people of the Summer Valley would definitely not stand idly by. Join forces? Zhou Donghuang was stunned at first, then he could not help but shake his head and smile. Third sister, there is no need for that. Zhou Donghuang's confident smile also influenced Yimingshi to a certain extent. Could it be that this little brother is really confident? Lian Can was the adopted son of the Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan. He was also a personal disciple, so he usually stayed at Lian Kuan's residence. As the head of the Summer Valley, although Lian Kuan's residence was not considered luxurious, it was still very spacious. There were also many rooms inside, enough for many people to stay in. Lian Can, my little brother would like to spar with you. After Yimingshi brought Zhou Donghuang to the residence of the Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan, she spoke loudly, her voice spreading far and wide. In an instant, many disciples of the Summer Valley were attracted over. It's Yimingshi from the Autumn Valley. This Yimingshi came looking for trouble with Pan Yilan half a month ago. It was Lian Can who stopped her. After that, Lian Can fought with her and they were evenly matched. After half a month, why is she here again? And she even said that her little brother wants to spar with Lian Can? The young man in white beside her is the little brother that she mentioned? To the majority of the people of the Summer Valley, Zhou Donghuang was an unfamiliar face. Pan Yilin had come over to join in the fun and recognized Zhou Donghuang immediately. When he recognized him, his face was full of surprise. Isn't that Zhou Donghuang from the Autumn Valley? He has broken through? In Pan Yilin's memory, this Zhou Donghuang was only a golden essence adept about a month ago. In just a month he had broken through to the Dharma stage? Zhou Donghuang? He's the Zhou Donghuang from the Autumn Valley who indirectly sold many fake goods to the Summer Valley. He's so young? Not only is he young but he's also a Dharma adept. Pan Yilin's words shocked many of the surrounding Summer Valley disciples. Zhou Donghuang. He actually dares to come to the Summer Valley. Very quickly Zhong Yin and Fang Baiwei, the two Summer Valley disciples who had bought fake goods from Zhou Donghuang, also arrived and stared at Zhou Donghuang fiercely. Soon after, many elders and disciples of the Summer Valley who had been cheated by Zhou Donghuang also arrived and stared at Zhou Donghuang fiercely. From what He Mingshi said, this Zhou Donghuang is here to challenge Lian Can. I heard from Pan Yilin that Zhou Donghuang was only a golden essence adept a month ago, which means that he has only entered the Dharma stage this month. He has not even entered the Dharma stage for a month, and he actually dares to challenge Lian Can? He's asking to be humiliated. The crowd of Summer Valley disciples did not think that Zhou Donghuang was a match for Lian Can. After all, Lian Can had already entered the Dharma stage a few years ago and was not far from the early Dharma stage now. In these few years, Lian Can had already refined his Dharma to the point where it was almost flawless, and he was also very proficient in using it. Is that girl Mengshi? Although the Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan, was not outside, he could still tell who the person was from the voice. The little brother she mentioned must be Zhou Donghuang. He actually dares to challenge you? Looks like he has some confidence. Lian Kuan looked at Lian Can and asked, "Are you confident? If you are not confident, you don't have to accept this challenge. If you are confident, it's best to accept the challenge." After all, he has indirectly sold many fake goods to the people of the Summer Valley, including some elders. If you can defeat him, you will win the favor of those elders. This is a good thing for you to take over the position of Summer Valley head in the future. Lian Kuan said. From what Lian Kuan had said, it was obvious that he intended to pass on his position as Summer Valley head to his godson and personal disciple, Lian Can. According to the rules of the Lightning Sword sect, as the previous Summer Valley head, he had the right to choose and recommend someone. In fact, as long as Lian can pass the Lightning Sword sect's test for him as the successor of the Summer Valley head after Lian Kuan's recommendation, he would be able to successfully take over the Summer Valley. Master, from your tone you think that I might not be a match for Zhou Donghuang? Lian Can smiled and asked, Master, don't you know that he was only a golden essence adept a month ago? I've heard about this. Lian Kuan nodded. But because of this, things are a little strange. A person who has just entered the Dharma stage dares to challenge you. What gives him the right? Could it be that he came here to humiliate himself? A person who was able to create so many fake goods and even deceive the elders of the Summer Valley, would he be someone who would seek his own humiliation? Lian Kuan's eyes flashed with caution. Master, you are too cautious. Lian Can shook his head and said with a look of disdain, If I, Lian Can, cannot even deal with a young boy who has just entered the Dharma stage, how can I take over the position of Summer Valley head in the future? Master, I will go and meet him. Lian Can bade farewell to Lian Kuan and walked out. Don't be careless. Be prepared to use your ultimate Dharma spirit weapon at any time. When Lian Can was about to leave, Lian Kuan, who was behind him, reminded him in a timely manner. Yes. Lian Can responded somewhat perfunctorily. In his eyes, a young boy who had just entered the Dharma stage less than a month ago was not worth using unless the other party had a Dharma spirit weapon first. Forget it. If he loses, it will be a lesson to let him know that there are always people better than you out there. Although Lian Kuan had never seen Zhou Donghuang before, his understanding of Zhou Donghuang was still based on Zhou Donghuang's brilliant forgery skills. But just this alone made him not dare to underestimate Zhou Donghuang. Today Zhou Donghuang had taken the initiative to challenge his disciple, Lian Can. This action showed that Zhou Donghuang had absolute confidence in this battle. Lian Can. After Lian Can left, Lian Kuan called out loudly, his voice like a clap of thunder. In a duel between fellow disciples, don't overdo it. It's the Valley Head's voice. Looks like the Valley Head is worried that Lian Can will go too far and cripple Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang took the initiative to challenge Lian Can. As long as Lian Can does not kill him, Even if he cripples him, the sect will not pursue the matter. Outside, the crowd of elders and disciples of the Summer Valley who were watching felt that the Summer Valley head, Lien Kun, had the intention to protect Zhou Donghuang. Yes, master. Although Lien Kan was somewhat unwilling, he did not dare to go against his master's words, so he responded respectfully. Lien Kan, seeing Lien Kan's unwillingness, Zhou Donghuang narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "If you are unwilling to stop, then let's set this duel as long as no one dies. Everything else is up to you. How about that?" As soon as he said this, Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed coldly. Just as the crowd of Summer Valley disciples felt that Zhou Donghuang did not know what was good for him and Lien Kan was about to agree, a dark expression appeared on his face. The voice of the Summer Valley head, Lien Kun, rang out once again. "Zhou Donghuang, your Autumn Valley head and I are fellow disciples of the same master. There are some things that we should not do to each other." Chapter 240. The group of people from the Summer Valley, upon hearing Lien Kun's words, only thought. At this moment, Lien Kun had suggested this sparring session not only because he wanted to help Zhou Donghuang, but also because he wanted to remind Zhou Donghuang that if he did not embarrass him today, Zhou Donghuang would not harm the Summer Valley with fake goods in the future. Since Valley Master has personally spoken, I will give you face. In today's spar with your disciple, I will not go overboard. I will just defeat him. Zhou Donghuang's lips curled into a playful smile. If there was anyone who understood Lien Kun's words, it was definitely Zhou Donghuang himself. As for the other person, it was Lien Kan. Does Master have so little confidence in me? Lien Kan's expression was extremely ugly. As for the group of people from the Summer Valley, after hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, they all looked at him with disdain and sarcasm, thinking that he was boasting shamelessly. Make your move. Zhou Donghuang stepped forward and faced Lien Kan. He said calmly, I still have things to do. The sooner I defeat you, the sooner I can go back. Arrogant. Lien Kan's eyes flashed coldly, and his expression darkened. You, Zhou Donghuang, are just an adept who entered the Dharma stage less than a month ago, and you dare to dream of defeating me? What a joke. Today I will let you know that there is always someone better than you. As soon as he finished speaking, the inner yuan in Lien Kan's body surged out. In an instant, the Dharma power of an early Dharma adept appeared and floated above his head with a domineering aura. It was the giant palm Dharma that had pressed the Zhuang to the ground in the past. You broke through less than a month ago, so you probably did not even have time to train your Dharma, right? Today I will let you know the difference between your Dharma and my Dharma. Lien Kan looked at Zhou Donghuang and laughed coldly. Now show me your Dharma. As you wish. Zhou Donghuang glanced at Lien Kan, and the inner yuan in his body vibrated. One of the four beast-shaped Dharma powers in his elixir field suddenly emitted waves of powerful inner yuan that flowed through Zhou Donghuang's body and exited his body. Ever since he had entered the Dharma stage, the four golden essences in Zhou Donghuang's elixir field had completely merged with his Dharma power. To be precise, it was because the golden elixir had become a part of the Dharma power, causing the Dharma power to be condensed and almost materialized. In the past, Zhou Donghuang's inner yuan came from the primal core. Now his spiritual ether came from his Dharma power. Of course, most people only had one Dharma power in their dantian. Because he had cultivated the Lord of the Four Supremes, he had four Dharma powers in his body, and they were four completely different Dharma powers. One was a dragon, one was a tiger, one was a bird, and one was a turtle. They were the Dharma powers of the four divine beasts. However, the four Dharma powers in Zhou Donghuang's body did not seem to have fully developed. The azure dragon resembled a snake, the white tiger resembled a cat, the vermilion bird resembled a bird, and the black tortoise resembled a little turtle. Roar. However, although the white tiger Dharma power in Zhou Donghuang's body was a little shabby and looked like a kitten, when it appeared, the 3-meter-tall white tiger Dharma power looked majestic. When it roared, it had the aura of the king of all beasts. Within 10 moves, I will defeat you. Seeing Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power appear, Lien Kan, who had long been impatient, spoke in a low voice. His entire body seemed to transform into a bolt of lightning as he charged towards Zhou Donghuang. Along with him, his 10-foot-tall materialized Dharma form also flew out. Whoosh! Whoosh! The giant Dharma power swept through the air, and because it was moving so quickly, the air around it emitted a sharp, piercing sound. This sound was also ear-piercing, as if it had come from the depths of hell, and it seemed to be able to pierce through one's eardrums. As Lian Can charged towards Zhou Donghuang, his gaze was cold. 10 moves was his conservative estimate. He felt that within 5 moves at most he would be able to defeat Zhou Donghuang. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Zhou Donghuang stood there, and the 3-meter-tall white tiger Dharma power that had risen from his body had already crouched down. Its eyes were closed from time to time, and it yawned lazily, as if it was about to fall asleep at any moment. This Zhou Donghuang, could it be that he has been scared silly? This should be his first battle after attaining the Dharma stage. It's normal for him to be scared silly. Lian Can and his giant Dharma power approached Zhou Donghuang in the blink of an eye. They were not far from Zhou Donghuang, but Zhou Donghuang still did not move an inch. Behind them, the crowd of Summer Valley disciples was in an uproar. At this moment, even He Mingxi, who was standing at the side, could not help but change her expression. Little brother. Zhou Donghuang, it seems that I have overestimated you. One move, just one move, and I will be able to defeat you. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang still did not move even after he had gathered his strength, Lian Can was ecstatic. His eyes shone with excitement and he raised his hand suddenly. Instantly, his giant Dharma power seemed to sense something, and it followed his movement and slammed down towards Zhou Donghuang and his white tiger Dharma power. Little brother. He Mingxi's expression changed again, and she subconsciously let out a cry of surprise. Boom. Kaboom. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Lian Can's giant Dharma power was like a small mountain as it slammed down towards Zhou Donghuang and his white tiger Dharma power. It was as if it had the power of thunder, and its momentum was fierce. Just as the people of the Summer Valley felt that Zhou Donghuang was about to be defeated by Lian Can in one move, at this critical moment, Zhou Donghuang's calm eyes suddenly froze. In the next moment, the white tiger Dharma power, which had been lying lazily in the air, also stood up excitedly. Facing the approaching giant Dharma power, it actually leapt into the air and pounced towards it, not caring that the giant Dharma power was less than 10 meters away from it. It's too late. Lian Can has made the first move, and his Dharma power has the absolute advantage. The people of the Summer Valley who were watching could almost see the scene of the white tiger Dharma power being destroyed by the giant Dharma power. Boom. When the giant tiger Dharma idol clashed with the giant palm Dharma idol, which had the upper hand by striking first, a loud sound rang out. Frightening True Yuan wreaked havoc in the void, colliding with each other, causing gusts of wind to appear out of nowhere, sweeping in all directions with great momentum. In the next moment, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the white tiger Dharma power collided with the giant Dharma power and dispersed the giant Dharma power. The inner yuan that had been gathered dissipated in an instant, and it was all for naught. Boom. Pooh. After the giant Dharma power had been destroyed, the recoil from the inner yuan landed on Lian Can's body and sent him flying. At this moment, Lian Can's face alternated between green and white, and he could not help but open his mouth and spit out a mouthful of blood. His aura was weak and it was obvious that he had been seriously injured. Roar! The white tiger Dharma power stood in the air and opened its mouth to let out a loud roar. It was like the king of all beasts, declaring its absolute authority that could not be challenged. Even after Zhou Donghuang had kept the white tiger Dharma power, the scene was still in a dead silence. Little brother? He Mingxi was the first to recover, and she looked at Zhou Donghuang as if she had seen a ghost. He really just entered the Dharma stage? He Mingxi was shocked. He had just entered the Dharma stage and he was already so strong? When he advanced further, how terrifying would he be? Even now, not to mention other places, there was no early Dharma adept in the Lightning Sword sect who could be a match for her little brother. No. Impossible. Impossible. In the distant sky, Lian Can, who was barely standing with Pan Yilan's support, looked at Zhou Donghuang again, his eyes full of disbelief and confusion. Even in his wildest dreams, he could not have imagined. An adept who had just entered the Dharma stage less than a month ago had been able to defeat him in one blow, even though he had the advantage of attacking first. In a daze, Lian Can thought of his own master's words. Now, it seemed that his master's concerns were not wrong. His opponent had come looking for him because he had absolute confidence in his own abilities. Third sister, it seems that Lian Can will not be able to help Pan Yilan now. Didn't you want to help De Zhuang vent his anger? Before the group of Summer Valley disciples had time to fully recover, Zhou Donghuang looked at He Mingxi and called out to her. At the same time, He Mingxi's eyes lit up, and she flew towards Pan Yilan, who had a look of fear on his face. Without any suspense, Pan Yilin was beaten up by He Mingxi. His face was pale and his breathing was weak. Throughout the entire process, he did not even have the courage to fight back, because he knew that fighting back would be useless, and he might even anger his opponent further. Third sister, let's go back. After glancing at the people of the Summer Valley, Zhou Donghuang and He Mingxi left the Summer Valley together. From beginning to end, no one from the Summer Valley stopped them. Zhou Donghuang had injured Lian Can during a sparring match. Although He Mingxi had been rude to injure Pan Yilin, considering her status as someone that even the law enforcement hall did not dare to provoke, they naturally would not be so stupid as to provoke her. Furthermore, Pan Yilin had only suffered a superficial wound and was not seriously injured. That Autumn Valley disciple Zhou Donghuang really just entered the Dharma stage recently? Many elders and disciples of the Summer Valley had doubts about this. Of those present, only Lian Can and Pan Yilin were certain. A month ago, Zhou Donghuang had indeed not yet entered the Dharma stage. He had only been a golden essence adept like the Autumn Valley disciple, De Zhuang. Master. Lian Can returned to Lian Kun with a bitter expression on his face. I was too careless. I did not expect his abilities to be so strong that he could defeat me with just one blow. One blow? Although Lian Kun knew that Lian Can had fought with Zhou Donghuang outside and had lost, he did not know that Lian Can had been defeated with just one blow. His eyes narrowed involuntarily. How did he defeat you? Was it under the preemptive strike and when he had the upper hand? From Lian Kun's perspective, if the opponent had struck first and had the upper hand, defeating his careless godson in one blow was shocking, but it was not impossible. No, Lian Can said sadly. Lian Can said with a gloomy expression, I was the one who took the initiative and gained the upper hand. He just made a move in a hurry. At that time, my Dharma power was only 10 meters away from his Dharma power before he struck. Chapter 241. What? As soon as Lian Can finished speaking, Lian Kun's expression changed drastically, and he could no longer maintain his previous calm. He was able to defeat you in one blow even when you had the upper hand? Are you sure he was just an early Dharma adept? Are you sure he was just a golden essence adept a month ago? Lian Kun stared at Lian Can as he asked in a low voice. A month ago, I saw him descending from the sky, surrounded by golden inner yuan, and today his Dharma power is only 10 feet tall. Lian Can said. A Dharma power that was 10 feet tall was the hallmark of an early Dharma adept. How is that possible? Lian Kun's face was full of disbelief. He was also an early Dharma adept like you, and he had just reached the Dharma stage not long ago. How could he have defeated you in one blow under such circumstances? Master. Lian Can smiled bitterly. I'm not too sure why exactly, but the problem must have been with the Dharma power that he had formed. His giant tiger Dharma power attacked my giant palm Dharma power at the last moment, and it was difficult for him to use his full strength. But even so, my giant palm Dharma power was like a piece of paper in front of his giant tiger Dharma power, and it was easily defeated. At this point, a look of fear flashed across Lian Can's eyes. I've sparred with a mid-Dharma stage senior in the valley before. Even that senior's 3-foot Dharma power exerted pressure on my 10-foot Dharma power might not even be able to compare to his 10-foot giant tiger Dharma power. The Dharma power of a mid-Dharma adept was 3 feet tall, and its power was so strong that it could crush the 10-foot Dharma power of an early Dharma adept. But now, Lian Can said, even the 3-foot Dharma power of a mid-Dharma disciple of the Summer Valley might not be able to compare to the Dharma power of the Autumn Valley disciple. His Dharma power seems to have been trained to a terrifying extreme. Although the inner yuan contained within it is not stronger than my inner yuan, it is flawless and airtight. On the other hand, my Dharma idol is full of loopholes in front of his Dharma idol, and his Dharma idol can make use of all the flaws in my Dharma idol. My Dharma power originally didn't have many flaws. However, in the brief confrontation with the giant tiger Dharma power, it was at a disadvantage time and time again. There were so many flaws that it directly defeated me. I think, even the Dharma power of an ultimate Dharma adept might not be as well trained as his. At this point, Lian Can's eyes were filled with a complicated look. I wonder how he managed to train his Dharma power. It hasn't even been a month since he entered the Dharma stage, yet he managed to train his Dharma power to such an incredible level. Heaven-defying. In Lian Can's eyes, the Dharma power of the Autumn Valley disciple Zhou Donghuang was indeed heaven-defying. The true origin contained in the unassailable 10 feet Dharma idol was not as strong as that of a 10 feet Dharma idol of the same level, but it was so strong that it suppressed most 30 feet Dharma idols. It had to be known that the true essence intensity of a 30 zhang Dharma idol was more than twice as strong as a 10 zhang Dharma idol. A 10 zhang Dharma power without any flaws? Lien Kuan's eyes narrowed. Even an ultimate Dharma adept would not dare to say that his Dharma is flawless. Although the Dharma of an ultimate Dharma adept has gone through a series of training, and there are very few flaws, there are still some. Usually, when an ultimate Dharma adept attacks, the most they can do is hide their flaws perfectly. Lien Kuan obviously did not believe Lien Can's words. He did not think that Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power was flawless. However, the strength of Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power and the degree of training it was no less than that of an ultimate Dharma adept was something that Lien Kuan believed. Otherwise, Zhou Donghuang would not have been able to defeat his godson, Lien Can, so easily. Lien Can was not just an idiot, but he was also one of the best of the few disciples under Lien Kuan. If nothing went wrong, he would definitely become a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. That girl from junior brother He's family? Where did she find such a monster? From Lien Kuan's point of view, such a monster should not have appeared in the Lightning Sword sect, or even in the Honglio galaxy. Even the two transcendental forces of the Honglio galaxy could not have produced such a monster. After returning to the Autumn Valley with He Mingxi, Zhou Donghuang brought her directly to find De Zhuang and gave him a developing essence. De Zhuang, after you take this developing essence, you will definitely enter the Dharma stage within a month. After saying this, Zhou Donghuang helped De Zhuang set up an energy gathering spell. To save time, he took out 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones. 20,000 spirit stones were spread throughout every corner of De Zhuang's room. The reason why he took out 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones at once to set up the energy gathering spell was because he did not want to set up another one for De Zhuang in the future. 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones to set up an energy gathering spell should be enough. It should be enough for De Zhuang to enter the Dharma stage. Zhou Donghuang thought to himself. For him to enter the early Dharma stage from the ultimate primal core stage, 4 golden essence adepts had taken half a month, and he had spent a total of 50,000 mid-quality spirit stones. In his opinion, even if he considered that he was more talented than De Zhuang, 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones should be enough for De Zhuang to enter the early Dharma stage within a month. After all, De Zhuang was no longer training in the techniques of the past, but the top techniques of the universe, the Fiery Thunder Training Regimen. Little brother, where did you get so many spirit stones? While De Zhuang was training behind closed doors, He Mingxi, who was in the courtyard, looked at Zhou Donghuang in shock. That's 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones. In your hometown, the Ziyun planet, the 5 inferior quality spirit stone mines add up to only about 10,000 inferior quality spirit stones a year. 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones was equivalent to 200,000 inferior quality spirit stones. The entire spirit stone mine of the Ziyun planet would take 20 years to mine, and this was under the assumption that not a single spirit stone was used in 20 years. Because of this, He Mingxi found it hard to imagine where Zhou Donghuang had gotten so many spirit stones. Third sister, in the dream that involved a period of time in the future, there was a mention of the final resting place of some ultimate Dharma adepts. In the dream, those places were all taken by others and I could only look on in envy. And now, through the memories of the future in the dream, I've taken the first step to take the things that those ultimate Dharma adepts left behind in their final resting places. Zhou Donghuang smiled. Zhou Donghuang knew his third sister very well, and he knew that if he did not explain clearly where the spirit stones had come from, she would definitely feel uneasy. And now his response to He Mingxi was perfect and flawless. This works. He Mingxi was dumbfounded, and after a while she felt that this was the only explanation. Otherwise, based on her little brother's ability, after leaving the remote galaxy where the Ziyun planet was located, it would have been impossible for him to obtain so many spirit stones in such a short period of time. Suddenly, He Mingxi seemed to have sensed something and her eyes narrowed. In the next moment she looked at the door to De Zhuang's room. She could vaguely see a spirit weapon that had turned into a mist and was entering De Zhuang's room through the gap in the door. At the same time she could clearly feel the thick spirit energy from all directions sweeping towards her, with De Zhuang's room as the center. The abnormality in De Zhuang's room attracted the attention of the Autumn Valley head, He Jin. In a moment, He Jin landed beside Zhou Donghuang and He Mingxi. Looking at De Zhuang's room, his expression changed slightly. Spirit energy turning into mist? What's going on? He Jin looked at Zhou Donghuang suspiciously. In his opinion, this could not have been done by his daughter, and he knew very well what his daughter was capable of. Little brother gave De Zhuang an ancient core drug called the Developing Essence, and then used 20,000 mid-level spirit stones to set up an energy-gathering formation for him. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang was looking at her, He Mingxi spoke on his behalf. Originally, when little brother said that De Zhuang would be able to enter the Dharma stage within a month, I didn't believe him, but now I have no choice but to believe him. Developing essence? An ancient core drug? He Jin was not surprised by the energy-gathering formation because he knew how to set it up. However, he had never heard of an ancient core drug like the developing essence. At the same time, he also realized, the scene outside Zhou Donghuang's room for the past 2 weeks had now shifted to De Zhuang's room. Little brother said that the developing essence is an ancient core drug. After a golden essence adept consumes it, he can enter the Dharma stage in a short time, He Mingxi said. He Mingxi said, for example, little brother entered the Dharma stage a few days ago. When He Jin heard He Mingxi's words, his eyes widened in shock. He Mingxi continued, he said that De Zhuang will be able to enter the Dharma stage within a month. How is that possible? He Jin could not help but exclaim. De Zhuang entered the ultimate primal core stage not too long ago, how can he enter the Dharma stage within a month? He Jin felt that it was impossible. However, 26 days later when De Zhuang came out, he gave He Jin an unprecedented shock. De Zhuang had really entered the Dharma stage. Little brother, thank you. De Zhuang bowed to Zhou Donghuang in gratitude. His expression was extremely sincere, and his eyes were filled with determination. It was as if he had made a decision. It was also at this moment that Zhou Donghuang's position in De Zhuang's heart was no less than that of He Mingxi. De Zhuang, protect third sister well in the future. Your current ability is no weaker than hers. You have enough ability to protect her. Zhou Donghuang smiled at De Zhuang. De Zhuang did not say anything, but He Mingxi, who was at the side, was unhappy. Little brother, I know that you have just entered the Dharma stage, but you already have incredible battle power and defeated Lian Ken of the Summer Valley with one blow. However, I know De Zhuang's abilities very well. He has just entered the Dharma stage, so he is no match for me. Although He Jin had long heard that Zhou Donghuang had defeated the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Ken, with a single blow, he was still shocked. But now, hearing his own daughter bring it up again, He Jin's gaze towards Zhou Donghuang became much more complicated. End of this chapter. That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.